Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Cabbage Head Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Manifest Gamer Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku POV. Hello. Hi, I'm the coded conscious of Izuku Midoriya. If you're reading this, my flesh body has been destroyed or one of my cores was sent into another reality or place in time. I'm here to tell you of the life of my original vessel. In my world, almost everyone had superpowers we all called quirks. Take note of the word almost. I was in the unfortunate 20% that was seen as quirkless. People like me were bullied, killed without consequences, and sometimes sold as slaves. My best friend Bagugo Katsuki Kaken became my worst bully when I was deemed quirkless. From the age of 4 to 14 I was bullied almost endlessly. Broken arms, legs, cuts, burns, and hundreds of black eyes with any time I stood up for myself I would get punished. In that world, the better your quirk, the closer to a god you were. There were other views of quirks too. Villainous quirks, heroic quirks, useless quirks, and a few others I don't remember. Anyways, I think this is enough of a backstory which I can fill in more later. Let's get to the day I forced my quirk to manifest. It was the last day of middle school and everyone was talking about which hero school they will try to attend. Of course, my egotistical ex-friend, Katsuki, jumped onto his desk and yelled, "Yo teach, don't lump me in with all of these extras. I'm going to UA and I will become the #1 hero. You do know Midoriya is going to apply to go there too." That teacher pretty much signed an order from my grave saying that. Everyone laughed at me saying no quirkless has ever been in UA. I'm just going to the support class. I have no desire to be a hero, I said, hoping to keep Katsuki from attacking me later. Once class was over I was attacked anyways. He burned my blueprint book of devices I was creating, had his lackeys break my left arm, and blasted me across the room with his flashy explosive quirk. Did a teacher come? No. Did anyone check to see if I was alive? No, I'm just a worthless person without a quirk. Deku, you better avoid UA or I will kill you. Oh yeah, I know a way for you to get a quirk. Take a swan dive off the roof and pray you get one in the next life, Katsuki said before leaving me there. Tim and his goons laughed at his encouragement for me to commit suicide. I slowly collected my stuff and used an emergency sling I made because of how often this happens. I sighed and used some blast cream I created just for nitroglycerin burns. Once I put the cream away I realized where I was. I was on the roof of the school. No clue why I walked up here, but I decided just to follow his advice. I wrote a note apologizing to my mom that I'd do this and blaming the quirk-obsessed world and Katsuki for my death. After placing my backpack down with the note tied to it, I jumped. My timing was perfect cause I was going to land and splatter right in front of Katsuki. I flipped him off and glared at him as I fell. That's when my quirk decided to intervene. It froze time and made a prompt appear in front of me. Continue with suicide as your quirk forms or use quirk to make Katsuki suffer. This surprised me greatly. I could only move my head and arms as a keyboard formed under the prompt. I smirked as I typed, "Let me splatter close to death before my body recalls," similar to Tracer from Overwatch. I hoped it would work as I hit enter. Time resumed and I felt all my bones break, my skin and muscles flatten before bursting out, and my blood coating the arrogant jerk and his lackeys. The pain is something I hope to never feel again as the breaking stopped and I got rewinded back. In a few seconds I was suddenly back in the classroom before my book was burned. My body was fine. No broken arm, no burns, nothing. I quickly ran out of the school and saw the puddle of my blood and all my blood-spotted classmates. Thank you for the idea, Katsuki. I now have a quirk. Is that how you got yours to manifest a month before it should have? I said as I skipped by him, happy as I could be. Police and a couple of heroes stopped me from leaving the school lot. They asked everyone what they saw and I admitted what happened, except I said my quirk appeared right before I would have died. Katsuki and his friends were scolded and that was it. Their parents were called and I was allowed to go home since I was fine. On my way home I decided to take a shortcut to get home faster to tell my mom. This wasn't the best idea as I was attacked by a slime creature. As he tried to grab me, my keyboard and screen popped up again. I quickly hit the pause button, freezing time. As time slowed to a halt I looked at the slime and moved to the side. He could see my quirk interface, as I called it, as he had a tendril close to grabbing it. I moved my stuff and typed, "Sludge attacker gets put into an unbreakable jar and arrested." Once that was entered he was suddenly forced into a jar and time resumed. I picked up the jar and tapped it to piss him off as All Might popped out of the sewers where I'm guessing my jarred sludge came from. "Young man, is that the villain in your jar?" I nodded and handed it to him. "I'm sorry about using my quirk without a license. I literally just manifested it an hour ago and he attacked me. The jar is unbreakable, but it's best you hold it when you go turn him in. The jar won't fit your pockets that well." All Might was stunned. "Wait, you just manifested your quirk today and you were able to catch a villain?" I nodded and showed him the Kai. He looked at it stunned and tried to touch it only for his fingers to go through. Guess I can only let people see it. That's a good thing. I've paused time and undid my death with this. I told him the story as he began to smoke. Once I noticed the smoke, I instinctively summoned a fire extinguisher and a set of clothes for All Might, only for him to become a skeletal version of himself. He will tell no one of this, understood? Also, can this villain see out of the jar? I held up a finger and made the jar black and tested to see if I could erase memories using a video editing software on my screen. Needless to say, it worked. Now he can't see out, and I erased him seeing you transform. I cut it out so he just goes from you listening to my story to his jar going black and soundproof. All Might was impressed. Such an awesome quirk. I hope you become a hero and not a villain. Can I ask you another small favor? I nodded as I made Kai show up again, ready to type or use any other program that might work. All Might sighed. Can you undo the damage caused 6 years ago? It's why I powered down suddenly. Sure, but I want an autograph and you keep being an awesome hero, I said as I did a mix of Photoshop and Notepad editing to fix All Might. He laughed. Done, and what all are you doing? A mix of Photoshop to get rid of your physical damage, and in case that's not enough, I'm causing your injury to suddenly heal as if it never happened. I'm thinking roughly 15 minutes ago shall do. And I am done. Once I saved it all, All Might returned to All Might. His scar was gone, and I had secretly added more power to his body and quirk. All Might hugged me and gave me his autograph as I created a small bag similar to a one-strap backpack. I quickly put the bag on him and the jarred villain in it. This is a custom bag which can hold almost anything as long as it's no bigger than you. It's now your bottomless might pack. He laughed and thanked me before he ran into a wall. Young Midoriya, did you boost my power or did my injury really weaken me? I fidget with my notebook which I had All Might sign in. Actually, a mix of both. I only added 25% of your total power from your prime. I didn't think you were that hindered and assumed the boost would be welcomed. I'm sorry. He made sure to get used to it before he patted my head. It's okay, young Midoriya. This will definitely help me save everyone. If you want, I can recommend you into UA. That way you don't have to do the regular test. I perked up as he said that. You think I could get into your old school? He nodded and gave me his number before running off to turn in the villain. I stood still for a few minutes before I pulled up Kai and looked through my programs. There were programs just released and some from the year 1990. With some scrolling, I found a game called Minecraft and gave myself a speed potion from it. I drank it and ran home to my mom. Mom, I am home and I got a surprise for you. I yelled as I ran into the living room where I saw her, Katsuki, and his mom Mitsuki. Hi Auntie Mitsuki. Is this about what happened at school? My mom nodded. Why didn't you tell me that, Kak? Wait, when did you stop calling him Kakin? I freeze in place. I don't know actually. I think a few years ago after the 10th broken arm and the 4th broken leg. Auntie Mitsuki hit Katsuki. You really broke his legs. I swear if I knew you were doing this I would have beat your ass like a drum. Auntie, don't. You can't really blame him. The teachers did nothing to stop it cause quirks are everything. Plus, without his latest beating I would not be able to do this. I summon Kai and make glasses of tea pour themselves and add sugar or milk to everyone's taste. Once that is done, I turn the plastic teacups into pure china teacups and saucers. I now have my own quirk and helped All Might earlier. Bullshit. I bet you're making that sit up. That outburst from Katsuki made his mom hit him hard. I then showed the autograph to them and showed them a bit of my meeting of All Might, making sure not to show his deactivation. My Izuku already helped a hero. I'm so proud of you, son, but not of how you got your quirk. I hugged my mom and apologized as I left to put my backpack into my room and my blueprint notebook into my small lab. Katsuki noticed the book. Wait, didn't I scorch that stupid book? I nodded. When I undid my jump, it went to before you did it. Thank goodness it worked like that. I didn't want to start from scratch. Once I put the book in place for later, I returned to the living room with Auntie Mitsuki and Katsuki leaving. Katsuki sighed. Deku, I was so hard on you because I didn't want you to be a quirkless hero and die. I don't know when I went power crazy, but I am sorry. I nodded. I understand, but I can't forgive you yet. Please get some anger management classes. I want you to become an awesome hero and not like Endeavor. Something about him is off. He smirked. I'm not a flaming trash fire. We both laughed. True, but you're close in attitude. They left and my mom made katsudon for supper. She asked about my quirk and I answered what I could since I literally just got it. Once supper was over, I headed downstairs into my lab to work on my creations. Once I got mostly done with my current project, did I decide to use my quirk to help speed it along. Using my quirk, I bent a few metal plates, welded them on, and double-checked the now covered wiring. Once I was satisfied, I colored it green and tried its storage mode. I pressed a certain button and it became a small bracelet which I put on. Oops, this image does not follow our content guidelines. To continue publishing, please remove it or upload a different image. Mom, I'm going out to test my solar surfer. Its storage mode is flawless, but now to try it out. She yelled at me from the kitchen. Fine, but be back before dark. We are seeing the quirk doctors tomorrow and I want you to be fully rested. I nodded as I rushed out and removed the bracelet. After I hit the button and tossed it in front of me, it returned to full size and floated in front of me. I hopped on and put Kai in follow and note mode. Note that hover mode works. Testing thruster. I tried it out and flew around easily. After about an hour of flying around, I went home and began to mess with Kai. I learned about what I now had. My quirk is called the Code. It allows me to mess with reality as if it was a computer program or a book. It also increased my intelligence from birth, which explains a lot about why I always get in every class and can create such interesting ideas. That also explains how I was able to repair anything that breaks with stuff around the house. Now I will spend some time messing with my quirk as I train to get into UA. Hopefully I don't get sidelined by something random. I woke up the next morning and headed downstairs to talk to my mom. Mom, is it okay if I mess with my quirk today? I'll head to the middle of the woods so that I don't destroy any buildings. She laughed as he gave me my breakfast. Go ahead, Izuku, just don't strain yourself, okay? You just got it yesterday. I nodded as I eat my breakfast. Once I finished and washed my dishes, I hugged my mom and rushed off using my solar sail to get there. Of course, my luck got me pulled over. Officer was kinda rude. Okay kid, where did you steal this flying surfboard? I looked at him a bit stunned. I built it, officer. I've been working on it for a few months and just finished it yesterday. He scoffed. I've heard that before. Do you have any proof? I nodded. I have the blueprints, and if I may use my quirk, I can show you my memories of working on it. He smirked. Sure, but if I see you do anything hostile, I will arrest you. I pulled up Kai and showed him a little memory montage of my building it and using my quirk on the last bit. That is when he tried to arrest me for illegal quirk usage. I let him take me to the police station after I turned my solar surfer back into its bracelet form. At the station, I sat in an interrogation room. I waited patiently as the detective came in. You are being held for illegal quirk usage. What do you say about that? I sighed. I just got my quirk yesterday. I used it to finish my solar surfer in my mom's basement, and to prove to the officer that I didn't steal my creation. If I may use my quirk, I can show where. I asked if I could use my quirk to prove I didn't steal. He allowed me, and I showed him the same stuff and me asking the officer permission. Detective apologized. I'm sorry that he arrested you for no reason. May I ask what you mean by you got your quirk yesterday? I rubbed the back of my neck as I told him about what happened. He visibly paled as I finished the story. You're that kid. The officer that took the case called you Blood Bomb. Can you wait in the lobby for a little bit? I nodded as he let me leave the interrogation room. After roughly 20 minutes of waiting, All Might showed up and said hello. That's when I found out why I had to wait. Young Midoriya, I heard about the officer arresting you in the interrogation. The detective asked me to take you to UA to train your quirk. I quickly nodded as I jumped up. He laughed. I heard you made something. Think we can use it to get to UA? I smiled. Most likely, but I've not weight tested it much. I just finished it last night. I pulled him outside before making the solar surfer unfold itself. Impressive, young Midoriya. From that to a bracelet is incredible compaction. Let's fly this thing. What does it run on? Diesel, ethanol, or normal gas? I pointed to the sun as I hopped on and helped All Might onto the board section. I stomped into the shoe clamps and pointed out the passenger's clamps out to All Might. Once he was hooked up, we took off. He enjoyed it as we got to UA within half an hour. That was incredible. Think you can make me one? I will pay you twice the amount needed for parts and extra for labor. I thought a bit and smiled. I think I can just duplicate it. I did use my quirk to create an unbreakable jar. I tried to make a second one using my quirk, giving the copy All Might's color scheme and the word Solar Might along its sides. The way I typed it caused a very siffy looking effect. The original got All Might's color and the words along one side before it began to split, similar to how a cell duplicate. It stretched, forming more and more of itself until it finally split apart, showing two complete boards. Amazing, your quirk is beyond what I expected. Thank you, All Might. I'm glad I got your praise. Now how to use this thing is very easy. I smiled as I told him how to work it. After a bit we raced around Site Gamma, in which we tied. After that, in the next few days, he gave me various tests to use my quirk on. At first it was doing stuff like trying to move stuff around, create items, and give myself quirks. I was able to do all of that, but I quickly undid the quirks. I didn't want to use something I wasn't born with. Well, with how precise you can be with your quirk, I don't think you need that type of training, but we need to find out your limit. Do you have headaches, pains, or sudden blurry vision while using it? All Might asked while he brought us both lunch from Lunch Rush, the school's cook. I shook my head. Nothing yet, but I do want to try something. I want to see if I can see other dimensions like the old TV series Sliders. After we ate lunch, he let me try it. Needless to say, it worked. I visited two different realities, one where I was a walking emerald and another where I was a vampire. Honestly, I could have ended up somewhere worse. I told All Might and yawned as it was getting late. He gave me a lift on his Solar Might and told my mom what happened at today's training. When he told her of me sliding into other realities, she yelled at how careless I was. I was grounded for a week, which means no inventing, no training, and no TV. After supper I went to bed and slept peacefully. What I didn't know until later was that Mom called my father. "Hisashi, it's time you come home. Izuku has gotten a quirk and All Might is training him." Hisashi scoffed. "I am not coming home unless he gets into UA. I don't care if his quirk can delete the universe. Until I see him on national television, I won't come back to you." With that he hung up and changed to the news where he saw me and All Might racing our surfers to and from different places since it was part of my training. The newscaster, All Might, has been seen with a young man who seems to be the creator of his current form of transport. The device runs completely off of solar power yet can fly over 100 miles per hour easily. The creator is a young teenager called Izuku Midoriya, and according to some of our sources plans to be a support hero and enter UA this year. I must say, if All Might already trusts him this much, he will most likely be let in by recommendation and possibly into the hero course as its third ever cross-class student. I wish the boy luck and hope his dreams come true. With that, my father planned to return and make sure I supported him from now on. "My dear boy, it's time you met me again. Thank goodness I can finally retire. I'm sick of being a hero. I have been training with All Might and tinkering with my items for the past few months since my quirk appeared. All Might and I have been almost like father and son. He takes me fishing, the park, and we race a ton. He has become a bloody speed demon on his surfer. Trust me, he's worse than the kid from Treasure Planet. He weaves through traffic though he can easily fly over it. While I was learning about my quirk, I discovered I can rewrite how my body works. As a joke, I became Gem Izuku for a bit. Mom was not happy when I sneezed and destroyed the window with an emerald booger. Of course I fixed it and undid my modifications. With some small experiments that would make some people blush, I made my body nearly perfect in my opinion. I have pink muscle all throughout my body, which is the perfect balance of strength and endurance, though I boosted both. I removed the need for sleep, eating, and water, and my eyes can change their strength similar to a microscope or binoculars. Of course, there were some personal changes, but mostly it was removing most of my scars. This added is because of perverts. I do not write lemons, smut, so stop asking how big he is. Use your own damn imagination if you want, but I will not write it. Today is the entrance exam to get into UA, and I had to do 2 different tests. One for the support class and the other for the hero course. I left home early for the test, and I had packed a few of my creations for both tests. Since I was applying for 2, I got to do the written section early. Once I got it done, I headed to the support test. I was pretty close to the front of the line, but I still had to wait. But luckily I saw my world Hazame Hatsum, and she was 2 people behind me. What's stupid is I formed a crush on her when I saw a double in another reality. When it was my turn, I didn't even show anything when Power Loader, head of the support class, instantly said pass. I stopped him. "How could I pass? I didn't show you anything." He laughed and pointed to my watch. "That's your solar surfer. That is what passed. If you want, you can show me one creation." With a smile, I pulled out an energy shield from the same watch. I compacted my shield tech and fused it with my surfer bracelet, making it into a watch. "How strong is it?" I paled, then thought up something. I used my quirk to call up Gem Izuku. Gem was on his bed but sat up when he saw me through the portal. "Hey Cyber, what's up bud?" I smiled. "Have you built anything from my design booklet I gave you?" Power Loader got mad. "You designed but can't build, and why does he look like you?" Gem laughed. "Sorry Power Loader, but he can build stuff. He's just asking hero course version of him if I tested anything he designed. Trust me, interdimensional stuff is confusing. I did build the shield. Took a 10% SSB without even a glitch. I then used it in a fight and no problems. Guy was easily a filled garbage truck going at 100 miles per hour as power for each punch. He got at least 100 punches. Anyways, good luck Cyber. Is your crush in that world or do you want mine?" I quickly closed the portal with a major blush, making everyone close laugh. Power Loader was the first to calm down. "Okay, so what's an SSB?" I reach into my pocket and pull out what looks like a spiked watch battery. It's the Solar Surfer battery. I use them in all of my tech that requires energy. It stores roughly 200 yotajoules of energy before it's maxed out. Unfortunately, the battery is very explosive, so it requires VTN alloy of a certain mixture to surround it. 70% vibranium, 26% tritanium, and 4% naquata. The naquata spreads out the energy, tritanium replaces the lost strength, and the vibranium does the rest. A yotajoules is actually the amount of sunlight that hits the planet yearly. Vibranium is from the Marvel Universe, while tritanium and naquata is from Stargate SG-1 Universe. Power Loader was impressed. "That's a very specific blend, and your shield survived a 20 yotajoule blast. That's very impressive." I shook my head as I grumble. He didn't say if the blast was focused or not and how close he was. Each one would have different results. Power Loader nodded. "Very true. How about you test it inside Alpha? It's the only one with that alloy throughout its walls, though it's 2N and 28T. I nodded and flew off on my surfer. Once I landed at the center of it, I put down a VTN box with one side open, knowing the blast would mostly hit me. Once it's level, I put a fully charged SSB inside with a destruction trigger on it. I then created cameras that can't be destroyed around me so they get all the angles needed. With that setup, I typed up a revive code for myself, set up the shield to be point blank, and started recording. The blast was mostly absorbed by my shield, but when there was about 20% left of the explosion's power, it broke and killed me. According to the recording, my entire body was instantly incinerated and reformed by pixels shooting off the cameras to rebuild me. With that test done, I flew back to the test area with the results, but what I didn't know is that they saw it all. The second I landed, people rushed me to see if I was okay. I nodded and walked over to Power Loader, who was pale. My shield took 160 YJ before it broke, and the death was painless. 1 second my shield broke, and the next was me standing there as if nothing happened. That's when May came over to me. "Have you died before now?" How soft her voice was surprised me. Actually twice. My quirk fully manifested right before I died the first time, and the second time was accidental while training with daggers and such. Don't worry, it doesn't bug me. It's like I am in a video game with lots of lives. That seemed to calm everyone down but made May hyper. Wait, does that mean you have a HUD in your eyes? Can you see other people's stats? With those questions, I pulled up Kai and started to type up some code, mumbling a bit. As I kept typing, Power Loader looked at other people's creations, which sometimes worked or exploded in their faces. I would toss splash healing potions from Minecraft at them as I kept coding. Since the bottle would completely vanish in game, it did so in real life. Once the code was finished, I looked at May and smiled. May hat zoom, 15, female, quirk is zoom, which lets you zoom in on people or objects in your line of sight similar to a telescope. Nice quirk, very useful in covert spying missions. You would need a way to hear them or just read lips. That made her bounce around some as my watch dinged. Power Loader, I have to go to my other test. May I be dismissed? He nodded as he yelled, "If you do get into the hero course as well, I will see you in the afternoon of the first day. Good luck, bud, though you don't need it." I thanked him and ran to the auditorium where they would explain the physical aspect of the test. I got to the room a bit late, unfortunately, so the first thing I hear is as I enter the room is some blue-haired guy in glasses yelling at Present Mike because he didn't get to a part yet or there was a misprint. He quickly turned to me as the door opened and pushed his glasses onto his face as May crashed into me, causing us both to hit the floor. I helped her up and closed the door as the kid started yelling, "You should drop out now if you're going to be late to every meeting. Coming in late is a distraction and an insult to those on time." I simply ignored him as I waved to Present Mike. "Sorry, Present Mike. My other test took longer than expected. Thank goodness you insisted on telling me about the physical when I took the written test at 7 a.m. This made Blue Hair stiffen before I turned to him. "Apologize to Present Mike, please." I bet he just explained the 3 bots worth points. The 4th is an obstacle worth nothing, which he was going to save for when he explained the environments with each testing site. That boy quickly apologized to me and Present Mike. Present Mike laughed. "Izuku, did you get another of the support class to join the test for the hero course? Also, the upgrades you did to my speakers are awesome. How did you triple their power and reduce the vibration problem?" I chuckled. "Not telling you. Oh yeah, you might want to change people going to Site Alpha elsewhere. I kinda destroyed it showing off my shield." He nodded and looked at May, who shook her head. "I just wanna see him and his babies in the hero test." When the room gasped, I sighed. By babies she means inventions. "Is it okay if she watches it, big mouth?" Present Mike laughed. "Sure thing, broccoli head. Still working on your taunts." I nodded and he continued explaining the test. Once he was done explaining and everyone was at their necessary side, I relaxed and went through my support gear. May wished me luck before he went up to the observing room. That's when I saw a brown-haired girl looking like she was about to hurl from nervousness. I quickly walked over, jumping over Blue Hair. "Calm down, you'll do fine. If anything goes wrong, I will help you, okay?" She nodded but still seemed tense as I looked at the info card I coded into my site. "Oh, you're nervous about your quirk's drawback. I have something that might help." She looked at me stunned as I gave her a small mask with a small empty vial on the side of it. "This mask is to help people who get motion sickness. No mess and they don't choke on their own upchuck." She hesitantly took it. "How do you know about my drawback and my quirk?" "I don't know you and I've not told anyone here about it." I literally face-palmed. "I am so sorry. My name is Izuku Midoriya and my quirk is the code. It basically makes me into a video game character and makes me able to interact with the world like it's a game." A support class applicant gave me an idea to try data cards on people. I forgot to undo the code for it. She smiled. "Your quirk is amazing, much better than mine." I shook my head. "Your quirk is awesome too, Uraraka. You just need to train it some." After that I walked away wishing her luck. Then the test started and I rushed in, confusing everyone. Present Mike screamed, "There's no countdown in battle. Follow that broccoli-headed shrimp." The rest then followed. The test was fun to do. I fought using a laser sword to cut up the bots and used my shield to protect people who were about to be hurt while we were all just started. As we all spread out, I decided to try an ability called Code Clones. Soon, pixelated versions of me with only shields began to help people only when needed. Unfortunately, this is when I met my quirk's first drawback. I saw through all their eyes and controlled them similar to a hive mind, but it gave me a splitting headache. Soon everyone began to suddenly clump back together and I realized why. The 0-pointer was easily 10 stories tall. I had my clones help people get away until I saw Uraraka under some rubble. I quickly ran over and used my shield to protect her as I had clones get her out and help me keep the robot's foot up. We succeeded in getting her free, but most of my clones and my main body was destroyed as the foot was too much for us. My mind instantly went into a clone near her and I started to cough some as I took in some air. Note to self, next time code my clones to actually use their lungs. That hurt like hell. Everyone was stunned as my clone went from pixels to flesh and blood. Is everyone okay? Is anyone hurt? Most shook their heads, but a girl with headphone jacks on her ears walked over. How are you alive? We just saw you get crushed by the 0-pointer. My clones and I began to heal people with healing items from different games as I answered her. My quirk is the code. Basically, I am a video game character in a video game world because of it. Basically, my clones were like lives in Mario or the respawn button in Dark Souls. When the time was up, I depixelated the clones and drank a healing potion, ending my headache. That's when I got a new one from Recovery Girl. Izuku, I told you it is my job to heal people. Are you trying to take my job? Even though she was very short and old, I knew if she got mad she could easily beat All Might right now. I'm sorry, Recovery Girl. I didn't mean to. I just don't like to see people hurt. Please don't kill me. She gave everyone some gummy bears and sighed. It's okay, I know your heart is in the right place. Also, I am out of the burn cream you gave me. You were correct about your friend getting people with his quirk. I quickly went through my backpack giving her some more of it, but because the bottle was bigger than her, I had one of her medbots carry it for her. With that, everyone got shuttled back to the school where we changed back into our street clothes and left to go home. I ran into May as she apparently was waiting for me. You impressed everyone, including All Might. I bet you get into the hero course. I would bet 2 of my babies on it. I laughed as I shook my head. I rather not win that bet. I want take people's inventions from them. With that, we talked about inventions and heroes we liked until we had to go separate ways home. A week later, I got the letter saying I got into the hero course and that I would start in a 1 until the afternoon, where I would go to support for the first day. After that, unless told otherwise, I would be in support during the morning and hero classes in the afternoon. When I told my mom, she congratulated me and we went out for Katsuden. I couldn't wait for classes to start, and I hope that Kaken got in, even though he is somewhat reckless. Maybe classes with other heroes in training will help him learn control. I sigh as I begin to get ready for the first day of school. My mom was already awake and cooking me a big breakfast. I eat it even though I don't need to survive. It just becomes extra energy, and I nearly coughed as she dropped a bombshell. Izuku, your father will be coming home soon. He left to get a better paying job for us. I gulped down my juice and cleared my throat. What do you mean he is coming back? I thought he left because I was quirkless and he didn't want a quirkless son. I was very blunt and mad, so I just left after that. On my way to school, I ran into the girl I saved and nearly knocked her over. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. She blushed. Oh, you're the boy who saved me. I was never able to really thank you. I'm Uraraka Ochako and thank you for saving my life. Oh yeah, I wasn't able to return this. She dug into her bag, pulling out the motion sickness mask. I'm Midoriya Izuku and it's okay. You keep it. I've already made a few. She smiled. Thanks, I will give it to the support class to add it to my costume. I began to laugh some at that statement. No need to do that, Uraraka. I will build one for it when I get started on the hero costumes for a 1. I'm in both, so why not? Uraraka looked at me confused. What do you mean you're in both? I chuckled and had my surfer pop out. Once it fully formed, she recognized me from the news. Wait, you're the kid who made that for All Might. I nodded. Get on or we will be late. She gets on and I break a few speed limits to get us to UA. Once we get there, I store our ride and I lead her to a 1. I sighed and shook my head. First day and 2 idiots are already fighting. After bracing myself, I open the door and head to my seat. The blue-haired guy who insulted me for being late walked over. I am sorry about yelling at you during the section they explained the test. Please forgive me. I smiled. It's okay, Ada Tenya. You were just trying to instill punctuality. I am Midoriya Izuku and I know your name and quirk due to mine. He nodded and went back to telling Katsuki to get his feet off the desk. Once I saw it was Katsuki, I walked over. Kaken, will you please put your feet down? I rather not get a migraine. My head still hurts from the last day. I acted sweetly to him like I used to. His reaction was his feet hitting the ground so fast Ida was surprised. Thanks, Kaken. Actually, I do need to use her name. Katsuki, please try to behave. I don't want your only friend to be me. He sighed. Sorry, Izuku. It's just a bad habit. With that over, I sat back in my seat and waited for our teacher to arrive. After a little bit, I noticed a bug-like thing crawl in. I stayed quiet until I got a clear angle of his little tab thing I coded during the exam. "Good morning, Aizawa-sensei." This made the entire class shut up and sit down. "How did you notice me?" he asked as he got out of his sleeping bag behind his desk. "Info cards that only I can see. I coded it during the exam." He sighed. "You're the dual class kid, aren't you?" I nodded. "Yes, sensei. Today I'm in here for the morning, then I'll be afternoon here only." Aizawa sighed and tossed everyone gym uniforms and told us where to find him after changing. We all went to the respective changing rooms and got changed. I had to drag out one kid. His name is Minta and he is a major pervert. He found a peephole and was about to check out the girls when I sealed off the hole and dragged him away. Aizawa was shocked to see me be the first one changed and dragging a classmate. "Why are you dragging that kid?" I growled slightly. He found a hole and was trying to look at the girls changing. I sealed the hole and dragged him so it will be able to dry before he tries again. After about 10 minutes everyone else comes out and Aizawa explained what we were doing. He was letting us use our quirks to do basic physical tests. He called me up. "Izuku, you got over 300 points, so you start. Throw this ball as hard as you can." He tossed me the ball and I got into the tossing circle. I threw it and got infinity as a score. After that I broke the record for every test he had us do. I broke a hand grip device, teleported to the end of the print getting 0.000001 seconds. I flew up for a bit using potions from Minecraft. Side-to-side jumps were really easy thanks to bouncy gel from Portal 2. The one I loved the most was sit-ups and push-ups till I couldn't do them anymore. After an hour of me doing 30 push-ups or sit-ups a minute, Aizawa gave up. "Izuku, just get changed and go to support class. All Might training you gave you a big edge." I nodded and left yelling, "Minta, I'll make sure that the peephole is completely sealed. I don't want you being a pervert on school grounds." I changed and walked into the support classroom where everyone was already tinkering. Power Loader noticed me. "Wow, you're earlier than expected. Did Aizawa remove you from his class?" I shook my head. "Nope, just dismissed me because an hour of push-ups and sit-ups broke him." Power Loader laughed and handed me a 1 costume designs. Once I looked them all over I started making them all. The first was easy for Uraraka. I based it roughly on a space suit with compression and a smaller version of the motion sickness device in its hood. Next was Katsuki's. He literally wanted to be a walking bomb in appearance. I make it as he wanted, but I removed the grenade gauntlets, changing them to look like dynamite is wrapped around his wrists with multiple fuses so he gets multiple shots of focused explosion. They would be less powerful for each one, but together would be more powerful than the original if all are used at the same time. When I saw the invisible girl's gloves and shoes I shook my head. I made her an outfit that looked shiny, and when it's activated it becomes invisible and hides her heat signature. That's when May interrupted me. "Nice fabric, what's it made of? Think I can use it in my babies?" I laughed. "May, it's invisibility fabric and I'm working on making her goggles that do the same. That'll be metal and such." May nods as she poked Katsuki's wrist. "Dynamite. Are these useful?" I nodded. "Just be glad it doesn't have any of his explosive sweat in it. Better put some nitroglycerin burn cream in a pouch." I then put some of the special burn cream into a pouch on his outfit. "Need help with the outfits?" I nodded. "I need night armor for Ida Tenya. I think some dry ice or colder should be used on his leg engine's cooling system. Best metal would be tritanium mixed with vibranium." I then told her a few others as I moved on to Takayami Fumikige's outfit. His costume was pretty much what he wanted, but I add a bulletproof shawl and make his entire outfit the blackest black possible, making him look somewhat like an error in a simulation. This should help boost Dark Shadow's power in the day, and the shawl can be used to glide around similar to a hang glider. I do smaller changes to others' outfits, but that's about it. By the time school is over we have all but my suit done. "Izuku, want me to make your outfit?" I can see her gears turning as Power Loader looks over the finished outfits. "I'm sorry, but I've not designed an outfit yet. I was just going to pixelate myself for now." She got to drawing as I finished what I was saying. Power Loader walked over and congratulated us on our awesome work for our first day. He tried to talk to May, but she waved him off. Up until the bell rang, I helped other students. After packing my stuff, I headed up to Nezu's office. I knocked on the door, then walked in when he said enter. "Hi Nezu, ready to play some checkers?" Nezu nodded. "I heard you nearly choked a classmate to death. May I know why?" Minta is a pervert. He found a peephole that lets the locker rooms see into each other, but it looked like it was made from the male's side. I dragged him out after I sealed the hole. Nezu's eyes widened. "I am glad you sealed it, but dragging him may have been overkill." I sigh. "Maybe, but if he touches the girl I am interested in, he will be embarrassed and hurt." That's when Power Loader and Aizawa come in. Aizawa instantly recommends I get boosted to a 2 at least, and Power Loader wants me to get a workshop already. I was stunned by it, and Nezu agrees. If he wants to skip a grade, he can. Leave him be if he says no. I shake my head. I want to stay in a 1. I don't want more people to hate me for skipping grades. Also, what do you mean by workshop? I already have one at home. May not have the best stuff, but it works. Power Loader laughed as he explained that usually he gives second years workshops that are near indestructible for more dangerous creations and to store their creations between working on them or doing a new one altogether. I think May needs that more than me. I can shrink stuff or store it in a pocket dimension. No clue how I do it yet, but I can. Also, I can create unbreakable boxes. You saw how strong the blast was during the test. He nodded and left as I packed up. During this chat, I had beat Nezu at checkers without them noticing. When I got home, I saw a note on the door stating that Mom went to pick up my father from the airport. I destroyed the note and went to my room, switching to some shorts and a t-shirt before I leave her a note. It said, "Don't bug me, I'm inventing. Make sure he understands I don't him in my room or my lab. He had over 10 years to come back or contact us. I'm not forgiving him yet. Might one day, but not this month." I could hear them when Mom came home. She read the note and sighed. "He won't meet you tonight, hun. He is in his lab, which is off limits even to me. He has some dangerous devices in there." That's when I heard my father's voice, which hasn't changed in 10 years. That's it. I've been gone working my ass off for him and he won't even see me. I then heard stomping and him open my bedroom door. Of course he loves all jerk. Where's his lab? Hisashi, calm down, you're just tired. Let's go to bed and you can see him in the morning. That's when I heard his slap. He hit my mom. I don't remember what happened next. 1 second I'm working on metal and glass I can turn invisible, and the next I'm at the front door glaring at my beat-up father who has fear in his eyes and is backing away down the sidewalk. I slammed the door shut and walk over to my mom, who also is afraid of me. What did I do? I was just in my lab and heard him hit you. As I put cream and ice on Mom's face, she told me. If it wasn't her telling me, I wouldn't believe her. Apparently I teleported in front of Hisashi and yelled at him for hitting her. He said he only did it to get me out here to meet him. Those words made me go into something called Enraged Defender mode, according to a digital-sounding voice that came from my Kai. I beat Hisashi up without any serious damage, and each time he would breathe fire, I ate it like it was candy. Once I got him out the door, I yelled, "Next time I see you, you better be apologizing to me and my mom. You owe 10 years of apologies and an extra year thanks to you hitting her." Mom was proud of how strong I am and that I protected her, but she also is afraid of how strong I am and how she might not be able to pay the bills now. I told her I will get a part-time job to help, since if he doesn't help anymore, it's my fault. It wasn't until I went to bed did what she said hit me. I ate fire, my Kai spoke, and I beat a pro hero. How much more power is hidden within my quirk? Damn it, I'm going to have to talk to All Might later since his quirk is a strength-based quirk. I yawn as I headed to school on my surfer. It's been a few days since the first day, and honestly May was draining to contain at times. Literally in the past 4 days she has blown up 25 gadgets, injured 10 people, nearly killed me twice, and actually killed me once. After the third explosion she was assigned a big blast-proof hangar to test in. I was assigned the same one, but there was big rule we had. She could not test her babies unless I made the area completely unbreakable. As I walked past the classroom I waved to Power Loader. "Hey Teach, you enjoyed the improved digging suit I gave you?" He nodded and laughed as I headed to the hangar. "Make sure May stops working on the dangerous stuff when you leave. She gets really impatient." I stop and walk backwards. If I can talk her, Nezu, and Aizawa into it, can she join the hero course like I am? He shrugged as sent me along. I quickly rushed to Nezu's office with my plan. Nezu somehow was expecting me. "Hello Izuku. Let me guess you want May to be a cross lesson like you." I nodded. "It may help reduce her more dangerous stuff, give her babies a better focus, and keep her out of Funding's hair. I want to, and I already talked to Aizawa. Now it's up to her. Please make her agree. I don't want another funder to scream at me to throw her out." I smiled. "Will do. Thanks Nezu. We can play chess tomorrow with Solar Surfers as a bet." By the time I had gotten to the hangar, May was tapping her foot near the door. "About time, I need to test my babies and you're late." I sighed. "May, I was talking to the principal. He wants you to become a cross-study student like me. That way your creations can be made for people in particular. Think of it, all of a one using devices we create when they go hero. The reason is because we know their quirks and understand how to make them stronger with support items." I may have laid it on a bit too much as she nodded furiously. "Should I tell Nezu you'll do it?" "Of course I will do it Izuku, but you must become my boyfriend," May said as she hugged me. I was stunned as I didn't know my crush liked me. "Wait, boyfriend? May I ask why that popped up?" She giggled and kissed me. "You're smart but dumb. I got a crush on you during the entrance exams. Now don't deny you like me. I saw you drawing me in a wedding dress. Honestly, more gears on the left and laser shooting flowers in the bouquet and it would be perfect." I blushed darkly and kissed her back. "You got me, but please take better care of yourself. I know your goals, but your health comes before the techno babies." "Deal." She agreed and I sent a small robot to tell Nezu. Once I sent it out, I set up a monitor so May and I could watch what would happen. I smirked and spoke through the small mouse-like bot after Nezu saw it. Message for Principal Nezu. "For safety reasons, there is a riddle as a password. Are you ready?" Nezu chuckled. "Very clever Izuku. Alright, give me the riddle." He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. Do you know the answer? I muted the mic as I began to laugh. Nezu had me repeat the riddle. They asked for the answer, but I ignored her for a second. After Nezu thought of the answer in complete silence for about 15 seconds, I spoke. Answer correct as you are wise. Message is, May will cross study like me. Have a good day, Principal Nezu. Once I finished the message, I had the robot return with Nezu looking confused. I didn't give an answer though. Meanwhile, I was laughing my ass off as May matched Nezu's look. I'm sorry, but I finally beat Nezu in a riddle. If I know him, he will either chase the robot or have a teacher carry him here. The second those words left my mouth, Nezu kicked open the door and glared at me. Okay, wise guy, what was with the nonsense riddle? What could the answer possibly been? Nezu yelled as he climbed onto my desk to get close to eye level. The answer was for you to not speak. He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. Do you know the answer? The answer is in the riddle. I burst out laughing again as May and Nezu looked even more confused. It took them a few minutes for them to understand it. Nezu laughed and left. I will remember that riddle and use it to confuse people. You are devious, Izuku. The bet is a surfer and Imperial tips tea. Of course, Nezu, it's worth the bet raised to finally stump you, I say as the laughing continues. May eventually slapped me. Snap out of it, Izu. Get up and reinforce the room for me. I have tests to do. I sigh and stand up typing the reinforcement code. You're no fun. There it's reinforced. While she tested some explosive-resistant material, I created a switch on the wall labeled coded reinforcement. I tested by switching it to off, causing a huge wall in the hangar. I quickly fixed it and turned it back on and it worked. Of course, May didn't notice at all, but I tell her once she finishes testing. She was overjoyed but quickly went back to testing. I finished a new nausea-stopping device and tried making a nutrient blend for Momo to use in emergencies to create items. I was close to getting what I wanted, but it would instantly make her as big as Fat Gum, a really awesome, but really big, hero, with some of the nutrient blend in small vials and a costume for Momo. I knocked on the glass of the testing area to get May's attention. She quickly put her current test away, hit the switch, and left to go to lunch. I gave the better costume to Power Loader along with a note to explain the files. We then went to the cafeteria where May and I ate with a one. They all were stunned when she said she is joining the hero course. Momo leaned over and whispered something into her ear, to which May nodded and caused Momo to shake some. Before I could ask why Momo was flustered, lunch ended and we all went to class. May sat on my lap causing glares from girls and one grape-headed pervert. When All Might came in yelling, I am entering the room as a normal person, I couldn't help but yell over the normal person bit with silly buffoon. The entire class gasped, but All Might laughed. I guess I deserved it. Hey, young Midoriya, still learning insults with Mike. I shook my head. No, I did stump Nezu earlier though. That stunned him, but he smiled. You record it? I will send it to you later, it's class time. Deku, how the F do you know All Might? Katsuki yelled as he grabbed me by my shirt's collar, sending May to the floor. Kai stated, apologize or I will activate defender mode. I looked at my quirk interface, which instead of its nice green was now a deep red similar to blood. Kai, let's save that for training. I'm sure Bakugo will enjoy it whether he apologizes or not, I said, my voice with so much venom in it All Might backed away. Katsuki let me go but glared. I meet young Midoriya when his quirk manifested, so this is the one who caused it. Anyways, everyone, let's get to battle training. Change into your costumes and meet me at Site Gamma. The suits popped out of the wall as he left. I helped May up and grabbed my box before everyone else did. In the locker room, Kirishima noticed my scars. Whoa, where did you get all those scars, Midoribro? I sighed as I put on my outfit, which was basically a green Tron outfit with extra padding and the ride weapon sticks on my arms. I rather not say, but you already met the cause. With that, I left, meeting everyone who already changed. Momo walked over. Midoriya, why is there an opening on my back and just a small hole in my cleavage? I need as much skin visible as possible. I pointed to a button on her wristband. That activates a shield to cover your back and give you the items created to whichever hand is open. Plus, the less skin in front is because of Minta. It's also made for if you use the nutrient blend. That should only be a last resort if you need to make something really big or a whole ton. She sighed and shook her head. I will try this design, but how will it know where I want the item? I tapped the back of my neck. Your outfit has a mind-reading chip right there, so it'll know. I pull a disc off my back and begin to toss into the air before catching it. After waiting a bit, I activate the helmet on my suit and check it out. When everyone was out, All Might explained the lesson. Basically, we have two teams, villains and heroes, and the heroes must catch the villains or the weapon before time runs out. If the heroes are caught or time runs out, villains win. All teams and matches were done by lottery except one match, just me against Katsuki, and I am the villain. Now, since young Bakugo offended young Midoriya, I think they should get the bad blood out of their systems, especially young Midoriya. All Might stated, their match will happen now and they will hopefully participate again later in team matches. I nodded and ran down the street to the chosen building. After placing the weapon on the middle floor with a very strong shield, I headed to the door on the first floor. When the timer started, I walked out the door and created another giant shield over the entire building. Let's start. Kai activate Defender, Battle, and God modes. Kai beeped loudly as light temporarily covered my body before I got into a fighting stance. When Katsuki tried his usual starter right hook, I kicked him away with great speed and force crashing him through another building. When the jerk came flying at me using his explosions, I did it again, not even leaving my spot. If you can make me leave this spot completely, the building's shield will fall. Then you will have to destroy the shield around the weapon. Now knock me over like you used to, or am I finally not a simple Deku? The last word was definitely venom-filled as I stand up straight and pull a book out of my pocket dimension. As I begin to read it, I simply bend, punch, kick, or slap Katsuki away until he destroyed my book. My suit then changed from green to red as I blacked out again. I regained control when time was up and Katsuki was unconscious and beaten to a pulp. After dusting the soot from my outfit, I healed Katsuki and carried him to the observation room as I reformed the book. When I arrived, everyone took a couple of steps back away from me except for Mei, who hugged me. She whispered, "Please never use whatever mode made you go crazy. You nearly killed him." I watched the tape, which was of me summoning my pixel clones and using them to fight Katsuki. He deserved it for what he put me through and shoving Mei earlier. At least I didn't leave any proof other than this tape. I put Katsuki in a chair as I sat in a corner of the room and put my head on my knees. Kaminari put what I said in the locker together with what I just said. "Wait, Bekubro was the one who gave you all of those scars. Why isn't he in jail? Some look like they were deep." I nodded to All Might as I stayed quiet. He sighed and got everyone's attention. Young Midoriya was bullied since he was deemed quirkless. Even his teachers encouraged the mistreatment. One day, young Bakugo told him to, and I quote, "Take a swan dive off the roof and hope for a quirk in your next life." Young Midoriya did just that. His timing was that he fell to the ground right in front of the entire school. Heroes and first responders were called as his body suddenly vanished, but the blood stayed. Young Midoriya got his quirk as he died, and he then met me after he trapped a villain for me. After that, I helped train him use his very adaptable quirk. After that was done, I slowly stood up. Also, my father is back in town. The first thing he did was hit my mom. That's when I found out about Defender mode. Basically, I fight till they give up, though the power is weaker. Battle mode is more strength, but I get hurt much easier. God mode is the ultimate regenerative and power reflective mode, but it has a time limit. Everyone relaxed some after this, but not a whole lot. That's when Katsuki woke up, looked around, then launched himself at me screaming Deku. Right before he got to me, Shiro, Tsuyu, and Momo restrained him. I was stunned as Mei slapped him. "You are a big jerk. Izu made your costume, forgave you, and even healed you, and you still attack him. Be glad I don't want my boyfriend to hate me, or I would use my acid thrower on you." She hugged me and pulled me back to my corner as Shiro tied him to a chair. Everyone did their battle tests with Mei, Momo, and Minta against Todoroki, and Ajiro being a hectic one. Mei's team was villains, and they won quite easily, with Minta being kicked out a window, sticking the heroes together. Of course, I warned Minta not to try anything. Mei and Momo had anti-pervert gear on, which automatically would kick perverts away. They kicked him back and forth until he was sent through the window. The girls were cheering it on as the guys winced. I told him not to try. Every girl's outfit has anti-pervert tech. The girls then thanked me and asked if they can add it to their school uniforms. When everyone was done, I gave All Might the clip of Nezu confused and changed. As I began to unfurl my surfer to go home, All Might flew up on his. "Wanna race today, young Midoriya? I want anti-perv gear if I win. There are some crazy fans who want me." I laugh as my classmates came out and saw me getting on my surfer. "You're on All Might, but if I win you have to give up Solar Might for a week." He nodded and we raced to my place where he was invited for supper. The next day I was given lots of orders of solar surfers from my classmates, and All Might took his little moped to school. I still made All Might some anti-pervert stuff. I may have one, but he definitely could use it. I was in the basement of my house using my quirk to play Minecraft on the surface of my desk. It was fun using something called redstone to automate some items, and I came up with a dumb idea. With a couple of hours of searching, I found out you could create mods for the game and started to do so. When I finished a couple of hours later, I had a factory in Minecraft to build surfers for me. There were robots made to mine the resources needed, machines to process the materials, and finally a big machine to make the surfers. Once I saw it work a while, I picked up the digital factory and bring it up to my mom. I showed it to her, and when I open the chest holding the finished product and pull out a watch, it becomes real. "Look, I made a factory." Of course, my mom was proud and pointed at an ore I had laying around my factory as decoration. I told her what it was and she tilted her head. "Hun, I know it's just a game, but there is no such thing as green gold." I showed her the recipe for green gold. She apologized. That's when there was a knock on the door, and it was Mei. I could tell because her knock is a machine gun. Mom was confused until I warped her in, causing her to cough some. "Hun, warn me next time you plan to warp me." "Ooh, what's that on the table?" Mom and I laughed as I showed it off. May was really interested and asked if I can make fabrics this way like her super fabric, which is cut, acid, explosion, fire, freezing, and a lot more proof, and it reacts to the user's quirks. She used it for my Tron-like hero outfit, which is why it glowed and changed colors. I looked at its elemental structure and used it in an odd mod which you can turn stuff like silk and dirt into its elemental component. Once I figured out how to make thread and a way to automatically weave it into different outfits and colors, I hand May her digital factory for outfits and teach her how to put in the measurements and everything. She screams in joy and measures my mom. I watch her make a dress for my mom. When mom tries it on, its hem seems to float and move like there's a breeze, and it changes colors to match her mood. Wow, Inko, that dress looks awesome on you. I froze when I heard that from my father. May glances at him, then me. Hun, who's the dude standing there? Why does he look like Defender mode hit him? I growled and Kai formed next to me. He is my father. He helped me discover Defender mode. What do you want, you waste of flesh? He glared at me. I am here to talk to Inko, not you. Hun, we need to get back together. I know I left to get us more money, but since Izuku is in UA and very powerful, I can retire and make up for our lost time. My mom paled with the dress turning a dark red. But then I was shaking with rage. You vanish for 10 years only to return since I can make you money. Leave the house now or I will activate Reaper mode. They quickly hugged me and tried to calm me down. Hun, don't you dare activate that again. You literally ate the souls of the last target. I don't want you expelled from the school. Father fell for the big lie and ran as Kai created Reaper mode and one called Ghost Rider. I guess I will try them later. Mom, get a restraining order please. I'm getting one tomorrow since I don't want to kill him. With that I head to a nearby park and use a laser knife from a sci-fi video game to carve logs from Minecraft into different action figures, video game characters, even make a few villain carvings as I zone out some. After about an hour I notice kids and adults looking at the carvings. If they had questions about who was who, how much, where did you get that wood, etc., I would answer as I used Kai to paint them. Most were shocked that I had a very flexible quirk and I had such fine control of it. I spent the rest of the day carving items and selling them as a way to pass the time. After that I spent an hour creating a bank account to store all my money and any I will get later. When I finally got home I was instantly enraged. My piece of shit father was beating my mother. He was mad I didn't respect him and that she didn't stand up for him. The sight of my mom bloody made me black out again. When I regained my consciousness I quickly called the police and healed my mom. At first mom was afraid of me and I didn't know why. That's when I looked at a nearby mirror and panicked a bit. I was scared of myself as I was now nightmare fuel. I wanted to test out the modes later but not at the same time. Oops, this image does not follow our content guidelines. To continue publishing, please remove it or upload a different image. I kept the form as I glared at my still alive father. Sitting in a chair I look at the recording of what happened. When I blacked out I yelled, Hell Reaper mode safe edition. My father attacked me calling me a worthless piece of shit son. That I should be taking care of him finally since I know All Might and will be a strong hero. All I did was pin him to the wall and look into his eyes. Your soul is stained by the blood of the innocent. Have a taste of their pain. I rewatched him hurting innocent people for no reason. He only passed out from mental pain and that's when I woke up. Police arrived and assume I am the criminal until my mom said, That's my son, he just saved me from my ex-husband. His quirk activated to defend me. Izuku, please deactivate whatever mode this is and show the police what happened with Kai. A cop snickered, Don't you mean IQ, ma'am? I deactivate Hell Reaper and glare. Kai is short for quirk interface. My quirk is similar to a PC. Don't worry about that piece of shit. All I did was knock him out with a watered-down version of the pain he caused innocent people. I showed them what happened and they took him away. After a bit I was grabbed as well and dragged to UA where I saw Nezu and Aizawa waiting for me. Nezu spoke first. Izuku, you need to control your anger, okay? This is the third time you've blacked out thanks to your quirk. I growled. He was beating my mom like she was a effing bongo drum. Be glad my blackout mode didn't kill him. I literally had to reduce it to 0.00001% power not to cause any damage. That made Aizawa pale. How many innocent people did he hurt? I don't answer as I head to a training gym. Nezu POV. I watch Izuku walk to a gym on campus. So his father is a piece of work. He has great potential but his father's actions will stain his name. Aizawa nodded. Yes, but his quirk is evolving much faster than any other I have ever seen. He might go unstable more often now. With that I climb up into his capture gear scarf. True, but I think his drive to protect others will make him the next symbol of peace before he even graduates. I just finished training for a couple of hours after beating the crap out of my father. Aizawa was asleep near the door. Ectoplasm was tired as his clones fought mine, and I was using Hell Reaper to cut up some food and perfectly cook it. Once I finished cooking the stew I made, I brought it over to the 2 teachers. They ate it and actually enjoyed it. Incredible, I didn't think Hellfire could cook food like this. If I had more strength, I'd have some clones eat this. Unfortunately, lunch rush, the school's cook, heard and got upset until he tried it. He now wants me to help make lunch from now on. That's when some random woman walked into the gym. I offered her a bowl, which she took happily. That's when Nezu showed himself. What, don't I get a bowl? I laughed. Sorry, Nezu didn't see you. He eagerly ate his stew and got seconds before he told me what's going on. Izuku, this is our school's therapist, Elvira. She will hopefully be able to help you with your rage blackouts. I smiled. It's nice to meet you, Elvira. I'm sorry about getting you dragged out here during the weekend. She laughed. It's okay. If you didn't, I would most likely be eating ramen right now. After we all had our fill, Elvira led me to her office where she sat me in a chair. I heard today was the 3rd time you've blacked out. Can you tell me what caused all of them? I sighed and leaned back in my chair. First and third was my father, if you can even call the sperm donor that, hitting my mom. First time it was 1 slap, but this time he nearly killed her. If I didn't heal her, she would be gone. The second was Katsuki burning my book like he did the day I jumped. She stopped me, jumped as an attempted suicide. With a nod, I told her about my childhood as a quirkless kid. The bullying, the scars both physical and emotional, and some of my fears. When I told her about the day I jumped, she gently hugged me. She helped me through some of my issues and recommended a very unique anger management idea. I was to use my quirk to carve items or build something in Minecraft to burn off the rage. When she said that, I kinda laughed and showed her some I carved earlier. I kinda tried that earlier. Before he attacked my mom, he told me his plan. I was to support him like he supposedly supported us. As if $200 a month helps much. I had to tutor other kids, even helped out people in higher grades to help support my mom. After a bit of me raging about him not being there, him hurting my mom, and the crap he is trying now, Elvira handed me a test. I did it and gave it back a few minutes later. She had a machine grade it and was shocked. Do you remember your previous IQ score? I shook my head as she triple-checked the test. Izuku, you are the highest score ever. You beat Neza's score, and it may be because of your quirk was fully manifested. I checked the test as well and looked it over. None of the right or wrong answers were marked, but I knew which ones I got wrong, and it scared me. May I go home, please? I asked as I used red pen to fix the ones I got wrong. She let me leave, and I surfed home, where I instantly went to my room and thought about what I just learned about my quirk. It's increasing my IQ drastically every few seconds, and I am finding out about stuff I know I never read before. I've had no interest in Hawaii, yet I know that they believed that the stretched molten glass and magma that usually comes out when one of their volcanoes erupted was hair of a goddess. I also know that bad luck usually follows people who take lava rocks from the island until they return it. I spent the entire night awake and stressed out. When my mom saw me in the morning, she saw that I had worn a path into my floor from my pacing. She sat me down and I told her, I know some people with high intelligence lose emotions and become bored with everything. Will I end up like them? My mom laughed and hugged me. You're silly, Izuku. They are that way because they have giant egos. You don't have one and you're afraid of what others think. Just remember this. Just because you're smarter does not mean you're above or below anyone else. Use your brain to help others. Maybe you can help solve why we have quirks. That's when she left to make breakfast and I relaxed some. After taking a shower and putting on a simple pair of shorts and a t-shirt, I headed downstairs to see my father there. Calm down, son. I am just here to apologize to you and Inko. I know I haven't been a good father and I would like to make up for it. Mom was trying to hide a mark on her arm as I walked over to him. I grabbed him in the same place and dragged him out. You hurt Mom again and I will make sure you fear me. He drove off and I locked the door. Izuku, he won't give up. He's hard-headed and I told him now so many times I lost count before I married him. I healed the hand-shaped bruise before I ate breakfast with Mom. Once breakfast was over, I walked to the police station. I got a restraining order on him and another type of order that also keeps him out of the house, which is in Mom's name. With that done, I told Mom and went back to the park where I started to carve again. After a couple of hours of carving, I saw my father again. I accidentally burned the carving I was working on as he got out of his car. Do not come any closer, sir. I have a restraining order on you. If you get too close, you will be arrested. Also, stay away from my home or you'll get arrested. He sighed. Son, we need to talk. Sir, you lost the ability to call me son when you beat my mom. Leave now. He got closer and a cop who was nearby arrested him instantly. With him gone, I got back to carving and joking with some people nearby. When it became lunchtime, May flew in on a surfer. Hey Izu, you hungry? I nodded. Yeah, I am. You bring lunch or are we going out for lunch? She helped me onto her surfer and we had McDonald's for lunch. When we returned to the park, there was a bag of money and a few carvings left next to where I was carving. I smiled and pocketed the money and got back to carving, showing May how to do it. Hers were pretty bad at first, but I smoothed them out some. When it became supper time, she could carve as well as I could. We left the carvings there with a note saying they were free. They took me to my place and joined us for supper. We enjoyed it, joking, talking about future creations and such. When I gave Mom the money I got from the carvings, she tried to refuse it, but I wouldn't let her, saying I kept a good amount of it for personal use and May kept hers. She took it but wasn't really happy about it. May went home soon after and I got a phone call from an unknown number. "Is this the wood carver from the park?" I told him yes and asked if a carving broke. The guy laughed and said no. He wanted to see how big, detailed, and how many different items I could carve. When I told him I was unsure, he asked to meet me tomorrow after school at the park. I agreed and I told Mom what just happened. She told me to be careful and I went to my room to surf the internet. That's when a cop bodycam recording caught my eye. It was from yesterday when I was in Hell Reaper mode, and the comments on it was about how I was a villain, I should be jailed, killed, or worse. A few said I should be the judge, jury, and executioner if I really am death, or my quirk can see if someone did a crime. Sounds like fun, but since the cops know it's me, I can't do it. That's also when I got messages from all of my classmates. They were all scared they would have to face me. Well, all except May and Katsuki. Katsuki asked if I used it to defend my mom like it looked like. I told him what happened and he tested back. "I know I treated you like shit, and I know if it wasn't me to cause it, you might have died by the slime. I'm glad you're a better person with an awesome quirk, but I will become #1 hero. That way, no matter what, you'll have to look up to me knowing I'm better." I chuckled at his attempted apology and sent him a message saying I know why he's always angry. It's a quirk drawback, and if he allows me to, I can remove it. After that, I went to sleep and had a dream with me as hero #0. The hero code, Hell Reaper. I woke up early and made Mom and I breakfast. Today had some dread in it, and for some reason I felt like I was being called. Once I was done eating, I headed to school and avoided a few flying grapes from Minta. He was mad at me because all the girls had anti-Minta gear, causing him to go flying every single time he tried. When he tried to grope me, I grabbed him by his grapes and lifted him up with a glare. "Now, what did I say about you trying to grope my girlfriend? Don't do it with you around." I used Hellfire, tossed him into the air and kicked him, yelling, "Never try it again, you grape-headed idiot." When he finally landed in a river that was nearby, Elvira had already dragged me to her office. I was scolded until I told her that he groped May, tried to grope 50 other girls, and if he had seen her, she would have been targeted. She didn't believe me until he walked in and his eyes instantly focused on her tits. She instantly let me go to class, and Minta was scolded, given multiple detentions, and has to go through special classes to end his perverted ways. Midway through the morning, Katsuki walked into the hangar I share with May. "Nerd, what did you mean in that text last night?" I quickly sat up and backed away out of habit. After I steadied my nerves, I told him, "My quirk let me create a HUD display which lets me see quirks, stamina, health, and a few other things. Now let me see your hands, please." He sat down in my chair and put his hands on my desk, palm down. I gently flipped them and began to mess with his quirk. After removing the anger, easily irritated bit from it, I saw some dormant parts to it. Wow, I did not expect this. "Katsuki, your quirk isn't fully active. There are bits still dormant." He was surprised. "Wait, my quirk isn't being fully used." I shook my head and looked into it. May walked over as I made a hologram of Katsuki's body with it obviously censored where needed. "You have your explosive sweat glands in your hands, but you also have them on the soles of your feet, your elbows, back of your calves, and your tear ducts can make it too. Fortunately, if all of them get taken out of dormancy, you'll become blast-proof, gain more control over it, and control over when, where, and how much you sweat." May started to cuss before making him a new outfit as he yelled, "F yeah, break that limit and boost me up." I nodded and removed it along with a bit of his ego so he has full quirk control. Once that's done, I heard a voice. I looked around, causing Katsuki look at me confused. "Deku, are you okay? You just went pale." After convincing him that I'm fine, I sent him back to class and got myself a drink. I drank some water and heard the voice again. This time it said something along the lines of trouble and the letters U, S, and J. I didn't understand and headed back to my hangar to work on Katsuki's new outfit. Luckily, May and I got it done before lunch and we turned it in. We all ate lunch together. When we headed to class together, I froze in the doorway. The voice was back, USJ. "Death, Reaper, must." They asked if I was okay and I simply nodded as I headed to my seat. She of course sat on my lap again, even though she has her own seat now. Aizawa crawled into the room, not leaving his sleeping bag. "Everyone put on your gym or hero outfits. I want you at the bus in 10 minutes. We all did as told and I sat near the back of the bus so I could think. That's when Tsuyu, nice girl with a frog quirk, decided to bug me. Pun definitely not intended. "Midoriya, what exactly is your quirk? I know you call it the code, but that's about it." Kirishima looked up. "Wait, Midoriya bro, you're the pixel clone dude from my test." I nodded as I tried to figure out what the voice meant. "Pixel clone? What does that mean?" Uraraka chuckled. During the entrance exam, he created a pixelated army of himself. He saved me and died in the process. This got Katsuki's attention. Wait, you died twice already. I flinched and sighed, over 7 times. Most was because I was learning my quirk. Minda growled. Of course the immortal of the class hates me. This is when Katsuki made the first joke I've heard not aimed at me. Be glad he doesn't eat grapes. If you were Katsuden, you'd be doomed. I smirked. Maybe I should edit your quirk from sticky grapes to infinite Katsuden. He cowered until I started to laugh. Don't worry, I don't want my Katsuden to be flavored with a heap of pervert. This made everyone laugh, including Aizawa, who I though was asleep. Wait, Midoribro, you can edit quirks? I flinched and nodded. Yeah, but it takes a long time to do and make sure your body can handle it. Katsuki actually got the dormant bits of his quirk activated. Now before you all ask, and oh, maybe when we get the week off next month. Problem is it'll take at least an hour each and there are 19 of you I have to do. Of course the voice returned right then. Program. Upgrade. Time. Now. This time Momo noticed me stiffening and going pale. Izuku, are you okay? You suddenly went pale. Guys, I apologize, but this will feel weird. With that I scanned everyone except Katsuki and upgraded their quirk the best I could. Aizawa was easy to change. Remove his need to blink and his chronic dry eye and he's good to go. Once everyone was upgraded, I dozed off for the rest of the trip. I don't have any clue what they did while I was unconscious, but Katsuki and Mei woke me up when we arrived. Mei thanked me for the boosted zoom and now her fingers can become tools. She was ecstatic that she has both her parents' quirks and stronger too. I slowly stood up and followed everyone into the building we were at. We met 13 who gave us a warning speech about dangerous quirks. Once they were done they said, "It is because of quirks we created this place, the unseen simulation, join our USJ." I paled and saw a portal appear as the voice returned. Now Hell Reaper, save your friends. I growled and moved in front of everyone as the villains appeared through the portal along with a thing called Namu. That's when a guy covered in hands began his stupid monologue. We are the League of Villains. Now where is All Might? We are here to kill him. Well, since he isn't here, I guess we can kill the students. Of course, that last sentence sealed his fate. Shigaraki Tamura, Quirk Decay, student of All for One. Go back now or suffer. He laughed. What are you going to do, game wannabe? I smirked. You asked, you shall learn. My body caught on fire, burning away all of my flesh. While this startled everyone, my outfit changed to a Reaper's robe and I got my sai. I am hero in training, Hell Reaper. Turn back now or your souls will be my afternoon snack. Kirigiri, the warp cloud entity, walked forward a few steps. Why are you a hero when that quirk suits a villain better? Join us and let's raise this corrupt world. I began to laugh as I looked at him, my voice beginning to become deep and ancient sounding. Why would I become a villain when I follow the hero's code? Namu, kill him. The poor creature attacked me only for his fist to go through me as I touched its head. You suffered greatly. I free you of the mortal coil, young one. But that it collapsed and became a young child about 8 with blackish purple goo flowing off them. I picked up the child and walked over to Aizawa, handing him over. Keep the body safe. I will get his soul back once it's safe. Aizawa nodded as rage filled his eyes. Go all out, Hell Reaper. You have permission to use your quirk as you wish to defend your classmates. I quickly rushed at the villains and cut them down by temporarily cutting their souls so they can't move their limbs yet stay alive. When all but Kirigiri, Shigaraki, and another Namu which came out through a portal a few seconds after I started my attack. Cheater. Hacker. This is not possible. Namu, kill that skeleton. This one actually hit me. I wasn't moved an inch, but his soul was that of a very murderous man. Your soul is stained by the blood of the innocent. Feel their pain. Every murder the guy did before and after becoming a Namu hit him, burning away his soul which I ate. Souls of murderers always fill me up. Now Shigaraki, Kirigiri, surrender now or else. Shigaraki was then warped behind me by Kirigiri where he grabbed me. Goodbye, Hell Reaper. Wait, why aren't you decaying? I laughed again as my mental stability began to crumble. You should know something about decay. It always comes after death. Unfortunately for you, I can't die. I knocked him out, then motioned for Kirigiri to lay down. He quickly did and I immobilized him. While I was fighting, Ida had gotten the police and more teachers. Everyone was arrested, but I stopped them when they tried to arrest Kirigiri. Your soul is pure. You should have been a hero if it wasn't for the fact you were created to follow orders. If you want, I can remove that bit from you. As yellow smoke which acted like his eyes widened. You can free me of his control. Please do it. I quickly did it and right then Shigaraki yelled as he woke up. Get me out of here, you stupid fart cloud. Kirigiri seemed to smirk as he yelled back. Shut up, you overgrown baby. That made him throw a tantrum as he was put in a cop car with special gloves made by Momo so he can't decay anything. I laughed as I reverted back to my regular body. Kirigiri, you must go to jail for a bit, but I will try to get you free. I will use my contacts if needed. He bowed to me. Thank you, Hell Reaper. I am definitely in your debt. With that, he was put in a car and drove off. After statements were made, I gave the kid back his soul and activated his dormant quirk. When he woke up, I talked to him for a bit. I talked to the police and called my mom, asking that if they can't find his parents, if my mom and I can be his foster family. They all agreed and the kid was happy. I sent him off as he told me his name. I quickly rushed to the bus but collapsed in the doorway of USJ, falling unconscious. Instead of me just waking up later, I had another dream. In it I met a female with what I thought was skeletal paint until I realized she was Lady Death. I'm sorry to mess with your life, Izuku. I had to stop many unneeded deaths. I slowly walked over to her. Why me? Why give me a quirk before I died? She laughed, sounding like bells and music. I chose you because you were the first in a very long time willing to meet me. Usually people who die have regrets and are not truly accepting their death. I sat in a nearby chair as she continued speaking. Also, you have all the quirks possible in the past, present, and future. Each ability, mode, and code you write is actually another quirk added to your collection. You are very special for current times. You are the first Reaper, agent of death in many, many centuries. You are my immortal Hell Reaper. Don't worry should your physical body die like it just did. We will talk for a minute and you'll be revived in a special way. Now revive my Reaper. You have work to do. I then watched as my body turned into dust and my soul was sucked into the dust as it reformed into my body and outfit I had on. In real time I was only dead for a couple of seconds, but I spent a few hours in Lady Death's castle. I got to the bus and shivered a little bit, prompting Momo to make me a thick weighted blanket. Midoribro, why did you just pull a Phoenix? I didn't cause it. My body died and Lady Death talked to me. Minda was next to me before I could finish my sentence. Death is a female. Is there a way to meet her without having to die? What I didn't expect was Lady Death grabbing and picking him up by his neck. How did you survive that? You were supposed to die, pervert. I'll take care of him. I gently grabbed her arm. Lady Death, maybe the pervert can change. Please drop him before he becomes a skeleton like you. She drops him and hears a thud. Wait, I'm solid. I thought I took his soul out of his body. And that's new. With that she vanished and I curled up in my blanket. We all went to school and then home for the rest of the day except me. I went to the park after changing to meet the guy who wanted to see my carving skills more. I met the guy and quickly turned down his offer. He wanted me to carve him 500 All Mights to sell at his store. With his cussing me out, I went home and went to sleep for the rest of the day and most of the next since we had a few days off. I got messages asking what I did to their quirks and such. I'd answer and go back to what I was due. I swear if I end up like Deadpool and loving Lady Death, I will kill myself. During one of the boring days off, I decided to travel between towns and areas. I ended up in a city where I felt really safe walking around. After a while of walking around, I feel something bump into me. When I saw it was a little girl, I knelt down and helped her up. Are you okay? I'm sorry about knocking you down. I wasn't looking where I was walking. She instantly grips me and whispers, help me. I couldn't see her name or data because of how close she was, but I could see overhauls. I didn't even have to have the data HUD to know he was evil. Mary, I told you couldn't come out until after supper. Simon, let's go home. She shook her head as I slowly stood up and picked her up. Overhaul, it's best you turn around and walk away. I know she is in no way related to you. I was ready for anything as I send and sauced to the police through my special watch. When Overhaul created spikes on the ground and walls of the buildings, I jumped up and landed on my solar surfer, which took a few seconds to form behind me. Hold on, Eri, I'm going to go fast. She gripped me harder before I took off. I barely got to the corner as more spikes tried to hit us. With a quick roll to the side, we barely avoid them, but it scratched up my surfer. For the next half hour, he chased us, destroying different buildings and some cars before I slammed him with my surfer, knocking him out. The police ignored my sauce until their department building got destroyed by Overhaul. They arrested him once I knocked him out, and I took Eri to the hospital. After lots of questions and tests, they find out she was very badly malnourished. She had the mentality of a toddler when she was obviously 6 years old, and she has scars all over her body. I called Mom about Eri, and she says that since they found the other kid's family, we can take care of Eri when she is able to leave. I smile and look at Eri. Hey Eri, I just talked to my mom. She says that if you want to, you can live with us. She instantly hugs me and cries. I spent the night there, and after the pediatrician gave me a diet for Eri, we went home. Eri, this is your new home. My mom and I will take care of you, okay? She nods as Mom quickly walks over and kneels in front of her. Hello, Eri. I am Inko, but you can call me Mom or Grandma if either is easier. Eri looked up at me. What will you be Izu. I knelt next to her laughing. Your brother or I can be your parent, but I don't know if I can adopt you or not. This is when Eri smiles, pointing to me, then my mom. Papa, Grandma. This makes Mom cry, muttering that she's finally a grandma. I give Eri a tour of the house and notice her bed is in my room. She pointed to her pink bed. Is that my bed? I nodded and put her on it. Yes, it is. Do you want to take a nap or play some games? That is when my mom said lunch is ready. Actually, let's eat and then choose, okay? Eri nodded and followed me to the kitchen. We ate and she yawned. I gently put her on the couch for a nap and covered her with a blanket. After I put on a child's show for her to listen to, May comes in. May looked at Eri and then me. I didn't know you were a babysitter, Izu. I told May what happened as Eri took her nap. When Eri wakes up an hour later, she points to May. Papa, who is she? May squealed softly. So cute. I froze for a bit trying to think of an answer as Mom walked into the room. "Oh, good afternoon, May. I see you met your boyfriend's daughter." Eri tilted her head. "Boyfriend." I sighed and put Eri on my lap. "You understand Mom and Dad are together, right?" Eri nods as she looks up at me. "Before they become a mommy and daddy, they date as boyfriend and girlfriend." I hoped that Eri understood as she looked between me and May. "So May is not yet mommy." This caused May, my mom, and I to laugh. May was the first to calm down enough to talk. "You can call me mommy if you want to." Eri hugged her and I smiled. "Looks like I need to ask May to marry me sooner than later." Of course May ruins the moment by trying to give Eri a flamethrower. "May, no. Eri, give me that please. I don't want you to get hurt with it." I gently took the flamethrower and glare at May. "May, this is not a kid's toy. You and I will definitely discuss this later." May looks a bit scared as I never glared before. After putting every single dangerous item that May had in a safe, we spend the evening with Eri teaching her some games and songs. After supper, May and I put Eri to bed. We talked for a while with me at my desk and May on my bed. After a bit of silence, I find out May is asleep. I quickly put a blanket on her, text her parents, and go to sleep on the couch in the living room. In the early morning, I hear a scream and I rush to Eri. She was scared that she made me vanish like her birth father. I quickly calmed her down and told her what happened. "Why did you sleep there instead of in bed with Mommy?" I laugh a bit and kiss Eri on the forehead. "Mommy and I aren't that far in our relationship yet. We are only dating, okay?" Eri nods as May begins to wake up. May apologized for dozing off in my bed, but I quickly silenced her by picking up her and Eri, bringing them downstairs to watch TV as I make breakfast. By the time Mom woke up, I had already done the dishes, left her a plate, and was playing with Eri as May went home. As Eri took her afternoon nap, Izawa stopped by with Nezu. They understood the situation and said I could bring Eri to class with me, but during support gear testing she can't be in the room. I nodded as I agreed and told them I would tell May. That's when Eri woke up and looked at Nezu. She walked over to him, wearing her blanket kinda like a giant robe. "Mister, what kind of kitty is this?" This caused Nezu to laugh. "I am not a cat. My name is Nezu and it is nice to meet you." Eri fell backwards in shock, but I caught her. "It's okay, Eri. Nezu won't hurt you." Nezu and Eri played for a little bit as Izawa asks to talk with me outside. "Thank you for getting rid of my dry eyes and protecting your classmates. Even mine, though Lady Death could have taken him." I chuckled some and nodded. "Not a problem, but I am worried though. Someone else will take over Hall's place and causes trouble later." Izawa agreed as Nezu and Eri walked out with both wearing folded newspaper hats. I quickly took a picture, definitely putting this in the family scrapbook. Eri gave me a smile as she handed me one as well. I picked her up and said goodbye to Nezu and Izawa as they got into their car. "Eri, in a few days you will be going to school with me. I will do my best to teach you, okay?" Eri gave me a determined look. "Can you teach me now?" I laughed and kissed her on the nose. "I can try to. Grandma might need to help me some when she gets home from work." We headed inside and all I could think about is how Monday will suck. I used my quirk to make Eri's hair to be May's color and gave it my hair's unruly, fluffy nature. She loves how it looks after she makes me give her streaks of green and one small clump of white. Once that was all done, I messaged All Might telling him I am going to check another dimension. He asked me to be careful and Mom made sure I knew that Eri is not allowed to slide between dimensions till she is 14. I set up my stuff and got ready to slide when May grabbed me by my shirt. "Nope, you are not leaving me behind this time." This made me chuckle and bring her with me. The wormhole took a few minutes to ride as we ended up on the Eiffel Tower in Paris. After we figured out where we were, a dude in a black cat costume ran by with an extending bow staff. I took a picture as a girl in a ladybug costume using a yo-yo to travel started to follow him. So we just saw a black cat and a bug. "This place is really out there." I nodded, agreeing with May as a Parisian walked over. "Oh, you've not heard of Ladybug and Cat Noir?" When I heard that, I sat on a nearby bench. In our dimension they were just cartoon characters, so I just slid us into a TV series. I have but never saw any good pictures of them. Their costumes are not like how I imagined them. The Parisian shrugged and left as I caught May up. "So we are in a cartoon reality. Okay, I just hope they didn't see up pop out of a portal," May said as the duo landed in front of us ready to fight. "May, they heard you." We both sighed as we got ready. Cat Noir was the first to speak. "Okay, who are you two and why didn't you want us to see you?" I came up with an idea and stood up. "I am Izuku and this is May. We are watchers. We are only allowed to observe realities and interacting can get us stripped of our powers. Can you just pretend you've not seen us, please? Mind wipe magic isn't our forte and we don't want to accidentally erase more than needed." Ladybug scoffed, as if we would believe that. "Now who are you really?" I sighed. "Of course we get stubborn heroes." With a flourish I snapped my fingers. "I have an idea. I will tell you both a secret that only you would know. Now it's best I whisper it in your ears or the other will know your identities." This made both look at each other nervously as I walked to a corner of the tower which is empty now for some reason. "How about we just talk over here so the other can't eavesdrop? I know Cat Noir wants to know your identity." May laughed. "Hun, don't tease the poor kitty. He's love-struck by the bug heroine. Ladybug walked over and crossed her arms. Okay, prove your lie if you can. I formed a chair out of digital data and sat down as I made a similar chair for her. Your name is Marinette Dupain Cheng. Your Kwame is named Tiki, and you have a crush on Adrian Agrest. You are clumsy out of costume since you lack confidence. Need I go on? She sat in her chair stunned. How do you know all of that? I laughed. I watched your world from my reality. I won't tell Cat, so don't worry. Trade places with him, please. She did, and Cat ran over. Tell me who Bugaboo is. I shook my head. I can't do that, Adrian Agrest. I can tell you that you do know her out of costume, and Plag knows who she is, but her Kwame would kill him if he told. He looked sad, but I laughed some. I will tell you that she does like you, though. She hated you at first, but an umbrella changed that. With that said, I walked back over to May with the sad hero following me. Now we just want to explore the world a little bit. Don't bug us and we won't cause trouble. May and I heard of an awesome bakery here and we want to try it. Ladybug pointed us in the right direction, and as we started walking I created a ladybug patterned umbrella. I kept walking as I laughed, with both getting flustered for different yet similar reason. We got close to the Dupain Cheng bakery and I slapped my forehead. I don't have money for here. Crud. I looked up as Ladybug landed on its roof. Actually, we might have a chance now. Marinette is home. We entered and looked around the bakery as Marinette spotted us. She walked over to us and smiled. I'm guessing you forgot to grab currency for our world. May laughed. Unfortunately, yes. We may be more advanced, but being forgetful is in our DNA. I dug into my bag and pulled out a big emerald and a sapphire in the shape of a heart. We can pay with gems though. They are still worth a lot. I gave the gems to Marinette and we grabbed a good amount of items. May was happy as I got her some chocolate. When she saw candy apples she screamed, Eri would love those. Let's get her some. That's when Adrian Agrest walked in. Hey Marinette, who are your friends and who is Eri? I pretended to introduce myself and May, trying to hold back my laughter. Eri is my adopted daughter, and even though May is just my girlfriend, she calls her mom. May nodded as she grabbed a couple of the apples. What do you think your mom would like, Izuku? I grabbed some breads and more chocolates before I said goodbye to Marinette and Adrian. I made sure to leave the umbrella there as I formed a portal. Once it formed, I shoved May through it and quickly followed, speeding us through much faster than earlier. We popped out on the couch and May hit me asking why I shoved. Another wormhole was forming. For some reason it scared me. If that was a super villain, we could have led them to our world. I just hope I am wrong and it is a good person. I started to put stuff from the bakery away as Eri tackled me. Welcome back, Papa. Did you have fun? I pet her head as I gave her a candy apple. Yes, May and I met two heroes that are actually a TV show from a long time ago. She ate her apple as I set up the TV to watch Miraculous Ladybug. After a few shows we ate supper and went to bed. Luckily May went home this time, so I wasn't on the couch. After the few days off from the USJ incident, the school had us do training for the sports festival. May and I worked together on our fighting skills when we met up after school. As a little joke and to keep Eri involved, we let her fight with mini clones of May and I. It was so cute as the Minas and her played and fought. Though she was hesitant, we did have her train with her quirk. It wasn't long until she could use it easily and stop it when she got the result she wanted. As a reward, I gave her a boost to her quirk and renamed it VCR. She can rewind and fast forward stuff she touches. We had her train that aspect and she got May and I by surprise. I told her about the quirk test Aizawa, or Sleepy as she calls him, had us do. Then that little snowflake tossed a softball and at the last second used her quirk on it. It went from no speed to lots of speed, even though it still went the same distance. If you decide to play baseball instead of being a hero, you'll have a killer fastball. She laughed and hugged me as May wondered what just happened. That's when the day came for the festival. I was called up as the first year's spokesperson. I just want everyone to do their best and try to prove to the heroes and civilians watching one major thing. It's not the quirk that determines a hero. It's the person who is trying to be a hero with what they have. I stepped down and kicked Minta. I saw what you were about to do, Minta. Touch May and I'll make you into a kickball. He quickly backed away as we all got ready to do the obstacle course. I literally got into a sleeping bag as everyone else started running the course. Aizawa yelled through the mic, Midoriya, get out of that sleeping bag and take this seriously. In retaliation, I stood up in the sleeping bag and randomly warped through the course to the end before laying back down. Present Mike started to laugh as Aizawa's jaw dropped. Guess he beat you at your own game. With my already crossing the line, I just took a nap for the next 10 minutes for everyone to cross. The next challenge was the cavalry battle. I got teamed up with May, Uraraka, and Momo. They made a joke. How about we just carry this sleepy Izuku and have him float us or something? The second she finished saying that, I pull out a splash potion of levitation and slow falling from Minecraft. Momo, can you make us ropes and you guys sleeping bags? You can all nap once we get into the air. Momo flicked my nose. Okay Midoriya, why are you being so lazy today? I sighed. Just haven't slept well since the incident. I rather not push myself to death again. They slapped me on the back of the head through my sleeping bag. Izu, get out of the sleeping bag or I will use my bomb on your lab at home. I get out of the sleeping bag and turn it into a platform of some sort. Just get on. We all got on with Mei on our shoulders. When the match started, the platform just flew up into the air. Of course, Kaken tried to use his explosions to get to us. Simple dodge left or right each time got us to the 1v1 battle tournament. We got a lunch break and I helped lunch rush feed everyone by making food with my hellfire. Everyone was enjoying the kebabs and burgers I was making as I tried to figure out how to use my flames to air free food. Next round started and I headed into the arena with a yawn. I was against a purple-haired kid named Shinso. The round started with him asking questions like what's it like to be blessed with a powerful quirk. I nearly decked him, but instead I walked over to him and said, death is never a fair trade for a quirk. Apparently my answer disturbed him as he backed away and out of the ring. Aizawa was mad. Okay Midoriya, what did you say to him? I repeated myself, yelling louder than present mic, then walked away to get my lunch since I didn't eat yet. I didn't watch the battles or return to the arena until I was against Todoroki. When the match was started, Todoroki used his fire and ice on me. I would just break the ice and eat the fire as I tried to figure out what to do to attack him. Unfortunately, that's when I remembered the emerald booger and decided to shoot them from my hands. The first one whizzed by Todoroki's legs, distracting him some. When he saw the emerald in the arena, he realized what I was doing a second too late. His ice wall did protect him, but it also sent him out of the ring as the emeralds broke it off the floor and made it move. After that match, I was cornered by Endeavor and my father. I secretly sent an sauce to the police as he talked. Son, you were awesome. Now the restraining order is made null with a fellow hero being next to me, so don't try it. I want you to lift the restraining order or else I will make sure you never see the light of day again. Endeavor nodded. A son's job is to carry on their father's desires. Shoto will become #1 cause I want him to. Now you must listen to your father or else. I sighed and shook my head. Hisashi, the restraining order is not made null and I will never lift it if you keep this sit up. Also, your son is the newest agent of death, Lady Death stated, interrupting me. Lady Death, what are you doing here in the mortal realm? She smiled at me softly, then glared at my father and Endeavor. I was here enjoying the tournament until these two idiots offended you and, by extension, me. Endeavor growled. Lady Death is a villain's name. Leave now or you will be arrested. I couldn't help but laugh. Endeavor, you can't arrest Lady Death. She is literally death. If it was time for you to cross over, she would take your soul right now. That seemed to enrage the walking trash fire as he tried to incinerate Lady Death. I just watched as she just stood there looking at her non-existent nails. You call that hell flames? Hell's fire is much hotter than that. His jaw dropped and I knocked him and my father out. Police arrived, arrested both flaming idiots, took my statement, then left. My next match was against Ida, who came at me as fast as he could. I spent most of the match narrowly dodging him even though I could move much faster. After about 5 minutes I activated Hell Reaper mode and sliced Ida's soul slightly. All it did was remove his balance just long enough for him to accidentally fall out of the arena. I helped Ida up after turning off my flames when I was suddenly teleported to an alleyway. There I saw Stain, the hero killer, and Ingenium, Ida's older brother. Stain, just drop your weapons please. As you can see, I have no blood and Lady Death doesn't want you to hurt him. Ingenium instantly recognized me. Hell Reaper, I thought the sports festival was still going on. This really pissed off Stain. You call yourself a hero but you know villains. Die villain and fake hero. He tried to stab me but I grabbed his wrist. I am not a villain. I am a Reaper for Lady Death, the goddess of death, written in every culture and religion. You have insulted her. Prepare to get hurt. I yelled as my hell flames covered my body, melting his blades without hurting him. Once all of the metal was gone, I gave him a taste of my penance stare, knocking him out. Cuff and take him in please. I have a tournament to finish. I returned to the stadium and caught the tail end of Kaken's last battle before he has to fight me. To make the battle simple, I won after an hour of fighting. Using his increased firepower and where he can explode, he was all over the arena and above it. I just had Hell Reaper active so I wouldn't burn at all from his explosions. He did send my head flying, but I caught it before it left the arena. That really stunned him and that is the only reason I won. Distraction by dismembered skeleton let me finally knock him out. Award ceremony was boring. When it was all done I went home, played with Yuri, and then went to sleep. Next morning I was yelled at by Aizawa for not taking it seriously, played chess with Nezu, and nearly blew up the lab when Mei suddenly kissed me. I swear, why can't I have a good day? I walked downstairs with Yuri on my shoulders. Mom was already up and was holding a letter. Morning Izuku. Hey Yuri, did you sleep well? We both nodded as she handed me the letter. I opened it and smiled as I set Yuri on her chair. Guess what, Yuri? What? As of yesterday you are officially my daughter, Yuri Midoriya. She screamed and hugged me, happy as she could be. After we both ate, I brought Yuri outside and showed her a custom solar surfer I made just for her. The surfer was streaked with pink, green, and white, had a car seat with buckles and a helmet, a cute flower steering wheel, and it had stabilizers so that she can't ever flip it. I was getting sick of the bus. You ready to try out, hun? I wasn't even done before Eri was in the seat and buckling up. With a laugh, I helped her seat up and put her helmet on before we set off to pick up May. When we got there, Eri was proud. Look, Mommy, I got a surfer too. Snowball Express. We both laughed as May hopped onto hers. I see that, honey. I'll paint the name onto it later. After I talked to your dad about being a hypocrite. Daddy, what's a hypogriff? The people around awed at the question as I kissed her nose. Hun, your mommy called me a hypocrite, not a hypogriff. Remember the big pink thing she tried to give you? Wallet and the surfers are dangerous if misused. Yours, though, has a ton of safety features along with anti-villain gear. I don't want my snowball getting hurt. She smiled and then smirked. Daddy wanna race to school today. May left the second the word race was said. I had to hop onto my surfer to catch up to her and Eri, who left right after May. With May winning because she cheated, we all get off our surfers and I show Eri how hers becomes a little cap for her horn so it doesn't accidentally prod people. Once we get that fitted onto her horn and tightened so it won't accidentally fall off, we head to Nezu since he wanted to watch over Eri this morning. When lunchtime came, Eri, May, and I ate in the cafeteria with all of a one looking at her confused. Deku, why is there a girl with a metal horn on your lap? I laugh. Sorry, I mean Katsuki. This is my daughter Eri. I just adopted her after rescuing her. Eri removed the metal cover. Can I show them the Snowball Express? I shook my head. Not inside, sweetie. You might hurt someone unfolding your custom surfer. That resulted in Momo slapping me. You seriously gave a 5-year-old a surfer? Those things are dangerous. May laughed and showed a picture of Era's custom surfer. Izu went all out. I looked it over for a bit and he has it using more than 3 SSBs for all the defensive measures. Shields, perfect cloaking, tasers, AI. Mommy, what's AI? They kissed Eri on the nose. It's a program with a mind of its own. Izu has it set to protect you without killing anyone. Eri hugged me. Thanks, Daddy. The class awed as I put her folded surfer back over her horn. I'm always going to protect my snowball. We finished eating and headed up to class. Eri sat on my lap and May was behind me when Minta finally saw my daughter. Hey, Minta. I can't wait to see what you look like in 15 years. I quietly gave Eri to May and grabbed the great pervert. I will be right back. Minta just tried to perv on my daughter. I dragged him out with a very mad class glaring at Minta and a scheming Aizawa smirking. I gently knocked on Elvira's door, but when she said come in, I threw Grapus through the door and marched after him. I'm sorry to give you more work, but I want permission to turn this grape into a grapette. He perved out on my daughter. Elvira glared at him. What did he say? Something about can't wait to see her body in 15 years. Elvira gave the pervert a waking nightmare using her quirk and we talked about his punishment. Once we were done talking, she removed the nightmare. And we went back to class. Aizawa was playing rock, paper, scissors with Eri when we returned. Hi, Daddy. Mr. Sleepy taught me a new game. I keep losing though. I ruffled her hair as I tossed the perv into his seat. Minta was nightmared and Elvira is planning his punishment. He nodded as I took Eri back to our seat. That's when we said what he wanted to earlier. Now, as I was going to say before, Minta's statement is that usually we let 2nd and 3rd years do internships. This year we are allowing all but Midoriya to get an internship. Midoriya, you'll be going to a special testing area for your quirk and to see if you can get your license much earlier than most, especially since you beat Overhaul, League of Villains, and Lady Death chose you. I nodded and Eri looked up at me. Is Lady Death a colorful skeleton lady? I nodded. Yes, Eri. How did you that? Eri smiled. She visits me at night calling me her surrogate granddaughter, whatever that means. I smiled. I guess she kinda is Grandma Death to you. The class got distracted by what Eri said until Katsuki yelled, finally registering what Aizawa said. What do you mean Deku gets to test for his license already? Why can't we test as well? I froze as Lady Death grabbed him, snarling. Shut up, you nuclear Pomeranian. It's your fault Izuku is a Reaper. Eri yelled. Grandma Death let Mr. Angry go. He's becoming like you. Lady Death instantly obeyed and hugged Eri. Hey, Snowflake. I didn't know you'd be here. Eri hugged her back and gave her a drawing of her, me, May, my mom, and Lady Death having a picnic. That's when I came up with an idea. Lady Death, can you temporarily bring a living person to their personal afterlife? She nodded as she set Eri down. That is a very specific question, my dear Reaper. Who deserves to see it? Zero caught what I was doing and wrapped Minta in tape as he tried to escape the classroom. If I am catching what Midoriya is hinting, he is referring to Minta. Lady Death quickly grabbed the wrapped-up pervert. Okay, what did you do this time? Did you grope my surrogate future daughter-in-law? Speak, grapist. He cries and wets himself. Lady Death, he made a comment about Eri. He can't wait to see what she looks like in 15 years, Momo said as she backed away from her, afraid of what is about to happen. Aizawa, consider him on an internship in my castle. I'm sure seeing his afterlife will scare the perverted ways out of him. He nods. As you wish, but there is a test today and internships don't start till Monday morning. Please put him down. She drops him like a sack of potatoes. Fine, just tell his parents I will be collecting him at 1 second past midnight. With that she vanished, and Aizawa passed out the test with him taking Eri up front to continue playing rock, paper, scissors. I honestly have no clue what was on Minta's test, but I was smirking as I read mine. 1. Don't tell Minta anything. 2. Write your name. 3. Wait 5 minutes and turn it saying that was easy. 4. Before anyone asks, yes, I made this just in case Minta makes everyone mad. I will show you all his test after internships. The fool was sweating like a hooker in a church. I waited a bit less than 5 minutes before turning it in. I brought Eri back to my seat and gave her a small ball to play with. It was cute and fluffy, and as she played with it until it became this, she squeaked and played with it for the rest of class. Oops, this image does not follow our content guidelines. To continue publishing, please remove it or upload a different image. That's when Midnight walked in and saw Eri. Hey Snowball, I thought you would be with Nezu all day. Eri showed her the small fox ball. Nope, Daddy brought me to class today. I saw Grandma Death and Daddy gave me this. Midnight smiled as she asked what Minta was doing. I filled her in and she smirked. Think Lady Death will let me help. I shrugged and we all went to choose our hero names as Minta kept doing his test. I stopped Katsuki and wrote Ground Zero on his mini whiteboard. Trust me, it suits you and I rather you not make Lady Death any matter. He nodded and put that in. After a little bit I went up with the hero code, Hell Reaper. Midnight was about to reject it when Lady Death showed up. All Reapers have the word Reaper in their name. It has been so long since I have had one, so please let it go. If you do, you can help. Midnight agreed and she walked out with Lady Death so they can meet up with Elvira to help punish Minta. Minta, your week of hell is just getting worse and worse. I just hope it's not class SS hell. I smirked as he relaxed, thinking as was easy. Don't relax, Grapist. From least to worst, the rankings are E, D, C, B, A, S, and SS. Last time I checked, only Kane has seen that level of hell. Class ended and we left with Minta looking like a husk out of fear. We all talked and planned a class and Eri outing for the weekend. We did it and Eri got toys and dresses to play with. I hope Minta has fun with Lady Death. I stumbled downstairs and head over to the school for my test for a license. Honestly, I was really tired from using a lot of my hell flame and Eri having some nightmares. With my mom watching over Eri this morning, I was alone as I head to the school on my surfer in autopilot and with me in a sleeping bag. When I arrive at the school, I get off the surfer and switch to another sleeping bag made for mobility. After a bit, I get to my classroom and wait for Aizawa to walk in since I was told to wait for him here. When he got in and saw me in the odd sleeping bag asleep, he sighed. After waking me, he asked where I got it and for me to follow him. I toss him a yellow one I had got for him as I followed to him to the testing area. The test area was Site Alpha, which still had some burns from my SSB test. The first test was for me to fight all of my teachers and defend a gem statue at the same time. Test sounds like fun, but can I stay in this sleeping bag? Eri had nightmares last night and I didn't get much sleep. The person overseeing the test wanted to postpone it, but I insisted to get this done. I formed clones, put a giant moving shield shaped like a spider around the item I was protecting in me. I dozed off to sleep as my clones defeated all of my teachers as the shield spider moved around and kept me safe. Trust me, I freaked out a few teachers afraid of bugs. Present Mike. Midnight, though she was more unsettled. And a few teachers I don't really know. Lunch Rush tried to wake me up with the smell of his good cooking, which I had clones steal and keep away from him. After an hour of people trying to wake me, steal the gem, or destroy all of my clones, I won. The main thing that made it last so long is that they kept breaking each other free. When it was done, I woke up and undid it all. Sorry, I wasn't more serious about it. I really needed that nap. The overseer walked over and sighed. Since it took so long, I can't give you your license. But if you beat the next test, you will get it. I nodded and got out of my sleeping bag and putting it in storage ready to go. The teachers removed their weights and I had to do it again. This time I must do as much as possible before the 10-minute time limit was up. I smirked and nodded. Make the time limit 1 minute and I will still beat it. He humored me and got into his seat saying start. The second he said the word start, I froze time. I began to sing the theme song from an old movie series called The 10th Kingdom. I sing the song with clones making the music a cappella. I took my time using rainbow-colored ribbons to tie all of the teachers together. Once I get them tied up, I began to eat the food my clones stole earlier as I unfroze time. The overseer was greatly stunned when 1 second I was next to him and the next I was on a giant stack of tied-up heroes eating gumbo that was stolen earlier. The teachers who didn't know me were stunned with All Might laughing his ass off. Well done, young Midoriya. What code did you use this time? I finished eating and hopped off. I just froze time and created rainbow ribbons only I or my pixel clones can break. I untied them after the timer for a minute was over and got my license. With my test done, I decided to use the rest of the week to spend time with my family, earn money for them, and hopefully get a lot of sleep. When I got home, I showed them my license and my mom noticed something I didn't. Izu, you said you have a provisional hero license, right? Either this is a misprint or they jumped straight to pro for you. I quickly checked and sat back stunned. After she called All Might and spoke for a while, he came over. Something wrong, young Midoriya? Your mother sounded worried. I showed him the license and pointed to the part that said professional license. Yeah, Overseer decided to make you a pro after you caught us all in less than 1 second. I was stunned, and after he talked to my mom, he left. Mom and Eri took me out after we picked up May to celebrate my license. I wish we just ate at home. Halfway through our meal, a group of idiots came into the restaurant and used their quirks to get everyone to hand over their wallets and to get the manager to open the safe. When the idiots came to my table, I was eating as if they weren't there. Oi, broccoli head, hand over your money and wallet. I glared at the dude. What did you just call me? Do you not watch the UA Sports Festival? I slowly stood up and pulled out my wallet with my hero license in clear view. They looked and tried to attack me. I froze time, knocked them all out, tied them up, and put them outside on a pole. I returned all the property I could and left the rest in the bag before sitting down and resuming time. What a bunch of idiots. I swear villains don't learn. Everyone collected their property from the bag, and who would walk in but Endeavor? Who tied up the idiots on the pole, and why? I groaned. I swear this afternoon is getting worse and worse. I tied up the idiots as they tried to rob the place. Before you yell at me for illegal usage, come here and look at my license. He walked over, then burned it in front of me. I just see a fake license. I got dragged away by him and sent to jail. I'm going to destroy that dumpster fire later. I was of course released soon after with a new copy of the license. As I walked out, I saw my father smirking and talking with Endeavor. My son is an idiot. As if he can be a pro already. Provisional maybe, but not pro. Endeavor smirked. Yeah, I hope he doesn't get out for fake ID. I slapped both as I walked by. That was for burning my license and for being a holes. Plus I am a pro like you too. I showed the license and walked away, flipping them both off. That's when both sent fire at me. I ate both streams of fire and froze time. I tied both up, gagged my father, and put them in a cell made for fire quirks. I resumed time as I walked by the jailer. The two in flame cell attacked me. I'd say give them a day to cool off before processing the morons. He nodded after I show him my license, and he checked it. I warped home and waited for my mom, Eri, and May to show up. I was released, got my license reprinted, and re-arrested father and his flaming dumpster of a friend. I hope they both lose their licenses. After that we played some games ranging from board, twister-like games, and video games until supper time. After supper time we all went to bed with me and May in a bed with Eri between us. Mom laughed and covered us in a blanket. I think I will fully divorce his father and get a new boyfriend. It has been forever since I had a real date. The day after the test I wake up and head downstairs to see May making breakfast with Mom and Eri playing a small game of patty cake. I kissed May, hugged my little snowball of a daughter, and have her a small gadget I made for her. With a smile I put the gloves on her hands. Pretend you're throwing a softball, okay? What she does as she does is told is aim for May. As she tosses, a snowball forms in the glove which hits May in the back. May screams as the cold snow goes down her shirt. I quickly stop Eri from tossing more as I brace myself. Sorry, hun, she didn't let me finish what I was going to say. I poke Eri on the nose. I have a habit of explaining an item's use before I explain what it does. Next time wait a bit, okay? Now as you saw, it launches snowballs. Only use them to play with people who know what they do. Not everyone is okay with being hit by a snowball. Now apologize to May. Eri walked over and hugged May. Sorry, mommy. I just wanted to see what it does. May forgave her and finished breakfast. We all eat and I head out with Eri as I put on my own gloves. Anyone want to join the snowball fight? May and Mom laughed, saying after the dishes they will join. I smirked and showed Eri that if she pretended to form and shape a snowball, the gloves will form and make the snowball bigger over time. We had roughly melon-sized snowballs by the time they came out. The second they came out, the snowballs hit them, making May shriek again. After Eri and I finished laughing, I gave Mom and May their gloves, teaching them how to use them. For the next couple of hours we had snowballs flying all over the place. A few neighbors asked why a snowball flew over the fence. They all saw us flinging snowballs and asked since when we had a nice quirk. Sorry neighbor, we are just using a gadget I made. While I showed them the gloves, I got pelted by a lot of snowballs. After a bit some people asked how much for a few pairs for their kids. I explained I'd need exact measurements and it will take a bit to make them. They eagerly agreed and went off to get the measurements and colors. By lunchtime we were all damp, tired, hungry, and I had 50 orders for gloves that each had at least 3 pairs. As Mom and Eri, who was standing on a floating step stool I made for her, made lunch, I set up another mini factory to make the gloves. When lunch was over I set Eri down for a nap and watched some TV with May as Mom headed off to work. Okay kids, be good and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Mom, May and I yelled, making her laugh as she headed out the door. We must watch TV until there was a knock at the door. We both groaned as I got up. I opened the door. Hello, how? You need to leave now. Standing there was my father again. Why won't he give up? I won't leave, son. You are to lift the restraining order or else. I adjust my gloves and begin to smirk. Leave or get pelted. Your choice, and I hope you choose pelted. Yuri just woke up and walks over to me. Daddy, who is that? This set my father off as I knelt down. Yuri, get your gloves on and get May, please. He is an exception to the rule with the gloves. What the F are you doing with a kid? When did you even knock up a girl? He grabbed my arm and I pushed him away as May and Yuri returned gloves primed. You have 3 seconds to leave or else. He tried to grab me again. How dare you talk to me that way? He got a mouthful of snow. This stunned him as I laughed. Bullseye, Yuri. Now begin the pelting. The 3 of us began to launch so many snowballs at him he was actually knocked back a good amount. By the time the police arrived he was basically a messed up, fire-breathing Frosty the Snowman. They laughed as they dragged him into the fireproof truck. When will he give up? This is at least the 7th time. I nodded and of course got their orders of snow blaster gloves. I quickly got them from my mini factory and handed them over to them. Might be useful for riots, huh? They laughed and left as I took Yuri to the nearby park. As she played with kids that were there, I carved and managed the factory, bagging up orders with the names and address of who ordered it. After a bit I just had clones deliver them as I talked to people about my quirk, my side jobs making stuff, trying to support my mom and adoptive daughter, and what it's like at UA. That's when a dude with a metal hand tried to steal a carving. I warped in front of him and knocked him out, calling the cops. Sorry to call you guys twice in one day, but someone tried to steal from me. He's currently unconscious and I'm at the park. A carving. Yes, I will carve you something. With a sigh I sat back down and kept carving and watching Yuri as she tossed snowballs at kids. Yuri, do your friends want gloves too? A round of kids cheering made us all laugh. While measuring kids' hands and getting their colors, the cops arrived and took the dude away. They asked what happened and what I am doing. I told them and they laughed as the kids began to have a big snowball fight. I spent the afternoon carving and making gloves before Yuri got tired. After deposit some money into the bank, I carried Yuri home and smiled as she dozed off. Who else would be at my door other than Endeavor, the dumpster fire? I sigh and gently wake up Yuri as I set her down. Yuri, this person is another exemption to the rule. What do you want, dumpster fire? Did my father call you to threaten me? I put on my gloves while Yuri instantly wakes up, pulling hers on as well. Yes, he did. He said you attacked him unprovoked and nearly gave him frostbite. I sighed and popped my neck. Endeavor, I have a restraining order. That means he can't be near me at all. If you keep it up, I will get one on you as well. That will be very difficult should we have to work together as professional heroes. Like planned, he lit up like a spark on dry grass. You are not a pro hero and you never will be unless you support your father. His yelling brought out May, who was wearing an apron and pulling on her gloves. Today is not our day. 2 damn hotheads ruining our day off. May, language. Now you walking dumpster fire. You leave willingly or I activate these gloves' true power on you. Your choice. May and Yuri see me turn the small bumps in the palm of the gloves and mimic me as Endeavor growls. After about 2 minutes of waiting, he attacked us. The jerk tried to hurt my daughter. I was livid. I warped in front of Yuri and let him burn my shirt away as I protected my daughter. Once he was done, I stood up and glared at him. How dare you? How dare you attack my daughter? He backed away as I became a different Reaper form. Instead of being a flaming skeleton, I became a skeleton made of ice. May, Yuri, go inside and call an ambulance. This sorry excuse of a hero is about to become a frozen dumpster fire. They ran in as frost and ice began to form on the ground around of me. I slowly walked to him. If your first idea is to attack a person's kid, you don't deserve a kid or your license. He was in awe of me. Your power is better than my son's. I punched him in the gut, making his fire there and up to his neck freeze solid, then break. This stunned him as I then kicked him into a tree. If you don't want Hisashi as your father, I could be. That made me even more angry as I froze the air around him to keep him attacked to the tree. I became my normal self and slapped him using my Niflhamer Frost to put out all of his fire. You are the 3rd abusive parent I've dealt with. First was my own, second was Overhaul. That's right, I took down a high-level villain on my own before I had a license. I saved Yuri from him and you tried to hurt her. I'm surprised Todoroki hasn't tried to kill you yet. I'm going to get his mom out of that asylum you put her in. The cops arrive and dragged him away as All Might lands his surfer next to me. One of those days, son. I nodded. Yep, first my father and then him. At least my father avoided hurting Yuri. This dumpster fire went straight for her. I walked into my house. Simon Surf Might. I think May brewed some tea. All Might stopped me, grabbing my forearm. Your back is badly burned. We should get it treated. Before he could yell for someone, I covered my back in Niflhamer Frost. Healing the burn instantly cause anything fire-related vanishes when the frost touches it. Sorry, I forgot he did that. At least I found another Reaper form. Niflhamer Reaper, the frozen death. Only Hell's Flame will counter it and only I have it currently. All Might sighed and hugged me. I know you're unkillable, but don't scare me, okay? I nodded and headed inside with him following me. Yuri ran over and hugged me. Is that meant gone? I nodded. Yes, my little snowball. That dumpster fire is gone. She smiled and I got All Might a drink. So what's up, All Might? Enjoying having your old energy back? He nodded. Yes, I am. It's awesome not having to worry about my time limit now that it is gone. I actually came here to talk to your mom. I want to ask her out. I chuckled. Fine with me, but she is still married to my father, so might want to wait a bit. That's of course when my mom came home and walked in. I have news and a question. Who froze my front flower patch? I chuckled. Sorry, Mom. Endeavor attacked Eri and I retaliated. She looks me and Eri over. Did either of you get hurt? I simply shake my head. She relaxes. I have started the paperwork to divorce your father. If he signs the papers, I will be single again. I chuckled a little bit. Talk about timing, All Might. My mom then turned and saw him. I am so sorry. I was so worried about my son and granddaughter I didn't notice you. She bowed a bit, making All Might laugh. It's okay, Ms. Midoriya. Also, I agree timing is a bit crazy. Why is that, All Might? Mom asked as she sat down. I just hope your husband signs those papers soon. I was hoping you'd go out on a date with me. Mom quickly hugged him. I wish you asked in high school. In forever, Toshinori. You grew up with All Might. Mom and All Might nodded before May yelled. Supper is done, everyone, and I made more than enough for Dad Might to stay. All Might and Mom blushed as Eri and I headed to the table with me laughing at May's joke. Supper was fun. We all joked, had fun, and ate plenty. I had a re-shower and changed to her PJs as I began to do the dishes from supper. May helped put stuff away and we joked as Mom and All Might flirted some. Get a room, you two. I yelled and smirked as they both looked at me stunned. That is revenge, Mom. You've been driving me crazy with similar jokes since May and I got together. May hugged me when we finished. Hun, don't forget we need to finish designing my wedding dress. What? I looked at Mom and All Might. Yes, I already proposed. I did it after I rescued Eri. They laughed as May showed them her ring with a very weird-looking band. I'm guessing that it's packed with machinery. We both nodded as I kissed her and had her check on Eri. May puts Eri to bed, kisses me again, and then goes home. Mom scolds me some for not telling her sooner as All Might just shakes his head. After defending myself for a bit, I went to bed and chuckled. This will be a roller coaster once father gets those papers. This will be Izuku being hit by a special quirk, so hopefully you all will enjoy. Thank you all for reading and voting for my story. I honestly never thought it would pass into the top 100, let alone the top 10. Now how did I end up on May's lap, purring to my heart's content? Oh yeah, stupid interdimensional villain. The day started off quite normally. I gently woke up Eri. We brushed our teeth and ate breakfast. After we both got dressed, we headed to the park where she and I played with some kids. After a bit, a portal formed over the park's fountain. This one felt artificial, mechanical, compared to the ones I make. Out came Kaken. I looked the person over and realized they had cat ears and a tail. When he stood up, he softly meowed. Deku, is that you? Please tell me I made it to the past. I shook my head. No, you're in another reality. What's with the cat bits? I gently pried his hands off of me as the portal closed. What do you mean another reality? I shushed him and lead him away. What I didn't see was Eri following us before she hugged me. Daddy, why is Mr. Angry part kitty? Hun, this isn't our Mr. Angry. This is another from another version of this world. Eri thought for a second. Oh, like Grandma Death. I nodded and patted her head. So Bakugo, what's going on that you had someone create an interdimensional portal? He growled and created some explosions. Okay, Deku, who's this runt? Did I go to the future? I punched him and formed fire on my fist afterwards. Insult my daughter again and I will send you back with broken legs. Bakity, calm down. Okay, not my world. My Deku only had one for all. Okay, I am trying to go into my past to stop Kitty Claw. She is making heroes into Nikos, like me, while villains become cats. I chuckle. Okay, Bakity, you want to stop a villain making everyone into cats or half cats? I'm sorry, but I can't really help without a date and location in your reality. He growled loudly. What did you just call me, you? I covered his mouth and glared. I called you Bakity to separate you from my Bakugo. Cuss in front of my daughter and I will beat you up. Bakity relaxed, but his tail went stiff and puffy as a new portal showed up. Out of it came a Nico girl with green fur and eyes. I couldn't help but laugh loudly as I looked at her. I can't believe you didn't recognize her as a female me. I bet she can travel between dimensions using her own tech. She purred as she laughed. I'm guessing he just said my name. Eri looked up at Here Than Me. Daddy, why is she like Mr. Angry Kitty and you? This stunned Kitty Claw. Wait, you saved Eri too? I nodded as I stood up. Yeah, Overhaul is in prison and I'm guessing you have a grape-headed pervert. She hissed. I hate Minerva. She keeps grabbing my tail and the boys, well you know. I nodded. Eri used Snowball Express to head home and watch some TV, okay? She hugged me. Okay, Daddy. Bye, Mr. Angry Kitty. Bye, Kitty Lady. She unfolded her surfer and went home. Wow, I think I found a new target reality. Maybe you guys have a better chance to reverse the ray gun. I stiffened. You are blasting people with a neckification ray to find the cure. She nodded and mewed a bit scared. I took the ray gun and scanned it with my quirk before it blew up suddenly. When the dust settled, I was a green cat and my clothing was on the ground. I didn't think it would explode. Sorry, mail me. Kitty Claw tried to pick me up, but I hissed at her. If my fur could change colors, I would have been a very dark and bloody red. After she recoiled, I grabbed my watch and tapped Backety on the foot as I messed with the strap. Okay, what do you want, Deku? I growled, hit his foot harder, and then hit my watch. You want me to put the watch on you? I nodded as I hissed at Kitty Claw when she tried to touch my watch. Okay, I get you're mad, but let me help too, okay? I swatted her hand with my claws out, very mad. When Backety got it on me, I smirked and looked up at them. I hate it when my paranoid ideas are right. Now Backety, pick me and my clothes up, please. They were stunned as I wasn't meowing or anything, but my watch was speaking using my voice. Its thought translation: now do as I ask, please, and get me home. I can't use my quirk, and the only other way for me to see the scans is on my PC at home. Backety instantly did as told and ran to my house with Casey following close behind. When we got to my house, May was already there. Okay, Izu, why are you a Nico girl, and why is Bakugo also a Nico? Casey chuckled. I am not your Izu. I accidentally turned him into the green cat. I nodded. Yeah, she did. She's me from another reality, and this Backety is from yet another one. I need you to help reverse this. May gently picked me up and snuggled me. You make a really cute cat. I prefer bunnies, but this will do. I couldn't help but purr at the affection. Casey coughed and snapped me out of it. Not now, May. My PC now. She sighed and pouted as she walked through the house holding me. I instructed her on how to activate a special part in my PC that interfaces with my Kai. After that, she began to pet me as she began to work on reversing it with my help. I may be unable to use my Kai, but I still have my intelligence. While we worked, Backety and Kitty Claw played with Eri to keep her distracted. We remade the ray gun with an upgrade to reverse its effects. Actually, we made 3. One for each of our realities, though May wanted a bun gun instead. She made me human again, and I made clothes from digital data before walking out. We fixed and reversed it. Now next time you have a problem with a weapon like this, will you do me a favor? Just ask for help instead of using it on others. Casey nods like crazy, takes hers, undoes her ears and tail before heading to her reality. I undid Backety and told him how to use it. He thanked me and said he would apologize to his Deku. He understood that he was a jerk, and when he played with her, he realized that he should have been a better friend. I sent him back to his reality, and May hugged me. Izu, I think you forgot something. I looked up at her. Since she is taller, what would that be? She removed my watch, turned me back into a cat, and put it on me like a collar. I think Eri should play with you as a cat for a bit. I glared up at her and hit her foot. You're evil. We just undid this. That when Eri made me laugh as she zapped May with the gun. She put May's watch on her like a collar. Since mommy wants daddy to be a kitty, so shall she. May started to yell, and I would mentally yell over her and shut her up each time she got close to cussing. After a while, she calmed down and we played with Eri as cats. When Mom got home, we had to explain what happened, and we got changed back for supper. While we were eating, Eri asked, "Can I be a kitty tomorrow? Or even a half kitty like Mr. Angry Kitty?" May said no, but I smirked. Maybe I can do one better, Eri. Come here, please. She quickly ran over to me and looked up at me. I gently picked her up and set her on my lap. After a little bit of forming a new quirk and making it completely compatible with her, I gave it to her. With that done, I set her back in her chair. Daddy, what did you do? Yes, Izu. What did you do to our daughter? I smiled. I just gave Eri 2 more quirks. The ability to become a Nico, or a full-on cat, yet still be able to use her other quirks, and I made her able to walk on walls or fly once she masters the walking on walls. Eri formed cat ears and tail, almost instantly wiggling them. That's when I saw she also formed paws, and she struggled to use chopsticks. Eri, you can keep the ears and tail, but no paws at the table, okay? May said, sounding defeated. Eri listened, and we enjoyed the rest of supper. I wonder how my classmates will react when I tell them about today. A few days after the Kitty Claw event, I gently woke up Eri, who meowed at me. Simon, my little snowball. It's time for school. She nodded and headed to the bathroom. Retract your cat bits, hun. I haven't set up a hair catcher in the drain yet. She nodded and did as I asked while I headed to the kitchen for breakfast. Mom was already up and cooking. Morning, Izuku. I got a court date today, and hopefully your father signs the papers. Should he try to fight it, I will fight back with the restraining order, him having Endeavor harass us, and Endeavor trying to attack Eri. I nodded and ate breakfast before Eri finished her shower so I could take mine. Once we were done eating, showering, and getting dressed, we took our surfers to Maze to meet up with her. They smiled, finally over being a Nico. Eri checked and shook her head, forming her ears and tail. When she tried to form paws, I poked her on her nose. No paws while driving your surfer, or I will remove your kitty quirk. Eri stopped herself and nodded as she put her hands on her wheel. You spoil Eri, and you know it, Izu. I laughed softly. There's the pot calling the kettle black. You spoil her almost as much as me. You keep giving her candy apples, apple-flavored candy, and a few different sodas on a daily basis. You also made her a cat-shaped taser. Eri looked at me. Is that what Mr. Electro Whiskers is? A taser. I nodded and we raced to school with me winning, finally. The girls love to cheat. The morning was simple with Power Loader keeping an eye on Eri. When we came back to get her, she was in a jumpsuit, covered in dirt, and had cat-themed digging gear like Power Loader. She looked so proud of herself. I helped Uncle Power make a garden. I gently began to wipe her face as I chuckled. That's good to hear. What all did you plant? She listed off the usual plants you'd find in the garden, with Power Loader helping her with the harder one's pronunciation. Can I make a garden at home with Grandma? May laughed this time. You'll have to ask her later. With Eri cleaned up, we headed up to the cafeteria where everyone was. We all ate lunch together, with some people giving Eri, and I some knickknacks from their internship. Eri loved a toy cat phone from Todoroki. I'm sorry about my jerk of a father. Is it true he tried to? I nodded as I formed ice on my hand. Yes, he attacked Eri, and when I fought him with Niflheimr Frost, he wanted me to replace you. Looks like we both got horrible dads. Todoroki nodded, and we joked about our dads. As we headed into class, Aizawa stared at Eri. Why does Eri have cat ears and tail? Before I could answer, Eri said, "'Cause Daddy fought Mr. Angry Kitty and Kitty Lady." I sighed. I gave Eri a quirk after a little event that happened. Since this is the first day we are all back from internships, can we tell what happened? I bet Minta's will be interesting. Aizawa sighed and dragged me into the hallway. You are to go first. Tell them you did become a pro, and I want the Nico quirk as payment for delaying hero course stuff for today. I nodded. Okay, but I need to do that after school, okay? I walked into the classroom again, and I put Eri back into her seat after getting her off the ceiling. Bakugo had got mad at Kurashima and made an explosion in his hand, scaring her. I will have to remove Cat's instinct to flee later. Sorry, Eri. She purred as I calmed her down and glared at Bakugo. Once it's done, I walked to the front of the class. Anyways, I have good news. I am now a fully certified pro hero, but I am staying in class. My mom is trying to divorce my abusive father after what happened a few days ago. Also, I need to explain why Eri is a Nico. I tell the story and show some pictures that Eri took on my phone of Bakity, Kitty Claw, and of May and I as cats. Once I was done, I looked at Minta. Your turn, Minta. Let's hear what you did. He shakily walked to the front of the room as I sat down. As you know, I was in Lady Death's palace. I saw my personal hell, and I swear to work on my perverted ways. I was in a new class of hell known as Class P. At least I was let out every so often to learn to fight villains, so not completely horrible. I chuckled slightly as I checked on it. Once I checked it, I instantly closed my Kai window I was using for it. Minta, that is worse than Class SS. I understand how you feel just by reading the description. When people tried to ask what it was, I shook my head. You don't want to know at all. I regret checking it, and I have died multiple times. They shuddered and tell what all they did during their internships. May said she worked with a company that makes self-defense items for civilians like Eris Electro Whiskers. After everyone told what they did, we all went to a big gym to spar for a little bit. I went against Todoroki using toned down fire and ice, so it is a bit more even. After a bit, Eri decided to hit him with a snowball. It stunned him for a bit, and I just laughed. You gave Eri a nice quirk, he asked as I melted the next few that came at him. Eri, we are not really fighting. We are training to get stronger. He is also not Endeavor or my father. She apologized and showed him her gloves. I then came up with my new move. Todoroki, can you form snowballs using your quirk? When he showed me and explained how he did it, I mimicked it and tossed it at a nearby wall, where it suddenly exploded. Explode snow worked, so I can put fire in snow crystals. I then spent a bit trying to teach Todoroki to do it before he gave up because he can't perfectly control both sides at the same time. I had May take Eri home as I looked at Todoroki's quirk and gave Aizawa his Nico quirk. When I finished looking at Todoroki's, I shake my head. I could have fixed this before the USJ incident. All I did was remove the drawback of using one side too long without using the other to balance it. I can make it so both sides can use either element, but there is one side effect that will happen that I can't change. Todoroki looked at the screen as he saw what I couldn't change. So my hair color will change depend on which element I am using and where. I nodded as I showed him what his new hair color will be even if he cuts his hair. His hair will be mostly white with red tips, very similar to an old cartoon character called Johnny Test. He likes it, and I edit his quirk. After a couple of tries, he makes frozen fire, explode snow, and actually made some lightning on accident by quickly heating up some really cold air. Todoroki loved the upgrade and said he would practice to make lightning and his fused elements for this semester's finals. I nodded and headed home as he went off to see his mom. When I got home, I saw an unknown vehicle in the driveway, May's surfer on the lawn, and the front door was ajar. This set off multiple red flags, and I warped into my basement and found my mom, Eri, and May tied up. I motioned for them to stay quiet as I untied them. Okay, what happened? I whispered to Mom as I untied her. Your father is what happened. He barely waited 10 seconds after you left to break in and try to raid the house. He broke into your invention safe and broke them all. With her untied, I fixed the shattered creations around them. Okay guys, when I give the signal you get to fight back since they won't expect it. May, cat gun, Mom used the mecha fists, and Eri snowballs at fast forward. I nodded and I warped into the living room where I am grabbed by my father's and Endeavor's sidekicks. What the F is going on? My father walked over and slapped me. You abused your mom until she agreed to divorce me. You are under arrest for domestic abuse, lying to the police, providing false witness, attacking heroes, and kidnapping. I smirked as I looked up at him. Then why did you tie them up in the basement? He froze for a few seconds and began to head to the basement. When he opened the door, he was sent flying out the front door, knocking out some sidekicks in the process. Once he was sent flying, I made the room very cold. Now you all can let go of me and get unwilling accomplices, or keep holding me and get the exact same charges as him and Endeavor. All but one went outside and held down my father. The final one got into a fighting stance and tried to fight me. Key word here is tried. When he began to throw a fireball at me, it became a ball of ice and hit the ground, shattering. He tried for a couple of minutes as cops arrived, and I knocked him out with a single chop to the neck. I dragged him out. We told the cops what happened, and they only took father and the stupid fireball sidekick. It was finally Friday and the semester test. I gently woke up Eri and had her shower first. I installed the hair catcher in the shower. You can stay as a Nico. That got her up and she basically ran to the bathroom to shower. I laughed and made breakfast as May drove over and my mom woke up. When I finished cooking, Eri walked out brushing her tail. It was different showering with my ears and tail. We laughed and helped her into her seat as I headed off to shower. I came back down to eat. I saw Kurajiri doing the dishes. We spoke for a bit as I ate. Once I finished, I gave him a list of orders I finished for him to deliver. I then went to school with Eri and May. Both cheated during the race and I rescinded their surfer privileges, especially since both weaved through traffic, which I banned for good reasons. When I saw All Might in the hallway, I slapped him through a wall on my way to class. You are a reckless surfer. You are showing everyone who owns a solar surfer it's okay to weave through traffic. You need to stop or I will take back Solar Might until I think you deserve it. I gave a 1 in support the same warning. During support class, I didn't have a final because of how much I've done helping everyone. So instead of being lazy, I made special devices that seek out the surfers. They attached themselves to them and integrated themselves even if the surfers were in storage. When at lunch everyone wanted me to look at their surfers, I told them it's okay. I just added a special set of sensors and mechanisms to stop traffic weaving. It would tell me when someone does it and then I would collect the surfers for a while. Multiple infractions made the time longer. Before lunch ended, I talked to the DMV and saw what it would take for a test to be made so surfers require license. I got the info and began to set up rules for riding them. Lunch ended and we got into hero costumes for our finals. The first thing I see is All Might being an idiot and collapsing his sails so he can go through the replica city windows. I hit a button and his surfer lands against his will. When he saw me forming a stick and running at him, he ran. Everyone did their tests as I beat the crap out of All Might for being a really bad example. I finished scolding All Might and took everyone's surfers. You can thank All Might, but I'm making it so special licenses are needed for surfers. I was going to wait till summer, but I'm speeding up the process. I growled and sat down next to the rest of my class, who quickly scooted out of range. Bakugo yelled at me for taking his surfer and I snapped back. If I knew idiocy was contagious, I never would have given these out. I've seen too many close calls on these. They are getting upgraded, going to require a license, and they will have penalties for breaking the law. Everyone scooted away, more especially Bakugo, who I have never snapped at. It was then my turn to do the finals with Bakugo, but All Might freaked out and tried to run. Katsuo caught him in his scarf and told him to man up. Since I already beat his butt, I passed, even though it wasn't for the test. As those two spoke, I gave Bakugi some vials of green powder and told him to add it to his dynamite reservoirs. He quickly did and took my shield watch. All Might, it's just you and Bakugo, but he has one of my creations. That made All Might calm down and he and Bakugo went into the fake city. Katsuo walked over. What did you give Bakugo? I smirked, laughing. A shield watch and bubble blast additive to his left dynamite. We watched as Bakugo used the shield to knock All Might back and to take most of the punches without any trouble. When I heard a set of dings, I covered my ears and motioned Eri and Katsuo to definitely do it. What happened next was beautiful. Bakugo pulled all the strings on his dynamite and green bubbles came shooting out of them. All Might laughed and poked one big mistake in the middle of a field of explosive bubbles. Bakugo crouched down and hid under the shield as All Might became a living ping pong ball. He was instantly blasted back and into a new bubble. It caught and bent a bit before bursting him another direction. This continued for a couple of minutes until All Might was blasted into a building. Bakugo just left the testing area and I walked into it. Everyone watched me fuse the bubbles together. Once all the bubbles left were one, I warped it up into the air where it exploded harmlessly. I quickly healed up All Might and helped him out of the ruined building. I then spent the rest of class for the others' tests upgrading everyone's surfers. By the time I was done, Mei, Shoto, and Momo were against Katsuo. I got on a simple hoverboard, grabbed Eri, and floated up enough for her to watch the battle. We watched as Katsuo did lots of acrobatics which he couldn't do previously while Momo and Mei worked together to make something as Shoto distracted. I watched them build a catnip cannon and quickly gave Eri a face mask. Keep it on. You're too young to smell what they are up to, okay? Eri nodded confused but listened as they hit Katsuo with the catnip catnon as Mei called it. At first there was no reaction except he was stunned by the blast of catnip hitting him. When it filled his nose he acted drunk and played with it some, and I made some notes on what else I needed to remove from the Nico quirk I gave him and Eri. Daddy, what's wrong with Katsuo? He's acting silly. I hugged her and adjusted her mask. There's a plant that makes cats act a little bit crazy. I forgot to give you and Katsuo immunity to it. I will definitely do it later. I floated us away as I shook my head. When Mei showed up I stopped her and completely checked her for any catnip using a scanner. When she asked what I was doing I pointed to Eri. Luckily she kept on her mask and looked up at Mei. After a bit I incinerated every bit of catnip within the fake city, took Katsuo to Recovery Girl, and began to work on the Nico quirk. The rest of class was everyone talking and joking a bit about Katsuo. I apologized to Katsuo when he came back up from RG. He laughed and said it's okay, just make it so he can choose when it affects him. I agreed and kept messing with the base quirk. By the time I figured it all out I gave him the small change and gave it to Eri but made her unable to let it affect her until 21. Mei, Eri, and I took the bus home once class was over. Mei went to her home as I went home with Eri. As we walked home, Daddy, why can't we use the surfers? I sighed. You and Mei were being dangerous, weaving through moving cars and motorcycles. If you messed up you could have died or killed someone else. I don't want to lose you too. She nodded and apologized for not listening to me. I walked inside with her only to see some random guy with my mom asleep on the couch. Something about the guy made me very uncomfortable, so I put Eri in a shield bubble along with my mom. Who are you and what do you want? He laughed. Oh Izuku, I thought you'd know your own father. Actually never mind that. Your mother thought it was Hisashi. I am all for one and your true father. I created a plasma sword ready to fight. You're the #1 villain and you're claiming me as your son. Do you think I am an idiot? He quickly grabbed my arm and I felt something familiar. It happened when I was 4 and I had an odd dream about taking and giving quirks. I woke up feeling this odd sensation and saw All for One. He knocked me out afterward and I just thought it was a bad dream. Now I know he took my quirk and he's returning it. Sorry about the pain I caused you for 10 years, son. I only did it so you wouldn't be called a villain. If All Might hadn't have found me you would have had this quirk back over 6 years ago. He hugged me and cried, I want to make it up to you, my son. I will give you a sample of DNA for a paternity test if you want one. I pulled away and started to type on my Kai. He watched me confused until I looked at him. I stepped backwards as I shook my head. How is it possible? You're actually my father. I just added family to the info cards I see. I'm on it along with your parents and brother who have the deceased X on them. My real father looked at me surprised. You can see stuff like that. I nodded as I used my quirk to wake up Mom and released Eri. Mom, remember I told you I had info cards? She nodded as she saw All for One and covered her mouth. Please don't tell me a one-night stand is your real father. I nodded as I put Eri down for a nap. Daddy, is that man my new grandpa? I sighed. I don't know, sweetie. It depends on his future choices. If he gives up villainy and becomes a civilian or hero maybe, but if he keeps his ways then no. She hugged me then went to sleep. I walked down to Mom and All for One talking. Sorry to be sharp, All for One, but why now? Why not years ago? He sighed. About 6 years ago All Might found me and nearly killed me. I told him I would turn myself in. I told him that if he let me see my son one last time I would give myself up and he could arrest me. Needless to say he didn't believe me. I knew he was telling the truth as I activated a lie detector code for the cards. You're not lying, good. Now you had that doctor lie about my quirk and took it that night. What is the quirk and what all did you put in me? He chuckled. You are too smart for a young kid. Yes, I had my friend lie. The quirk is a better version of my own. Before he could continue, Kurogiri warped in and said hi before he backed away in fear of All for One. All for One, I thought your wounds kept you in that chair. I calmed Kurogiri down as I had him either sit in the kitchen or go to his room. All for One looked sadly at Kurogiri. I didn't put that parasite in you. That was Shigaraki. He didn't trust you wouldn't betray him if I asked you to. He's not lying. He sighed. Do you not? Never mind, dumb question. Your quirk lets you copy and mutate quirks as well as take and give them. I chuckled. Sorry to tell you this, but Lady Death already lets me do that. She gave me the code which lets me view the world like a video game. I actually coded that for myself as an emergency function should I have to defeat a stronger villain. He sighed and nodded. I assumed so when I saw you warp similar to Kurogiri, make flying discs out of a sleeping bag, and the solar surfers. I groaned. I regret making the surfers. All Might acts like an idiot on them and so do my classmates, fiancé, and daughter. He sat up instantly. You have a fiancé and a daughter. I feel ancient. You are a few 100 years old and Eri. The Nico you saw me put to bed is my adoptive daughter. He nodded. I'm guessing the Nico bit was your doing. I nodded and told him about that day, making him laugh and wish he never was a villain so he could have seen it. I knew then he was pure-hearted, just a bit misguided. Before I could speak, All Might forced his way in, fighting Lady Death. I thought I killed you all for one. You need to pay for what you have done. He swung at him and I caught his fist. Young Midoriya, what are you doing? I let go of his fist and look right at, trying to talk to my biological father. I freeze a bit as I see something new. All Might's tag has multiple family trees and it confused me. All Might, I see you have 8 family trees on you. One is straight to me, another through my mom, and a lot of others. Who is Nana? That name made my mom kneel and All Might stiffen. She was my master, she gave me one for all. My mom sniffled, she was my grandma. I scratched my head some as Lady Death sat me down. I will explain what you see, my Reaper. All Might's quirk was created when All for One gave his brother a quirk. The stockpiling quirk and his quirk to pass on quirks fused into one for all. That quirk was passed down to one hero and the next. Eventually it got to your grandma and All Might. If you hadn't jumped that day, you would have it now. This stunned everyone, especially All for One. Who is she and how does she know all of that? I laughed. Dad, meet Lady Death, the true gods of death. She made me a Reaper, saved my life, and gave me the code. He then quickly stood up and hugged her near tears. Thank you for saving my son. Please look over him for me. I know I must pay for my sins. She laughed and patted his head. All for One, you've mostly paid your debt. You must be a hero and try to raise your son with All Might as his stepfather. All of us stiffened except Mom and All Might, who were both blushing. He already proposed and you said yes, Mom. She nodded and I laughed as I shook my head. Hopefully 2 new dad will make up for a horrible one. This made everyone laugh and Lady Death went to check on Eri, only to scream when she saw the cat ears. I rushed to Eri and Lady Death, who was snuggling Eri as she was now awake. I am so sorry, Eri. You just look so much cuter with these ears. I didn't mean to wake you up. Eri formed kitty paws, booped her on the nose and dozed back off. Why didn't you warn me she was so cute? I shrugged. Sorry, I'm kinda used to it and thought you saw her every night. She shook her head and forgave me. The rest of the night was planning our first weekend as a family. May is going to get a headache tomorrow. I wake up the next morning and head downstairs to make breakfast. By the time I get to the kitchen, I see Mom and All Might making breakfast. I then see Kurogiri and All Might talking on the couch as May walks in and looks at everything going on. Morning, hun. Eri is still in bed and I have someone I want you to meet. May, meet All for One, my biological father. Dad, meet my fiancé. May freaked out and reached for her collapsible bat before I stopped her. May, he's giving up villainy. He can't lie to me and I truly am his son. I show her my Kai with a link to my eyes so she can see it. She sighs and head up to Eri to wake her. I let her. She won't trust you for a while. One of your stunts hurt her family. He nodded and got up to set the table for breakfast. We all ate with me between May and AFO blocking each time she tried to stab or cut him. I sighed after attempt 112. Hun, please stop. You're draining my energy. As an example, I made the battery at 15% icon pop up as a hologram. She stopped and apologized as I yawned and finished eating. To be honest, I hoped you'd stop at the 12th attempt. Please try to at least tolerate my father. He may have a bad past, but he is trying to change and I want to learn more about when Quirk started. She nodded and jokingly shocked me with a mini taser she made. The icon popped up again, but a bit more charged up. That's new. I didn't know I could absorb electricity. I now can eat fire and absorb electricity. I quickly make a note of it as I begin to do the dishes, stunning everyone that I wasn't affected. Once I finished washing the dishes and putting them away, I got dressed and called Nezu to see if he was free. He answered and I asked if I could talk to him. He said sure, just be at the school before noon. I grabbed my father and warped there, scaring Nezu at the suddenness of it. Midoriya, why so sudden and why is he here? I sighed and showed him the data tag on him, especially the one where he is related to me. This stunned Nezu greatly. The smartest and strongest student in ages is the son of a villain. AFO and I, ex-villain. Nezu jumps and apologizes. Sorry, but up until now you've only been a villain. I may not know why you started, but still. You do need to pay for your crimes. That's when AFO dropped a giant box, which he pulled out of nowhere, onto Nezu's desk. This box holds every single illegal thing on the planet that I did and did not create. Have fun. I stopped AFO from leaving. Nezu, I would like to make him a new teacher. Villainy 101. He will teach heroes to think as villains so we can do better against them. If he does anything against the rules, I will personally take his soul to the afterlife. This scared both of them and both nodded as I put a special bracelet on AFO's wrist. Sorry, but just to make Nezu and other heroes feel safe. You can't use quirks without permission until everyone trusts you. AFO nodded and accepted it. I hope there's a clause if I need to protect myself or another. I nodded and warped us back home where All Might saw the bracelet. Where did you two go so suddenly? I yawned and sit in my chair. We saw Nezu. AFO is now a teacher of Villainy 101 where he teaches about how villains think. This made May, Eri, Mom, and All Might quiet long enough for me to take a nap. After a couple of hours I woke up to everyone playing a board game with Eri napping next to me. I yawned and slowly sat up, making sure not to wake up Eri. What did I miss? How long was I out? They hugged me. You were asleep 3 hours and your mom brought out a game called Shadows in the Forest. Basically, the lamp stuns the shadowlings, and to win all the creatures have to meet up in one shadow. It's kinda challenging against your mom and all for one. If one is the seeker, they win, but if both are against the seeker, they win. Kinda infuriating. I shrugged and yawned slightly as I got up and got a drink. I walked back to the living room and tried my luck to beat Mom and AFO. After a couple of turns, I froze both of their shadowlings. This made All Might laugh, my mom to make Katsuden because she bet me that I would lose, and AFO to sit back stunned. Eri woke up and stretched like a cat as she yawned. What happened? She saw me chuckling as I put the masks back on the shadowlings. Did Daddy beat Grandma and Grandpa grumpy? I burst out laughing as AFO said he wasn't grumpy, just old. AFO tried to shut me up as I keep laughing. They had to put me in another room to muffle my laughing. Eri, you might need another name for All for One. Otherwise your father will keep losing his mind. Eri gasped. Where is Dad's mind? Did it run away? I heard this and laughed harder as I walked back into TH's living room. I didn't lose it, Eri. It's just an expression. I couldn't help but find Grandpa grumpy funny. It really caught me off guard. Thanks for the laugh, Eri. I hugged her and sat down, setting up another round. Everyone watched me against AFO in the game. It took an hour for me to win, but it became very close for either of us to win. Remind me to fear you should anyone make you evil, AFO said, shuddering a bit. I put the game up and helped Mom set the table for supper. If that day ever comes, Lady Death will hopefully remove the code and my Reaper abilities. All Might and AFO nodded as they began to make drinks for everyone. We ate lunch and May forgave AFO but stated she still doesn't trust him. The afternoon was filled with lots of board games, with me trying to remove some IQ temporarily so I don't always win. We went out for supper with All Might thinking ahead and booking the entire restaurant so he isn't bugged by fans as he enjoys his food. After a while of us all enjoying supper, someone broke in. I saw the data tag and sighed. What do you want, Katsuki? Also, how did you even find us? He was panting as he grabbed me by the arm and dragged me out. I went out and saw some Namu. I went Niflheimer Reaper and killed all of the ones made from villainous people. There were some made from innocent people who I cured of their Namuism and gave them quirks or slightly better versions of what they started with. Once the mess was cleaned up, I went back into the restaurant to eat. Katsuki stopped me. Who was the guy between you and your mom? I've never seen him before. I groaned. You will find out on Monday. Now let me eat, please, Toga. I knocked her out and had her arrested for identity theft as her disguise fell off her like mud. I ate supper quickly and told everyone what just happened. Once I finished, I looked for Katsuki. He wasn't home, in the forest where he practices, or near the mall. After a bit, I decided to cheat and just teleport to him. He was tied up in an alleyway with some wannabe charred Frankenstein and a depressed Deadpool standing guard. Me showing up scared them both as I sighed. Okay, what's the scheme this time? Toga was already caught, so come clean please, Dabai, and twice. As I spoke at them, a mini pixel clone was freeing Katsuki. You caught Stain and we wanted revenge, Dabai stated as he formed blue flames in his hands. Twice switched between nodding and shaking his head as Dabai spoke. I sighed. I had no control over that. Lady Death had me catch him. Before you ask, yes, the literal entity that controls how and when someone dies. I blew some Niflheimer winds at Dabai, freezing the fire in his hands and healing some of the scorched bits on his hands. Toya Todoroki, I can heal your burns and get you into counseling over what that flaming dumpster fire did to you. I know what he did. I can change your quirk too if you desire. He held the iced fire in his hands and looked them over as he listened to me. I then walked over to Twice. Jinbu Begawara, I can get rid of your fears and worry in one move. I can prove that you are the original. With that, I punched him hard. It broke some bones and ribs, which was way more than any of his doubles could take. This stunned Dabai as well until I healed him of his physical damage. See, you are the original, and I bet with some minor therapy you can become a hero. Twice nodded like crazy and hugged me. Thank you so much. I am finally whole again, and I know I am not a double. I chuckled and patted his back as I moved the forehead scar to his hand. Should doubt arise, remember this scar only appears on your hand. He nodded and made a clone as a test. When he saw there was no scar on its hand, he broke down crying and the clone soothed him. I turned to Dabai and held out my hand to him. Let me help you. With you on the side of good, it'll make your brother happy. He was told you were dead for years and your mother put in a psych ward. I want you to have a perfect family reunion as I get your mom out. He took my hand and cried some. I gently healed him of all of his burned flesh and removed the staples used to keep his skin together. Once I was done, I changed his hair to snow white and gave him a weaker version of Niflheimer Frost, which would only put out fires, heal burns, and the usual ice stuff just a lot quicker. He noticed his body getting a bit colder before he regulated his heat some. I had the pixel clone warp Katsuki home as I brought the duo to the police. Had them given lesson punishments and therapy before I headed home at midnight. Once I was home, I crashed on the couch and slept until noon. When I woke up, Mom asked what happened and I filled her in before stretching and heading to the bathroom to shower. After my shower, I headed to the kitchen to eat a lot of snacks and a plate of breakfast Mom saved for me. This afternoon was partly used to do a bit of coding to make a therapy quirk that finds the cause of someone's mental problems and creates a foolproof plan to cure it. I did play with Yuri for a couple of hours after she woke up from her nap and wanted a snowball fight. As we walked outside, I decided to spoil her and turned the backyard into a winter wonderland with lots of snow. She loved it and somehow figured out how to use her tail to form and launch snowballs. When supper was ready, we ate, played some video games, and headed off to bed. Tomorrow was the start of the summer camp, and luckily I already packed myself and Yuri for it. I was glad this weekend was over and I could deal with normal stuff hopefully. I get Yuri up and get her going to take a shower as I move our suitcases downstairs. Once she was bathed, she helped Mom cook and I took my shower. The three of us eat breakfast and I put the suitcases on a small hoverboard. Yuri and I walked over to May's house, put her suitcase on the board, and we ran to the train to school. Once we got to school, I helped load the bus with the luggage of everyone. When I was finished, Shoto pulled me aside. "Izuku, were you the one to find my brother?" I nodded and yawned slightly. He then began to ask a flood of questions as I motioned him to calm down and shut up. "Yes, I found him. He has to do some community service, serve a year in prison, go to therapy." And I gave him a freezing quirk. Now no more questions. I get onto the bus and sit next to May as Yuri sat with Momo and Uraraka. I was asleep again after a bit and didn't wake up till we got to some random cliff. I sensed a group of people coming at high speed and handed Yuri to Kanzawa. "Yuri, have the taser kitty ready and run if needed." She nodded as the wild pussycats landed in front of us. I went from defensive stance to one of a tired kid. When Pixie Bob got too close to me, May or my daughter, I formed a pixel barrier. Small tip, be cautious around me, my fiancé or Yuri. I know how energetic you are and your lack of boundaries. But I just wanted to feel her ears. I glared. "Maybe I will give you your own if you give us a good distance." All four looked at me confused until I grew my own ears and tail. Trust me, I can do a ton of stuff. This made Ragdoll walk over to me and looked me over. "I can't sense you with my quirk." "Why is that?" May slapped me. "You're in defender mode again, aren't you?" I nodded and dropped it, making Ragdoll fall backwards. "Holy crap. You're what I was sending until a tiny bit ago. Your aura is huge." I made a note of it and shrank my aura, or the energy field that might be aura, till it matched the size of most of my classmates. She tilted her head. "You shrank your aura. How powerful are you?" I waved off the question as I dodged an attack from Katsuki. He just tried to punch me and I launched him to the camp, which would be where we are heading. "Don't worry, he will be fine." I put a bubble around him. With a yawn, I slid down the side of the cliff and started to walk. Willing or unwilling, you'll end up down here, so brace yourselves. "Kanzawa, take Yuri back on the bus, please. I don't want her hurt." I began to run as a Nico and used the trees some to launch myself around. Each time I see an earth monster, it gets destroyed by claws I create. I guess I can keep battle Nico mode. Not my type, but it will be useful in infiltration missions if I change my hair color and remove the freckles. I get to the camp and pop the bubble Katsuki was stuck in. "When will you learn not to attack me?" He scoffed and stomped off as we waited for Kanzawa, Yuri, and the wild pussycats. "Bakugo, where is Midoriya?" I thought only he could pop the bubble. Kanzawa asked as he set Yuri down. He simply pointed to me and a tree already asleep with the battery charging icon floating above me. Kanzawa and Yuri just joined me, taking bigger and lower branches, cause why not? The hero team got a bit jealous and Pixie Bob tried to touch Aerith's ears. I grabbed her wrist with my tail. "Try again and you'll not get the Nico quirk." She backed away quickly and I hopped down, landing quietly. "Thanks for ruining my nap." It's not easy to take care of a girl who was abused. She has made progress, but her nightmares are still constant. I notice a young kid and walk over to him. "Hello there, I'm Midoriya Izuku, Pro Hero Hell Reaper. What's your name?" I crouch and hold out my hand as I smile. When he tried to nut shot me, I had my tail catch his fist. "Okay, Nico quirk is definitely a good one to keep." I looked at the kid and made my eyes glow temporarily as I changed the data tag back on. When I saw it, my ears instantly folded. "Oh, you're the water hoses kid. I'm sorry for your loss. I'll let go of your wrist, Koda, but no trying to punch me, okay?" I let go and he backed away a bit stunned. "How did you know that about me? Did Aunt Mandalay tell you?" I shook my head and made Kai show up as I had my hand become skeletal. I have 2 quirks, Quirk Vault as I call it, in the code. The code is very versatile and lets me see stuff like a video game. When he looked confused, I created a hologram of the latest Smash Bros. See how at the bottom you can see damage and lives? I can do that, but see name, age, relations, and their quirk. "Yours seems weak now, but wait and train some and eventually it'll be stronger than your parents." He nodded and tried to touch the hologram because of how real it was. I looked at Mandalay, who nodded, so I created a solid controller. "Wanna play as we wait for the rest?" He nodded and smiled some as we played with me just possessing my character. Once the rest arrived, I popped out, healed them, and ended the holograms for now. May made a joke about me adopting another kid and I shook my head. His name is Koda and he is Mandalay's nephew, so no adoption. Koda looked up at me. You have a kid? I chuckled. Yeah, I adopted Eri after I rescued her. With that, both Eri and Katsuo woke up with a loud yawn. I gently picked up Eri and put her on the ground. Eri, this is Koda. How about you two play together for a while? As I spoke, I gave Koda some snow blaster gloves I just created for him. After a while, the two were having a snowball fight and enjoying it as Katsuo had everyone start training. I was to fight all 4 members of WWP on my own. Great. After a couple of minutes of me coating up the area so nothing and no one in it really gets hurt, we started. I battled using only my Nico quirk, elemental punches, claws, and extreme flexibility which rivals Tiger's playa body. The 4 of them could barely get a good hit in as I hit Mandalay, Ragdoll, and Pixie Bob pretty good a few times. When it was a 1v1 between me and Tiger, a flurry of snowballs came at us. The first 2 hit us before we started to easily avoid them and still kept fighting. Eri and Koda decided to try to prank us as we trained. After a bit, I thought up revenge on the 2. I formed more tails and added the elemental bit to them as well. I did it slow enough they didn't notice until suddenly a giant storm of snowballs came flying at them. The females of WWP were laughing as the troublemaking duo yelled in shock and ran away. With Tiger distracted, I caught him with my new tails and smirked. I'm now the king of cats. I put him down and apologized for my bad joke. I healed the bruising I caused and added it to the coating so I wouldn't cause any more. We kept battling and I tried different combos. One was hardening like Kurashima, stockpiling, and strength boost. That combo actually would have destroyed a good amount of the forest without the coated area. They had fun and took it as both sides teaching each other since I have a lot of quirks to use and decided to limit them. By supper time we were all fired and I made a few calls using my quirk. I had Denki walk up and shock me to charge me up and then help me get the worn down wild pussycats downhill to camp after he was done with his 2 seconds of stupidity. By the time we got down, there was a meal being cooked for us by a team of my clones, Kurajiri, my mom, All Might, and AFO. Once supper was done, everyone asked who AFO was. Here comes the chaos. Eri kinda broke the silence I made as I tried to figure the best way to tell them. Daddy, just tell them who Grandpa All for One is. That made everyone except Eri, May, Katsuo, Mom, All Might, and Kurajiri to go into defensive stances. I sighed. All for One is my biological father. The jerk in jail is kinda an unknowing stepfather. He gave up villainy, is unable to use his quirks, and, when we return to school, we'll begin to teach Villainy 101 to help us better understand villains. Now stand down, please. Everyone did, and Kurajiri warped the 4 of them home along with some leftovers. I yawned and went off to bed, ignoring everyone's questions as I was tired and needed sleep, even with Denki's charge. Tomorrow will be fun. I woke up the next morning and used my tails to carry me out of bed into the breakfast table after Denki woke me up. It was a bit unsettling for people to see me come to the table that way and slowly eat. Yuri hugged me and I patted her head. Morning, Yuri. Did you sleep well? She nodded and looked up at me. Daddy, can I get a Snowball Express set but bumper type? I looked at her confused as she motioned Koda over. He rushed over. Eri said you made some sort of flying device that runs off the sun. I asked if you could make bumper cars with the same tech so we could have another activity. I think for a little bit and nod as I keep eating. I can, but it'll take me around an hour to make one. Then it'll take an hour to make them unbreakable, fast, and very safe. I don't need you two destroying the forest. Both cheered until I looked up at Mandalay. That is if you approve of him getting a custom Solar Surfer made into a bumper car. I will set up a way to keep a radius so they will battle in any clearing you want and only in there. She nodded and both kids thanked me before finishing their breakfasts. They walked over. You spoil our Snowball. I laughed. Yes, but she deserves it for what she went through. We all finished eating and I started to build what they asked of me while the rest went to train. I was done with everything in an hour and I built plenty of them. There was enough for 10 people to play at once and I had showed Mandalay how to set up the ring setter. The cars are only slightly faster than normal bumper cars but much stronger in build, and if the ring limit is removed, chaos. I set them up and came up with an idea for fun after everyone trains. By lunchtime, Eri and Koda had played a few rounds and loved them. That's when Class B1 arrived and saw me getting Eri and Koda out of their cars with my tails as I pushed them out of the way and turning them off. Look at this, Class A1 can't live without the luxuries. I sighed and turned to face the idiot. Monoma, I built these myself for a little challenge later. Since you want to badmouth my classmates, I'll set up a special round of a different game between us. He laughed. Challenge accepted, you worthless villain spawn. His entire class backed away as I walked over to him and grabbed him using quirk blocker so he couldn't use his quirk at all. Call me that again and I'll give you a reason to call me a lot more than that. Now shut up and go eat lunch. I already ate and I have to fight the wild pussycats. I drop him and start walking to a nearby clearing where the team of 4 is. He then made a fatal error. As he walked down to the lunch zone, he shoved Eri out of his way. Luckily, she used her tail to grab a nearby branch to keep standing, but he still crossed a major line. I let out my aura without any restrictions at all, causing everyone to freeze in fear as I became a skeleton and grabbed the fool. You will eat and then I will oversee your training. I'm thinking a 10-mile run as a starter. Apologize to Eri and I might lessen the harshness. He slapped me. Go to hell, villain spawn. I laughed and suddenly a portal appeared. Wanna come with me? I'm sure Lady Death would love to meet another idiot that messed with my daughter. Out of the portal came Lady Death. What happened to my granddaughter? Who hurt her? I shook Monoma and growled. This flesh bag did. He pushed her after he insulted a one and I challenged him to a game after tea-taining. Eri hugged Lady Death. Hi Grandma. Please don't be too rough on him. Maybe he might just be hungry. Lady Death picked up Eri and hugged her. Okay my grandkitty. I won't be too rough but he must apologize or he is going to SS or P rank hell. Minda who was coming to get B1 freaked out. Please don't take me back there. I laughed and showed him Monoma. Not you but this moron. Minder relaxed but walked over. Trust me, apologize before it's too late. I still have nightmares from my time in hell. He lead the rest away as Monoma tried to break my grip. Eri walked over to punch Monoma in the shin before rushing off for her lunch. I laughed and set him down a bit after. Eat and apologize. Once everyone else is done eating, Lady Death will take you for training. I started to become flesh as he punched me in the back. That was weak. Go eat before I lose my patience. I have a team to fight and a new combo to try out. Now go. I guess idiots never learn as he punched me again, aiming for my kidney. I changed to pure emerald at the last second, breaking his hand. After he cried some I healed him and sent him down for lunch. He couldn't copy the power. I realized that when he first punched me. Is my ability not a quirk? Lady Death nodded. Correct, yours is more like a seed of magic. Don't worry about it and call me Mom, okay? You are my surrogate son after all. I chuckled. I will try to remember that. Be a bit gentle on him. Make his few hours between lunch and supper a couple of months, not a century like you did Minta. She smirked and nodded. How many days is this camp? I told her and headed to my fight with the hero team. A few hours later I tried multiple combos and listed them before I saw Monoma get launched out of a portal and onto a seat at the dinner table. I jumped down to him and chuckled a bit. Have fun with my second mom. He slowly turned to look at me. How are you related to her? I shook my head. I'm not. She calls her reapers her surrogate children. I currently am the only one. Enjoy supper. We have a battle after it. I patted his back and went down to sit next to Eri and Koda, who I had to brush snow off of. For my fight with Monoma, I let him copy any 4 quirks he wanted. He chose Shoto, Bakugo, Kirishima, and Katsuwa. He tried to blast me as I became a skeleton. Once I was a skeleton, he tried to cremate me, but I turned his fire to ice. I have true Hellflame and Niflamer Frost. Fire and ice do nothing to me. He tried to erase my power, but I stayed a skeleton. This made him mad until he tried to knock my skull off. I let him, but I bit his fist, which he had hardened. He freaked out as I was latched to his hand as my body fought him still. After a bit I get him out of the arena and remove his clone quirks before reassembling myself. I win, but I can see you've increased from 10 minutes to an hour. I wonder if you train on quirk cloning if you'd increase the amount you can copy. With that I showed the bumper car tournament board, which was 100% random. Scoring was set on avoiding collisions and causing some. The more you bump someone the better score, while the more you are bumped the lower your score. The 10-person starting battles were fun to watch and the top 5 from each round moved on. We had a match between Eri, Koda, WWP, Katsuwa, Vlad, and I just for fun since I wanted them to feel included. Round 2 was between the 20 who passed, also scrambled up. 3 was sets of 5 with 2 of the WWP as extra points. Katsuwa was laughing as Ragdoll and Tiger flipped their cars on accident. Fixed them, and the top 2 from each group other than the WWP members went against each other. The winner was May, which surprised me, with Bakugo in second, Momo third, and Minta in fourth. For the rest of the camp we had nightly bumper car tournaments with different rules and challenges each time. Eri and Koda loved bumper chess as they were allowed to cause chaos randomly and try to knock over custom bumper cars. Everyone had a laugh when the 2 went flying around the board and sometimes chased each other. When it suddenly became a snowball fight in the bumper cars, it was too funny. When we finished the camp, everyone was stronger and needed a small break. We spent the next month relaxing and playing games. Gem Izuku popped in for advice about something he was curious about, but that was the most unusual or interesting thing to happen. I hope he finds someone to love. Shame his Uraraka was evil. I get a call from the Global Hero Bureau at 6 a.m. the day after I got home from summer camp. It's 6 a.m. Who are you and what do you want? They say their name and they are from GHB. Oh sorry, just got home late yesterday from training camp at UA. Yes, I am still going to school. You want me to do what? Be a villain for the license test. Okay, any rules I have? Don't worry, I won't use full power. How about I just reflect their own quirks against them? I won't tell anyone, don't worry. No need for minions. I can make my own army. Just give me DNA samples of everyone. Just tell them it's to test their iron levels and such. Trust me, this will be a one-of-a-kind test. I hang up and stretch as I head downstairs to begin making breakfast. An hour later, everyone got up and sat down to eat breakfast. Once everyone was done, I got changed into shorts and a tank top and got ready to head out. Daddy, what are you doing today? I knelt down and ruffled Eris' hair. I'm going to do some community service and clean up some ruined lots. May and Eri perked up. Can we help out? I laughed. Sure, but if I say to stop doing something, do it. I'm doing this as a hero, and I need you two not to ruin my image as I'm just starting the smallish stuff. Both nodded and got changed. On the way to a ruined beach, I also told them not to mention me giving quirks. Eri asked why, and I knelt down. Let's say a villain needs a specific quirk for a job and has a quirkless friend that's in on it. If I give them a quirk to do it, I would be an accomplice in the crime. She understood, and we got to her first cleanup spot. It was a giant beach covered in garbage. I had Eri be in charge of 2 clones and organizing the garbage. May was taking apart everything she could, and I was crushing, moving, and incinerating the trash. In the matter of a few hours, we had cleaned up the beach, and a few other people from the community joined in to help us. A lot of kids tried to play with Eri, and she resisted at first until I laughed and motioned her to go ahead. Once she was playing with them, we got the work done a little bit faster and decided to let her play for an hour after we finished. I had Kurajiri warp over my floating grill and some supplies so I can make lunch for those who helped out. Once I was done serving everyone lunch, May, Eri, and I went to the next lot with the same setup. This lot wasn't as big, so an hour later it was done with just the 3 of us and a few clones. Eri had fun at this one as she corralled some wild cats away from the piles of trash and played with the kittens we found there. There was over a dozen cats and nearly twice that in kittens, and I was prepared for the question that was going to come. Daddy, can we keep them? May and I looked at each other and I shrugged. Let us see if any have owners first, and if they don't, I will let you keep a few of them. You will have to help take care of them, okay? She nodded furiously and started to talk to them. I got curious and activated my Nico ears but made them look like a machine. What I didn't know was that Eri can actually understand cats thanks to the Nico quirk. I think I made a little mix-up making the Nico quirk. Eri and I can speak to cats now. This made the cats look at me stunned before a kitten climbed up a tree and got eye level with me. Kitten, you can understand me too, human. Me, yes, I'm Midoriya Izuku, but you can just call me Izuku. What's your name? Kitten, we just get called by coloring until we are named by a human. Me, that is kinda cool but kinda hard since there are 3 of your litter that are orange and white too. Kitten, true, but I'm the runt, so runt orange stripes is me. I put my hand out and the small kitten sat on it. How about I name you Fortune? You may be the runt, but I sense you are not like your siblings. Fortune tilted her head and I scratched her behind her ears. You can actually climb any surface without your claws. You have a power we humans call a quirk. You are the first animal I have met with one. This caused Fortune to climb a smooth sheet of metal. She was so happy until she lost focus and slid down onto Eris' head as the metal was in a pile. Sorry, Eri, did I hurt you? Eri shook her head and petted Fortune till she dozed off. I quickly checked the other cats and none had chips, quirks, or odd mutations. All of them had thumbs, but that's it. The other kittens were jealous of Fortune and I just calmed them down. I told them maybe they would form one too, but if they don't after a year I will give them quirks if they are good kittens. The cats relaxed and nodded at me with the expressions that basically said finally a break. May and I finished the lot and we had to pretend to be the Pied Piper to the cats, which everyone enjoyed and some actually recorded. When we got home, my mom, Dad, Might, All for One, and Kurajiri all gave us a death glare. It was quiet until they saw Fortune climb up the wall and sat on the ceiling. That made AFO very curious. Did you give that kitten a quirk? I shook my head. Fortune, off the ceiling, please. We need to get you all clean and give your entire family names. She sighed. Fine, but it feels nice up here. I chuckled. Come down and I will install a cat bed up there so you can nap up there without having to keep focus. That made Fortune dive bomb onto Eris' head. I sighed and gave all the cats a nice bath, dried them, gave them all names, and stopped one who literally just then formed their quirk. This little fluffy monster can waterbend and was pulling pranks on her family. Katara, stop splashing everyone. Just because you suddenly have a quirk doesn't mean you can abuse it. I had to temporarily block her quirk, making her fall back into the tub, making the other cats laugh. After drying her off again, I created a cat quirk board. There was a cat picture, cat given name, human given name, which we decided to leave blank until they got a quirk, and their quirk. I then created special headsets for everyone else except Kurajiri. I had to make him a handheld item that would translate cats to English. That's when Bakugo came in and looked confused. Okay, Deku, what the F is going on? I slapped him. 1. Watch your language. 2. These are our new pets. 3. So far 2 of them have natural quirks. He laughed as I said that until Katara hit him in the face with some water from my glass. Katara, thank you for proving my point, but next time ask someone to turn on the sink. I then grabbed a ladder and climbed it to set up Fortune's ceiling bed. Fortune, of course, was on the ceiling circling me as I worked on it. So one can control water and the other does what? Bakugo asked as he looked at Fortune. Eri answered him. Fortune can walk on any surface without using her claws. Fortune chuckled. Is he an idiot or just a blonde? Eri gasped. Bakugo isn't dumb, Fortune. He just thinks that everything is below his giant ego. Bakugo looked confused for a second, then got furious. Which furball insulted me? I sighed and tossed him a headset. Put that on and listen. I finished Fortune's bed and she sat in it. Is he always a short fuse or is that just because he is a blonde? Bakugo smirked. I'm always angry, you little furball. Now apologize before I make you into supper. This made Eri nutcheck him. Bad Mr. Angry. You will not cook my kitties. I then got a phone call from Ketsawa. Hey Ketsawa, what's up? Why do I understand my cats? I chuckled. Eri and I just found that out too. It seems that because we are part cat we can understand them. Also, any tips on what's best for cats and kittens? We found a bunch of cats and some are forming quirks. He then hung up after I told him how many cats I had. Everyone get away from the door and open it. I have a hunch Ketsawa is about to fly through it. About half an hour later, Ketsawa came in with multiple bags of food, cat toys, and his 6 cats. We spent the next hour talking to him, learning about the cats, and having to make some quirk-proof cat stuff. Another cat got a quirk. I named him Thunder as he can create storm clouds, he can ride and actually create the weather. We had to set up rules with quirk usage by the cats. We called Nezu later and he was surprised until he heard me yell at Thunder for hitting me with lightning. There is now a class for animals with quirks. I now have to make cat carriers that float and a lot of other stuff for when classes start in a month. Hopefully the house lasts long enough. Daddy, one of the kittens is now a giant kitty. Damn it. Mom, talk to your realtor. We need to move and I will help pay for it. I stumbled to the small backyard. Okay, Titan, shrink back to kitten size. That's a good girl. I gave her a treat after she shrank. Yeah, moving is definitely top priority right now. I woke up in the middle of the night and look at Titan. It's midnight, you're in giant form, and you licked my face. What is so important? Titan shrank down. More of us got quirks. I sighed and rolled to the side as a cat dive bombs my bed. Fortune, why did you decide to try to attack me? She meowed. Sorry, thought you were still asleep and I was running for momentum. I groan and get up. Okay, which one's got quirks? I stumble downstairs where I see Kurogiri playing with a cat which looked like him. After a minute I watch the kitten create warp gates and start sneak attacking Kurogiri. Well, Kurogiri, looks like you got a mini Jiri. The kitten and him nodded as I wrote it on the board. I had to have the kitten tell me his pre-quirk name and took a picture of his new look. After a couple more minutes of me naming the newly quirked cats, I sat down and pulled out Fruit Ninja on my Kai. As I played holding a bamboo sword, a small kitten pawed my leg gently. I paused the game and knelt down. Yes, Starmark, can I play? It looks like fun. The kitten replied as it stood on its hind legs and grabbed a pen off the table to use as a sword. I chuckled and gave her a small Kai screen to join me. Better score wins. She nodded and the game started. Honestly, I was distracted by the cute kitten playing the game, so I didn't do my best, but I still won. We played for a few hours and I noticed that Starmark was improving at a crazy rate. After a bit we started to always tie and we decided to try a new game. This is when she summoned her own Kai. I watched her find Minecraft and created her own control scheme before playing it with me. Gamepaw, your quirk is like mine. Now I wonder how the rest will form quirks. A few days later, of a few more kittens forming quirks, we moved to a full-on mansion with May's family. While Mom, All Might, All for One, and I were busy looking, May was talking to her parents. What none of us knew, because honestly I didn't care, was that May was loaded. She was also staying at an apartment close to UA, so she wasn't always in a limo like Momo. Her parents own and run a support gear company. May's mother and father met me at a cafe I started to go to often with my horde of quirk kittens. The cafe workers enjoy the kittens, especially the one called Shadowling. That little bugger can form tentacles from shadows and use them to help the workers out. At home he just uses it to steal my Katsuden. When we first met, the mother was very standoffish, but May's father was eager to find out all he could about me. When I saw his took quirk, I quickly looked his hand over and healed the chipped tools and strengthened a few of the weaker tools. After that I gave him more tools and then backed away blushing. I apologized and said it's a habit to heal and boost those I can. When May's mom walked over, I got rid of her migraine drawback and increased how far she can zoom her eyesight. After that I had to catch kitten twins just getting their quirk. Both got May's father's quirk, but their tails become tools instead of their paws. They are now aptly named Gadget and Gizmo. When they saw the twins and noticed the others with quirks, they both said at the same time, "Tell your mom to pack up. We have plenty of room at our place." They tried to hire movers, but with Kurogiri, his kitty, and mine's quirk, we just warped stuff over on our own. After moving in, Gamepad, Mini Jiri, and a cat now named Deflicity warped into Vamp Izuku's reality. Gamepad is now renamed Cyberpaw and Mini Jiri is now Kuro Kitty. I caught up with Vamp and his Momo before getting out some rage on their overhaul. Of course I copied all his quirks this time. Some interesting ones were in it. May's parents were not very happy about being called grandma and grandpa at first until I explained why I have it. Now they are on with it, but they do sometimes freak out when called grandma or grandpa. When class started back up, I had a Solar Surfer license test set up. Most of the surfer owners took it, and Eri was happy to have hers back as she passed the test at nearly 100%. All Might barely passed at 85% with an 84% as a fail. After I handed people back their surfers after they took their tests, they flew home safely. I had to give All Might a warning before he flew off. Unfortunately, he didn't listen and I hit him upside the head with a newspaper. All Might, this is why I had a license put in as a need for the surfers. If I check your board's data and you were traffic weaving, I'll revoke your license for a year. All Might instantly raised himself up and flew normally. I headed back to May and Eri, who were both shaking their heads. Grandpa Might, big doofus. I instantly agreed and hopped onto my surfer. Let's get back home. We have class tomorrow. We flew back to the mansion and May's mom got mad. What are those things and why does Eri have one? I explained the surfers, showed all the stuff I put in Eris, and showed the licenses and Eris score. She was stunned but relented as I showed her the patent for all my stuff. The next day at school, Eri was playing with the kittens and helping teach them quirk control. May and I were working on an Iron Man suit as a joke. We had it mostly built when we had to go up for the hero class. Katsuo was happy to see the kittens and welcomed them all by name, and when they corrected him, he apologized. Everyone in A1 was shocked as the kittens walked in. When they saw Kuro Kitty, they all looked at me. Did female Nico you come back? I shook my head and explained what happened, making them relax. Ashido started to play with a quirkless kitten and showed off her quirk some when the kitten suddenly turned pink, gained horns, and mimicked her. Well, that proves kittens actually chose a quirk they see in action and gain it. Acid Fang is your new name. The kitten nodded and sat on Ashido's head for the rest of the day. At the end of the day, every classmate had their own kitten mimic. What was funny though was that Kaken's kitten looks like a Pomeranian. He really got mad at that but is dealing with it. For class, everyone was creating super moves as Ectoplasm, Dufflicity, Cyberpaw, and I created clones for everyone to use. Everyone was in sync with their kittens and were having fun creating combos with them. All week they practiced and got stronger while Cyberpaw and I talked to the HB about my role as a villain and that A1 now has kittens with quirks which can be considered support animals. After explaining it, they allowed it and let me have Cyberpaw help me. When the Provisional Heroes license test happens, they will be stunned to hell and back. May POV. I grumble as Izuku is called on the phone and says that he can't watch me take the license test to be a hero. It's totally unfair. He works day and night as a hero and a student. The one day he asks off he doesn't get. So not fair. As I'm raging on the bus ride to the test area, but Momo calms me down. After a bit, remember that day you decided to join 1A? I looked at her. Yeah, you asked if we did it together. I'm guessing you didn't mean create inventions. She shook her head laughing. No, but her answer, yes, we have made some babies together, really made me think dirty. I face-palmed when I heard that. No wonder Izu keeps correcting me in front of Eri. He was afraid she'd get in trouble for saying him and I make babies in front of her. This makes everyone who heard this laugh, even Katsuo, who was currently entertaining Eri and her kitty. One seems to have bonded with her and has a habit of sending sonic plastic mice all over the place. We call him Vector as he has a loves to only speed stuff up, not slow or rewind them. After we arrived, we met a few other schools and headed into the arena. The first challenge was for us to get 3 people out by hitting their targets with balls. Luckily, Izuku told us to be on guard since everyone would know part of our quirks thanks to the sports festival. It was fun, especially with Gizmo on my side. He and I began to make items and planned our attacks. People were not happy we had kittens on our shoulders or attacking with us. Bakugo and Blast Cat, as I call him, can't remember the dumb name Bakugo gave him, were the most dangerous duo as they would fly around, dive blast the extras, and even blew up one of my babies on accident. We all passed round 1 and took a small break in the room for those who passed. I yelled at Bakugo while people backed away cause I said baby. Once I calmed down, Izuku suddenly warped in and sighed. By baby she means invention, support gear. She views them as her own children as her sweat and blood go into them, so please calm down. No one was killed in the literal sense. Everyone calmed down and I hugged him. So are you here to watch the second half of the test? He laughed and nodded as Cyberpaw warped into the room as well. Izuku, can we play as we wait? You owe me a rematch in Smash Bros. Everyone's jaws dropped as she spoke clear English. Blast Cat glared and meowed. How come you're speaking English so clearly while we can't? Izuku chuckled. I made a device that looks like a collar for instant translation. I'll make you all collars later, okay? The resounding hiss of, make them now, filled the room, scaring everyone. Izuku sighed and copied Cyberpaws, edited them to match their costumes, and passed them out to the quirk kittens. Soon the kittens began to speak and the people around asked why the kittens had quirks and are so smart. Izuku explained that he found them and they seem to get the quirks of whomever they think is cool or they bond to. That's when Cyberpaw created her Kai and said, "Izuku, we need to go. The second part is about to start." He nodded and warped away with Cyberpaw vanishing right after. We all were suddenly warped back into the arena and watched as it became ruins with Izuku blasting them with a gun from Halo, or was it Fallout? I couldn't see either clearly, so no clue. He then floated down close and yelled, "There are professional victims throughout the city and you guys must rescue them. Have fun," as Cyberpaw and I kinda went overboard. Cyberpaw bowed. "I am sorry, but I now understand why destruction games exist." They both warped away and we started rescuing people. We rescued roughly half when an army of fake villains suddenly broke into the arena. I used my zoom quirk to see it was an army of vampires, gem statues, robots, and some odd flying flaming skulls. They started to run out and trap heroes in training that went out solo. When people rescued the heroes and made the villains back off, I helped out by blasting the flaming skulls with water from a broken pipe. They went all out building the city for the test. After a while the villains began to draw a "What the F? Why are they using blood from the trainees taking the test and from the professional victims to draw a summoning circle? What in the world kind of mumbo-jumbo kind of test is this?" That's when a giant skeleton was summoned with bits and pieces of machines, some gems, different elements, and parts of the arena. That's when we hear over the speakers, "Those are real villains. The fakes were found unconscious in the back along with the heroes who came with you. Fight with all you have." Everyone froze and had one single collective thought, "So this is how we die. What a way to go." May POV. I panic as I try to figure out a plan. Our test has been hijacked by vampires, living gems, robots, flying skulls, and a giant skeleton. The thing is, the skeleton was summoned like dark magic in video games. Now, according to video games and horror films, if you break the summoning ring, the summon vanishes. Now, to tell others without the villains hearing. Gizmo, can you tell the others to destroy the blood circle on the ground? Do so quickly and quietly. My cat ran off and I planned my assault. After a bit I launch at the giant hodgepodge skeleton, trying to unscrew the robotic parts on his body. I undid a couple ribs before I was hit away. I couldn't help but laugh as the ribs landed on the army. Once that was done, Todoroki and Momo launched ice, fire, and cannonballs at the army. As those two distracted them, more joined in as the rest moved the injured further away. After a bit I used some mixed parts from the summoned rubble skeleton. I created a dirt cannon. Once I get it built and aim, I shoot at the army. While this happens, Bakugo suddenly flew by and destroyed the circle. This causes the rubble skeleton to fall apart and vanish. With the big threat done, we all worked together to finish the other minions when we all heard clapping. As we looked around to find the source, we saw a guy covered in tattoos and holding a sign. He was floating in the air and chuckling, "You beat my sorcery. Good job, saplings. Too bad I can't let you live knowing the secrets to my magic." He started to speak something that was a mix of English, Latin, and something else. Once his chanting finished, all of his defeated minions were drawn to him and he ate them. They didn't become energy or shrank. Tattoo, as I labeled him, had his jaw dropped to around his crotch and ate all his minions while. Once they all were consumed, his arms split, becoming 4 sets of arms. His original arms, a robotic pair, a red gem set, and a set with very long and sharp claws. "I am Shadow Reaper. I will kill all of you." I froze. Lady Death said Izuku was the only Reaper. Fakes are punished by Izuku and Lady Death. Shadow Reaper laughed. "She made me back when the Black Plague was rampant. I split from her and gained power unbelievable. Now I will give you 2 options. Bow or die." The entire testing arena yelled, "I'd rather die than bow down to a villain." What happened next was beautiful. Everyone who wasn't defending the injured attacked him. There were some awesome combos like a fire tornado, water and lightning, and what I think was acid and machinery. After a few minutes, he and all the attacks suddenly vanished into a beam of light with Izuku at its base. My boyfriend ate the villain. He then coughed a bit and spit out a bit of machinery. "Damn, tungsten tastes horrible. Is everyone okay?" He healed everyone that was hurt and apologized for getting distracted by a decoy attack Shadow set up. After that, he stood up with the test conductor looking tired. "Everyone, I was supposed to be your villain in this test, but I fell for a decoy villain attack. I am sorry for falling for it, but I'm glad you guys kept him pinned in place or a lot of you would be dead." Everyone stiffened and murmured as Izuku said that. "And like that you all worked together and stopped any casualties, you all passed the test, but as Izuku said, be careful, some powerful villains are still out there. Just because you have a license doesn't mean you are unbeatable." We all got our provisional licenses, and I saw Izuku head into the tunnels where the teachers and his team of fake villains were. He looked so sad. Izuku POV. I walked right to the observation room and sighed. "Did you think they bought it?" Katsuo and Nezu both nodded, along with all the teachers from other schools. "You did good, but why the name Shadow?" Katsuo asked as Ms. Joke played with his ears. I looked at a napping Eri who I had knocked out so she wouldn't accidentally tell anyone I was the test villain. Because I beat up a shadow of regret a bit ago. One I wish I had done more to in this reality. Also because I also ate the real Shadow Reaper last week. Everyone stiffened up in shock. Nezu was the first to collect his wits. "You're telling me Shadow Reaper was a real Reaper?" I nodded. "Reapers only die if another Reaper eats them. There are a few hundred still sleeping out there. Hopefully I am stronger than them, as some are older than the earth." I gently woke up Eri and carried her down to May, where I congratulated her on passing. "Hopefully when the time comes everyone is strong enough to help me beat the first." I walked downstairs and jumped over Titan and Flash, racing through the mansion. "Both of you need to stop that race outside on the dirt bike track." When they didn't listen, I warped them out onto the track. Eri meowed softly as she slid down the banister while May chased her down. We all ate breakfast when I got a call from Mom and Dad. "Might. Izuku, you need to come to the hospital. All for One is dying." I dropped my food and ran to my surfer and broke lots of laws to get to the hospital. Once I found the room they were in, Mom and Dad might left me alone with him. "I'm sorry, Izuku. I shouldn't have tried to take them alone." "Save your breath, Dad. I might be able to save you." Lady Death showed up and stopped me. "I am sorry, my young Reaper, but his time is now. His soul will decay and make him into a demon should you save him. Let him die a hero." I nodded and Dad gave me all of his quirks before he suddenly died. Lady Death escorted his soul to eternal rest and I cried. Dad, Might and Mom walked in and helped me get back to the mansion. They then told me what happened. Dad Might was busy buying some groceries to help out at the Hatsune mansion with Mom and All for One buying collars for the kittens and setting up an appointment to get them all chipped. As they were all doing their thing, some guy high on trigger attacked the vet's office. The drugged shark-looking person was trashing the place, blaming them for his pet's death. As they tried to calm him down, he suddenly attacked All for One. My mom's scream caused Dad Might to rush over and knock out the high idiot before rushing All for One to the hospital. They then called me, and now I know what led up to my dad's death. Instead of asking for a day off of school, I decided to head there even though I am slightly late. Power Loader was understanding and gave me a simple set of machines to fix along with a few orders for Snow Blaster gloves. With me working on it, a portal appeared suddenly. It was Vampire Momo with a jar of ashes. She dragged me to her world and explained. My Izuku was told that the USAS president wanted to create a treaty to save his country. Instead, he trapped Izuku in stone. After a few days with him in the stone, Izuku broke out and drank lots of trigger. I stopped her there and looked around the room. He died. I found his soul crying on the bed he died on. Without warning, I cut my arm and used my blood to rehydrate his ashes, have them form a body, and made sure it was correctly set up for his soul. I then chokeslammed Vamp Izuku's soul into the new body and berated him for being an idiot. With that done, I went back to my reality and got back to work. I felt better having saved him, but I still felt bad about my dad. During lunch, I ate on the roof and sighed some as I didn't eat a lot of it. Katsuo pulled me to the side before class to ask if I am okay. Of course, I said I was fine and headed in. After the usual hero rule updates and how trigger exists, and what it has scared everyone but me, I came up with an idea for later but decided not to tell anyone yet. When school ended, after we all practiced some more ultimate moves, or in my case combos, I disguised myself and warped elsewhere. I snuck around the darker parts of Hasu looking for trigger. I'm going to analyze it and make an anti-trigger bullet. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone selling it. While I got irritated, I warped to the USA. I quickly found a place they made trigger, stole a few doses, got them busted, and warped back to the mansion where I got to work. I scanned every aspect of the drug to find a way to reverse the effects and make people unable to use it again. After a bit, I figure it out and go on patrol looking for another trigger user to test it on. After an hour, I found a user. Their quirk was the ability to move faster than normal, but on trigger they are basically the Flash. As they came at me, I slowed down time and injected the cure into his rear. I resumed time and they almost instantly returned to their normal fast speed, causing them to flip and roll in shock. As they were stunned, I cuffed them and turned them in, telling the cops he was on trigger. They asked why he is so calm now, and I said I nullified the drug and made him unable to ever use it again. I made a factory to create anti-trigger darts and handed them to the person in charge of ammo and put them all over the world, giving every police station a T-dart. With my job, I headed home and destroyed the samples of trigger I had, incinerating them completely in extreme hellfire that destroyed it all, even the fumes. I then headed downstairs to eat breakfast with everyone looking a bit tired. Mom and Dad Might instantly forced me to stay home and sleep. I let them order me around and lay down in my bed, quickly falling asleep. A few hours later, Dad Might entered my room and woke me. You made anti-trigger darts. Did you actually have a source for the drugs? I pointed to the scorched section of my desk, half asleep. Destroyed it. Simple mix. Surprised no one got a cure already. He smiled and let me go back to sleep. Such an amazing kid. Next time, tell me when you get a dangerous idea like this. I chuckled. I want to make a stable trigger without drawbacks or anything like that. Can I do that tomorrow? His face of fear was worth it before I signaled I was joking and waved him out of the room. We both chuckled before I dozed off again. I sleep for over 4 days, but Dad might. Mom, Iri, May, and surprisingly both of May's parents made sure I would eat. After that I went back to school without any problems. What a week. I was bored as I headed to hero class after lunch. For the past week I've had to fix hero outfits, create better versions, return solar surfers, and fix whatever someone destroys. They won't let me do anything more since my dad died, but it's boring me to death. Before people say I am embellishing it, I'm not. I literally have died 3 times this week from pure boredom. Lady Death enjoys my visits but is starting to get irritated. As I walk into the classroom I smirk and decide to have some fun. When Deku is about to sit down I summon a whoopie cushion there and it sounds like he crapped himself farting. The entire class laughed at him as he showed the prank item. I then targeted Uraraka, Momo, Kaminari, and Ida. Momo and Ida looked mortified, Uraraka was stunned, and Kaminari just laughed his rear off. Katsuo walked in and was holding his nose early but let go when he saw the farts were fake. Okay, so someone is pranking everyone. Okay, so today we're going to. He looked at his tail which not suddenly had a pretty pink bow with a bell. Okay, which one of you problem children did this? Just so you guys know I hate pink. If it was black with a sleeping bag shaped bell maybe. May and I looked at each other and instantly began designing a new outfit for Katsuo. He notices and groans, do that later you too. Today we are going to. Okay, why is there a kin in the drawer? He opens it and fake snakes pop out scaring him as they scream. He jumps and latches to the ceiling like cats in cartoons do. This made everyone laugh again as Katsuo slowly calmed his nerves. Once he was on the ground again we all shut up as his tails grabbed the snakes and put them on his desk. Okay, who pranked me with this? I raised my hand. That would be me, sir. I thought you'd like something exciting to happen that wasn't villain-based. He sighed and shook his head. Any more pranks planned? I just smiled mimicking Katsuo's sit-eating grin making everyone worried. He smiled back. Any good ones? I shrugged and let the class stew in worry. Next one was Bakugo opening his backpack only to get covered by pink Pomeranian stickers. This made everyone snicker as I jump out the window. See you all at Site Gamma for more hand-to-hand training. Bakugo chased me and everyone watched me avoid his blasts, jump over his head a few times, and pants him showing his heart-covered boxers making him madder. By the time everyone was there Bakugo was tired. He was looking for me, and I was a cat in a sea of Quirk kittens. Deficity was smirking. Hi everyone. Izuku asked me to create a clone army of all the Quirk kittens and you guys must find him. Winner gets any weapon they want from a video game. Everyone rushed to look through the cat army as I snuck into Katsuo's scarf. He chuckled. I bet it takes an hour for them to figure it out. If I win I want a fully decked out sleeping bag suit. I nodded. I bet it takes at least 2. If I win the girls get to punish Mainta. He isn't fully broken from his perverted ways. He has nearly gotten Momo, Uraraka, and Hagakure. At least he avoid May. I'm going to kill him. Mainta just slapped Mazes and I was mad. I flew at him, scratched his face and hands, and then kicked him into a building still as a cat. Only May saw me and I made a hush motion. She nodded and I got back into Katsuo's scarf. May went back to looking as I just sit in the scarf. I'm tempted to kill that pervert. Katsuo just nodded and sit in a chair to watch. I get an evil idea and motioned to Felicity the duplicating kitten over. When she got closer I told her to include clones of a green kitten like me and have them taunt from time to time. The next hour and 20 minutes was just funny as hell. They chased the clones only for them to vanish and pop up elsewhere. Katsuo, May, and I was enjoying the chaos as everyone worked for their own video game item. 2 hours had passed when Momo noticed me and pretended to look at the other kittens. I of course noticed her walking over and waved once she was close enough. May motioned her to be quiet and to sit down as I summoned a drink for her. It took the rest about another 15 minutes to notice May and Momo relaxing and a singular green cat chuckling in the scarf of their Nico teacher. Bakugo walked over. You've been in there except when you beat up Mainta. I nodded and looked up at Katsuo. I won but you'll still get your sleeping bag suit. Mainta, tomorrow the girls get to punish you since you've continued to grope them. The girls all give evil smiles causing him to run until the kitty clones pin him down. I wasn't finished Mainta. You all get the items if they are reasonable. If someone mentions anything very deadly it's a no. Also I'm going to include anime. Everyone wanted different things. Kyoka wanted a dubstep gun that's compatible with her quirk. That was easy and I made one for myself cause I do like some dubstep. The rest wanted swords, armor, and such without the stats and such. Mainta wanted a slime farm from an anime called In Another Dimension. With my smartphone I had to look it up and watch the episode before I hit him upside the head. Damn, might have to have Mama Deke take him back to his personal hell. After everyone got what they wanted the bell rang and we all went home after I put the bigger item in transport capsules that shrank them down a lot and made them lighter. I told Katsuo I would make him his sleeping bag suit over the weekend. I jumped onto May's shoulder and had her carry me home as I didn't want Eri to accidentally strangle me again and I needed sleep. making over 20 plus items with modifications on looks. Next day, I was in the testing zone using my dubstep gun. It is now painted green, has a few emerald bits, some holographic bits, and I was put it on a flying turret base. I spent part morning practicing my aim with it. Once I was confident with my creation, I decided to cause lots of mayhem. It was fun for me, but not the targets. I'll just tell you the 3 funniest targets in my opinion. Target 1 was Nezu. It snuck out to his open window. Once it lined up, each time he was about to grab his cup of tea, I would blast him and have the gun lower quickly out of sight. With my third-person sight, I would see him look around confused. After a few blasts, he tried to bait me out. He failed and thought I left. This time he did catch the turret and saw the tech. Midoriya, if you are going to use sound against someone, do present mic. I had the turret nod and mimic my evil laugh, making Nezu laugh as well as I search for my next target. After a bit of searching, I find present Mike sleeping under a tree. I take aim and start blasting dubstep at him. His reaction was priceless. He thrashed around, started looking for an alarm clock or something. Once he saw my dubstep turret, he started to yell back. After a bit, he lost his voice and started to throw a tantrum. I then quickly mimicked Nezu's voice. No sleeping before class, get back up and to work. Don't make me come back here. He flipped me off, then started to walk back to class. They wanted to prank someone. I let her take control and watched her fly up behind Minda as he was walking to the restroom. She made him piss himself as she played Screamo through the turret. Him pissing himself and running away was too perfect. We then flew it to a 1 and projected what we just did. Everyone was laughing before I had the gun continue its chaos. I had to stop when Midnight enjoyed it blasting her. Seriously, what is wrong in her effing head? During lunch, I pranked random people with whoopie cushions. Eri was laughing a bit, making people smile. When we all went back to class, I dropped a banana peel in front of Minta. He slid right into a trash can and kinda flipped in somehow. Monoma laughed and called Oliva one trash. Needless to say, he got put in the trash by a banana peel. As class started, Ketsawa saw 3 cans on his desk. Using his tail, he opened them and only one exploded. The other 2 had candy. One was catnip infused, so I know he is going to get high as hell one night. He relaxed and told May not to make Minta piss himself again. He rushed over and tried to grope her, only for me to kick him out the window. Once he got close to hitting the ground, I had him land in a pile of mud. We headed to a random site to do another villain versus hero training set. I was the villain with May against Minta and Kaminari. As they walked in, nothing but whoopie cushions, fake spiders, and such with fake bombs. They asked me to really get Minta, so I did. In one room, I changed it into a full-on Victoria's Secret. He walked in and fell for it with Kaminari trying to hold him back. I smirked and yelled, "What do you mean those are your old bras? That's disgusting. I told you to use new ones." That was all it took for Minta to get blown up a lot like a ping pong ball in a minefield. I walked out of my hiding spot and tied up Kaminari to watch Minta get blown up a lot. As he was blowing up, I asked which girl wants to be a big bomb. Everyone smirked and pointed to Momo since she was his favorite target. I created a C4 Momo and dragged Kaminari out as May smirked following me. Minta eventually finished blowing up in what people later called May's secret. He then saw the C4 Momo busy cleaning up his mess, when he slapped her as the entire building blew up and he was launched out a window. I watched as he flew right into the real Momo's cleavage. Needless to say, the girls beat him up like crazy. I had to remove the balls stuck to Momo cause Minta couldn't. Well, that and the explosion that launched him was mine. They handed me the tools I would need during this. Before people ask why I couldn't just use my magic or a quirk, his quirk was mutated in his time in hell. The balls must be surgically removed or you must wait from 3 hours to a month for them to fall off. Once I removed them, I took them to find a quick and easy way to remove them without waiting. Apparently his adhesive has gotten much stronger and must dry out to fall off. Tried hair dryers, focused flame, and heating powder for all to fail. I tried Hellfire and Niflhamer Frost with both working, making me groan in irritation. I later find Minta and grab his neck, lifting him. "Listen here, Grapist. Your quirk now requires me or Shoto to remove your blasted grapes early. If you try anything perverted with them, I will know and I will punish you. Is that clear?" He nodded, terrified. The rest of the class was used to my bloodlust when it's aimed at Minta. As I watched the rest of the class's battles, I noticed a pentagram form on a building. I pointed it out and a demoness came out of it in a slutty version of our school uniform. She saw me and flew over. "So your mom's new Reaper. Nice to meet you, I'm Lucy." Everyone looked at the demonic female floating in front of me. Zero had to tie Minta to the wall so he wouldn't grope her. "It's nice to meet you, but why are you wearing a perverted version of the school uniform?" That's when Minta yelled, "What are you talking about? She's just in lingerie." Zero taped his mouth shut as the rest looked confused. Lucy began to laugh. "The purer your mind, the less suggestive my outfit is." Harry walked over and asked, "Is that why I see you in a princess dress?" We all couldn't help but awe as Lucy picked her up. "Yes, it is my niece. Call me Aunt Lucy. Also Izu, I am kinda your sister. Reapers become genetic children of Mom. That stunned me and the rest. So I'm part demon and Mama Death then. Lucy nodded and played with her as Minda struggled to get free. Sis, can you turn off that dirty mind thing? I don't want the grapist to get free and do something stupid. She sighed and her outfit suddenly became a normal school uniform, making Minda calm down. At that one the guy Mom showed the new rank of hell to. I nodded as I stretched some. Lucy walked over and kicked him in the balls roughly. That's for groping Mom. I stiffened a bit and looked at Minda. You groped Mama Death. Minda, be glad I have to be nice around Eri. He passed out after pissing himself again. I cleaned up his mess and had Kaminari wake him up later as I walked home with Lucy, Eri, and May. I learned about my new demonic family and that Lucifer himself is kinda my dad. May was interested and Eri was listening and asking questions. The funniest one was, does that make me part demon too? I ruffled her hair. No, my snowball. On paperwork you are related to me but not by blood, so no demonic blood in you. She looked sad. So I'm not special like you. I picked her up. Sweetie, you're my daughter. That makes you very special as that makes you unique. Even when you get brothers and sisters you'll be unique. That made her happy, making us all laugh as we walked into the mansion. Mr. and Mrs. Hatsune weren't very happy to see a demon with us. After explaining how we are related they calmed down some. When I mentioned the bit about being related to Lucifer Morningstar, the devil, they freaked out again. It took an hour of me trying to calm them down before I gave up and yelled, Mama Death, I need some help please. Lady Death warped in and sighed. Lucy, I told you not to explain that bit to him yet. Look, his skeleton which you see when he goes Reaper is made out of a mix of mine, my husband's, and Izuku's DNA. It's how people become Reapers, so don't hold it against him. They calmed down and Mr. Hatsune asked, so, he is related to Satan? I prefer being called Lucifer. Everyone turned to see Lucifer coming out of the portal. Now Lucy, I told you not to tell Izuku that I'm your father and kinda his. I know I told you to never lie, but you can omit some stuff, especially if it will cause chaos. Lucy looked down. I'm sorry Dad. I just wanted to meet my brother. To add to the chaos, Mom and Dad might walked in. What does she mean by brother? Mom asked a bit mad. My Reaper skeleton is a mix of mine, Lady Death, and Lucifer's DNA. She is the daughter of the two. Dad might thought a bit. Are Reaper skeletons tough? Lucifer smirked. Unbreakable and immune to acids. Even hell and heaven weapons can't break them. Eri looked up at me. Daddy, can I have a Reaper skeleton too? I sighed. I'd prefer that you don't become a Reaper like me, but it's up to you, Mama Death and Lucifer. Eri looked at them. Is it possible to have a skeleton but not be a Weeper? Lady Death awed and ruffled her hair. It is possible, but you would still have Reaper powers which will attract other Reapers. Not all are nice. Shadow from the test. Lady Death nodded. He was the 10th most powerful before Izuku. He would be ranked 11 if Izuku didn't defeat him. Eri shook her head. Never mind then. Maybe when I'm in UA like Daddy. Lucy, Lucifer, and Lady Death went home with Lucy saying, if you can arrange Grapus to die early, I could use his soul for my experiments. I nodded. If he gropes May again he will win a short trip to hell. The trio laugh and I smile as they vanish. Mom sighed. Please tell me you're only joking. I shook my head and told them about the stunts he pulled. Once that was over we all ate supper, then May and I worked together in the basement. We were reinforcing the house's security and making a new device. When we finished I kissed May and went to bed. Tomorrow will be very interesting. After Lucy decided to visit I had a long 4-day weekend, so I decided to be an idiot. In other words, I checked on the other mess. First was Gem Izuku. His word was now peaceful as hell. I couldn't even find a weapon shop and I was hoping to grab a new blade or something. I found him outside of a building made of pure obsidian. He looked older and like an anime character called JoJo. After talking for a little bit I found out he is married and has 3 kids. He apparently adopted Eri as well as had twins. As we talked I saw his Momo run over and try to hug me. I quickly warped behind her so she tackled her Izuku while chuckled and kissed her. What's the rush, hun? We do have the day off. Momo giggled. Well, we do have to rebuild the twins' nursery with both cribs. Okay, so he will have 5 kids. I think I'll just let him do whatever. Next stop, Vamp Izuku. He's currently ruling over the world, made the USA a colony for bad people, and he has an entire country begging to become brides. I barely stayed long, but when I saw he had Quirk kittens here I decided to leave before they smelt themselves on me. Also made a note to never show up mid-meeting in that world. Nearly lost my head, literally. I revisited the world of Ladybug and Chat Noir. They were a bit scared to see me again. Once I told them I was just visiting because I had nothing else to do, they relaxed some. After some talking I found out she had just received the miracle box from the Guardian. I consoled them for their loss and internally cussed myself out for not finishing the series. After some chatting with the duo I headed off to Marinette's bakery. They had a few prettier labels, their floor was redone, and the few cracked displays I saw were replaced. When her parents saw me they kind of flipped out thanking me. It took 2 hours to get them to calm down and stop giving me stuff. I had to make several trips between realities just to get it all home. Marinette helped me out thankfully. When she met Eri, she couldn't resist playing with her, so that evening we had the Dupanchengs join us for supper. Luckily, they didn't freak out about the portal. After that, I popped into a new reality. This one I nearly got blasted by some magic spell. After I ducked, we talked. This Izuku is a voodoo user and more. I must admit that I am a tad worried he might turn evil if someone hurts him. Seriously, if he gets hurt by Uraraka or whomever he loves, he might become one strongest villain. The next and last reality I dared to see for now was another version of me. Wasn't even in UA yet. Already saved Eri, got called in by Nezu while we talked, and he has a lot of bots thingies. When I hopped in, Eri and him were playing Rock'em Sock'em robots with the bot things. This multiverse is getting more and more bizarre the deeper I dig down the rabbit hole. After this little trip through the multiverses, I decided to spend my last day creating a multiversal portal warning device. I honestly don't want to have a dangerous Izuku enter my reality and take over. I smirk as I find out how to make much safer versions of the drugs I unfortunately have to sell after a couple days. Once I found a much safer version, I began to make and sell it instead, with diarrhea and stomachache as the main bad effects to make people want them less. After I sold all of the drugs, after changing them into the new stuff, I headed back to the warehouse. Scarlet saw me and basically ran away to hide from me. Crimson laughed. "Well, you must have really got to her. I bet she now has a crush on you. Now why is it people are asking for Coke Green, Red Trigger, and Golden Avalon? They tell us you sell it." I stiffen some as I hand him the heavy bag of cash. Once he counts it, he creates a gun out of his blood and aims it at me. "Okay, kitty, explain how you got this much. I know I'm immortal, but bullets hurt like crazy." I steel myself and decide to go cocky. "Calm down, Crimson, and put the blood gun away. I rather not ruin my new suit. Anyways, I'm a bit of a chemist, so one batch was used to tinker with. Let's just say that I came out with less deadly versions of them. The same results, no overdose BS. Also, I reworked them so each time is like the first time. Surprised no one else tried to. Took me 3 days." Crimson and Bad Rap was surprised as I said it. That's when Bad Rap called one of his really loyal customers and had him come to us. They wouldn't let me even go to the restroom as we waited 2 hours for him to arrive. The one who came and made my blood boil like crazy. It was a Reaper like me. His name was Ichigo Hellgate, and he was a Hell Reaper like me. Luckily, he won't be able to sense I'm a Reaper, but I sensed it about him before he even entered the warehouse. "What's up, Bad Rap?" What was so urgent I had to call in sick to my second job. I folded my ears back and scrunched up my nose as I took a couple steps back. "You smell of death. Can you step over to Bad Rap, please? Seriously, you smell like you bathed in it." I wave a hand as if to get rid of the scent, so he knew I wasn't joking. After a long glare, he moved over and Bad Rap sniffed him. "I smell it now, you're closer. How sensitive is your nose?" I waved dismissively. "No clue, I just smell it. Honestly, I rather smell the sewer than you. Here, try these out." I floated a packet of all 3 of my custom drugs over to him as a mix of fire and water to make a floating cloud. Once he takes the Coke Green, which is actually green instead of the usual white, he reels back in shock. "Holy crap, that shit is like my first time on any drug. What is that stuff?" I smirked some. "First in a line of healthy drugs. I'm going to make every unhealthy drug into a healthy version. No bad effects except diarrhea. Much cheaper to make. Each time is like the first, and we can charge the same as the original stuff." They all smirked and I tossed Bad Rap a red trigger. He took it and he became a full-blown raptor and could still talk. "This is epic. This stuff is weaker than Avalon. I wonder how Golden Avalon is like." I grabbed a capsule of Golden Avalon and took it. It burned for a little bit and I started to grow bigger. My 4 tails became 16, each one of a different element or elemental fusion. With a loud pop and growl, my hands became ever-shifting elemental paws. I looked them over. I wonder if I can make this permanent. Can you inject me with a dose of Red Trigger?" I wag my tails a bit as I form a few ideas. Ichigo injects me with the drug and I became much more muscular, got 48 more tails, and my claws became much sharper. I need to do a test on this. I got a sample of my blood and stored it in the cooler I brought with my lunch. Bad Rap, Crimson, Scarlet, and Ichigo gave me sample of their blood for me to test on. I then secretly formed a clone and swapped minds with it. I smirked with Aizawa and Dad Might. "We have all 3 of the Crimson Skulls in there and a Reaper. I'll deal with him. Someone kill my doped-out clone but make sure my cooler is left intact." I found out my drugs work on already maxed-out quirks. That made a few heroes nearby smirk and I can hear them plan to steal some of my drugs. "Don't have to steal them, you idiots. I will make custom blends for you later. Just need to get some blood from you to do it." With that, the raid started with me trapping all of them in rainbow ropes. Ichigo burned the ropes as he went into Hell Reaper form and released the others. I then dropped down and blasted him with some Niflheimr Frost as my clone was killed and the other 3 were caught again. "So you are a Reaper too?" Though the rumors were just lies, I growled at Ichigo as I became Niflheimr Frost in Hellfire Reaper mode. "For betraying Lady Death and abandoning the Reaper code, you must die. Ichigo Hellgate, I sentence you to the newest level of hell. One made just because of a pervert." With that Ichigo and I fought with our scythes. His was older but much stronger than my simple iron one. After a couple of hours of us fighting, mine broke, but fate smiled on me. As my scythe broke, a new one from Replicator Izuku popped into my reality next to me. I gently gripped my new scythe and looked over its siffy, cyberpunk-looking pattern and smirked. Damn, I know how to decorate. Let's try out something new. I smirked as I became a new type of reaper. My skeleton became metal, I formed wings, and I leaked a constant green light. That is when I focused my power into my scythe, changing it as well. Say hello to Cyber Reaper mode. For some reason, this new form freaked out Ichigo. With a couple of my slashes with my scythe, and Ichigo was no more. I then disposed of my clone's body with pixelated fire. When the trio left was escorted out, I picked up the cooler and warped it to my lab. With a small smirk, I reported what all happened. I may be a hero, but sometimes being a villain is fun. Maybe next time I should purge a villainous town or two. I groaned and sat up as I chugged a grape 5-hour energy. With a grimace, I stuck out my tongue. That is gross. The faster I drink it, the stronger the flavor. Grape cough syrup tastes better. Yuri looked up at me confused. If it's so nasty, why did you drink it? I laughed and petted her. Because I was up late studying my first case. Plus, if the drink itself doesn't work, the flavor definitely does. May and Mom laughed as Yuri purred. Dad might walked over. Izuku, what is your first case? I hope it is a simple one. I stretched and moved my tails, creating different elements on each of my 4 tails and making my ears a mix of the 4. My hair got longer and became blood red while I created scars over my arms, legs, and one over my left eye. Just going to try to bust another set of trigger dealers. They popped up after my previous outing. Dad might sighed and looked me over. I'm guessing you'll be going in as a dealer. I nodded and grew a bit taller. I'm Light Yagame from China and I looking to make a quick buck. Now I gotta go, okay. Yuri, be a good girl or no candy apples next week. May, no dangerous toys or tools. Both nodded before I warped away from the mansion. Now in Hasu, I looked around with my ears twitching like crazy to hear everyone. After an hour of walking around, I heard a lizard-looking guy and a person with 6 arms talking. When I did a double take, I relaxed when I saw it wasn't Shoji from my class. They mentioned 3 drugs, coke, trigger, and a new one called Avalon. After they made a deal, I crawled on the wall and looked down at the lizard. Hello, little lizard. I heard you talking to the 6-armed person about drugs. Before you run, I want to say this. I want in or else I'll turn you in. I gave a very sharp, toothy grin. The lizard growled. Not a nice way to start a partnership. Also, how can I know you won't get in then turn me in anyways? I hung upside down, having some stone holding me there. Good point, but if I turned you in, you could just stab me back. I rather make money, not do time. Lizard chuckled. You seem cocky and logical. What's your name, kitty? I smiled again. I'm Light Yagame. What your name, scale face? Call me bad rap. I'll take you to my friends, but there will be lots of security and such as we can't trust you yet. I shrugged and looked bad rap over. So your quirk is somewhat based on the dinosaur called a raptor. Quick meat eaters and somewhat arrogant. The security doesn't bug me, but if they try to kill me, they will be dead before a bullet leaves the barrel. The last bit I made my voice demonic sounding just to scare him some. He led me to an old abandoned-looking warehouse. If it wasn't for the robotic pigeons they were using for security cameras, I would have thought he was wasting my time. Once inside, I was quickly pinned to the wall with blood-red hair. When I saw the hot lady whose hair was pinning me to the wall, I couldn't resist. Hot stuff. If you wanted to skip a date, you just had to ask. Maybe after this we can go to your place and have some fun. The results were funny to me. Her hair quickly fell to the ground, dropping me while she covered her blushing face. I quickly walked over and smirked. My name's Light, but I wouldn't mind walking into some shadows with you, gorgeous. Internally, I was praying May would never find over and was praying for forgiveness as she collapsed from me teasing her. Bad rap and the other person there was shocked as they stared at their passed-out companion. Impressive. You're the first to make Scarlet actually blush and pass out from flirting. How did you do that? I chuckled. Being part cat has its benefits. Now I'm guessing you're the one in charge of this trio. The new guy laughed. Call me Crimson. Now how did you convince Bad Rap to bring you here? I yawned and sat down in a nearby chair. Simple. I told him I wanted in or I would turn him in for making a sale with that 6-armed man. I also pointed out that if I joined he could just stab me back if I backstabbed him and sent him to jail anyways. Crimson nodded. Makes sense, but can you wake up Scarlet, please? With a yawn I touched my fire and air tails together, creating lightning which shocked her awake. Sorry about teasing you, honey. Just a self-defense habit I have. She blushed and said it was okay before she left to deal drugs since the boss was protected by Bad Rap. Oh yeah, I am Light Yagame. I'm from China. You might have heard of my great-great-great-grandpa and grandma. They were Kira 1 and 2. That caused them both to freeze as I yawned and stretched more. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Why kill a possible source of money when I have barely any? Bad Rap walked over to me. Wait, you're related to that Light Yagame? I smirked. Spelt like moon but read as light, yes. My great-great-great-grandma was Missa the pop star. Unfortunately, she lost her memory of her life as Kira too, but she left many diaries of those days. I smirk as they looked up that info. They were shocked to see that she had a family after Light was killed by N and the task force to kill Kira. After that, the history of them is lost since Missa left the public spotlight once people found out her child is the son of Kira. They relaxed once they found out I wasn't lying about my past. Crimson smirked. What exactly is your quirk, Light? All I can get is Nico and Elemental Tails. I smirked again. I call it Elemental Tiger. Basically, I have 4 tails of the main 4 elements. I can use any fusion of the 4. Bad Rap tried to attack me with his claws once I said that. I just yawned and a huge blast of cold air, snow, ice, and hail came out of my mouth. It chilled his cold-blooded body before encapsulating his body. I'm sorry, sometimes when I yawn I breathe an element. I smirk internally as I removed the ice from the frozen raptor. Just to add insult to injury, I yawned some fire at him to warm him back up. At first he was going to yell at me for destroying his clothes, but was shocked when they looked and felt like they just came from the dryer. Crimson and I created a seller source contract. He gets 60% of the profit and I get the rest. What he didn't expect is for me to pay in full for 5 batches of each drug and me saying, you get all of the first 3 batches. I get profit on the last 2. I'm off to sell this stuff. I sent 1 batch off to a lab to be analyzed while I took the last batch to see if I can recreate them without any bad side effects. I would check in at night to check in on my family while doing my experiments. After an hour I had a drug to cleanse the 2 I haven't messed with yet. Avalon was an interesting one. It was a version of Trigger with much less bad effects. The worst it could do was kill the user, but the most likely was loss of libido, temporary quirk loss, and maybe some blindness. I need to find its creator and find out how they made it. I'm very curious about it. It's been a couple weeks since I started to do undercover work and I've kinda become addicted to it. All the personas, quirks, and mad stunts I get to do thrill me. Once I became a simple thug trying to join a gang. My look was that of Alistair from Has-Been Hotel with his magic powers. I freaked out a few people at first, which was a big bonus, before I busted the entire gang. Looking back at it, I probably shouldn't have sent a hero into hell. Heck, he wanted a vacation, so I gave him an excuse and he had a flashy entrance when my alter ego was killed by a gang member who didn't trust me. Unfortunately, that gangster was shanked in prison and blamed for their incarceration. After that one I was in trouble with a few undercover cops already in the gang. Luckily, it was all put behind us as I got a new case. This one was to find out where a drug was being made. At first I didn't want to do it as it was boring. After busting a good few drug labs and making street-legal versions of their drugs you can buy at any pharmacy, well, it gets kinda boring. After multiple drug busts, finding villains on most wanted lists, and even saving a few hostages, kidnapped people, the buzz was gone, but I still craved it. That is when I got the biggest buzz ever, which actually made me quit undercover for a while. The saying, there is never too much of a good thing, definitely was proven wrong on this case. Also, May was not very happy when she found out what persona I used. The big case was to bust what we called a quirk slave ring. Basically, people are kidnapped, forced to breed for their quirks, and possibly get sold to someone else as a permanent SX slave. My job was to find the big honchos of the QSRs and bring them down. I decided to become how should I put this without sounding very crude? I basically became a pervert's perfect lustful dream. My basic look was pale skin, wimpy arms, and a cute face. That's where my quirk came into play. I could become someone's biggest desire. The best example I can think of, after being caught, is one woman wanted a special version of Jessica Rabbit. I'll let you pervs create your own fantasies about that. Well, word of me was slipped to a known worker of the ring and I was promptly taken. It took only 5 days for me to get shown to all of the head honchos, their current slaves, and a few other things I need to remember to forget. Anyways, after that little event, May and a certain female hero caught wind of this persona. May was pissed, Midnight wanted a round, and the rest is history. Note to self, never make May mad. I am currently in a small AA group for adrenaline junkies. Of course I'm in disguise so no one knows who I am. It's only been 3 months and I already want to retire. Maybe I should try a different hero role for a while. I groaned as I sat up in my bed. When May pulled me back into bed I chuckled. Hun, I need to get up. I have to go to work. That's when I got a phone call. I quickly grabbed it and answered it before May could destroy it with one of the random machines we have in my room, lab. Izuku Midoriya speaking. How may I help you? It was Bakugo. Yo Izuku, you need to get to the park now. There's someone with a scythe literally killing anything that gets too close to him. I think he's a Reaper. I hung up and went into my Cyber Reaper mode before flying through electronics to get to the park. What I saw made me nearly throw up. The park, which was beautiful, full of flowers, and plenty of birds, was now a barren wasteland. Even the Valley of Death would have looked nicer than this. I glared at the creature within the area of death. The creature had 6 arms and 6 sides. With a sigh I floated over. Who are you and why are you destroying this park? The creature turned to me and laughed. It's what we Reapers do, take lives and become stronger off of them. I'm Oracula. I came to this dimension to see if there's a light star crystal or not. Instead, I've found much stronger powers here. Oracula laughed as he began to chop down the withered trees and move, draining more life from the area. I moved in front of him and destroyed a few of his sides easily. You need to stop this now. If you upset the balance too much, the world will die and decay. There are too many lives to risk such foolishness. He laughed, as if I care. Humans are such a primitive species compared to mine. I sighed and braced myself to fight. Oracula spit spider thread at me, and just to piss him off I phased through it. You can't trap something without a physical body. With a growl he slashed at me with his sides and I got a light scrape on my arm. Not even enough to make me bleed. Oracula was stunned as hell when his direct hits didn't damage me that much. I looked at him, weak. He fell for it so bad. With a rage-filled scream he launched himself at me. He tried to spin with the sides poised to slice me up. I simply used my scythe to trip him and laughed as he fell into the only puddle of mud in the entire park. With him down I ended him quickly and sighed as the park returned to what it was before he came. What made me feel better was that the people and animals he killed came back as well. With that all done I headed home and called into my part-time hero job. When I explained I had a fight with a Reaper, I got a few days off. The first thing I did when I got home was flop onto my bed. May glared at me along with Eri, who was on her lap. For a cute white-haired Nico, she can look very mad and somehow scary. What did you do, Izuku? Yeah, Papa, what did you do? I groaned and curled up in my blankets. I fought a 6-armed Reaper in one. If you'll excuse me, I need to sleep. They had Eri go play with the kittens as she yelled at me and slapped me some. When she calmed down, she apologized for hitting me. She freaked out as she saw the battle on the news and it looked like he really hurt me. I laughed. I'm fine, May. Nothing can ever kill me. Even other Reapers have trouble hurting me. I got the weekend off, and after I get a nap we can go shopping at Gears and Bolts. Before I could even finish the name of the store, May tucked me in, put a new DVD into the DVD player, turned off the lights, closed the blinds, and snuggled me. About 10 minutes later, Eri joined us as she heard the theme song of one of our favorite animes from a few centuries ago, Overlord. Time skip. I groaned as I glared at my teenage daughter Eri. She wanted to go shopping while our young twins wanted to go to the park. Eri, 2 hours at the park and warp them home so you can shop. May walked over and sat down next to me at the table. Eri, if you do this I will talk Izuku into getting your first adult Solar Surfer Nico style. That was she needed to hear. Okay, let's go Fred and George. Last one there has to clean the giant litter box. All three ran out laughing as I chuckled. You know, we already decided to do that for her. I'm even working double time to make hers the latest and safest model possible. May laughed as she rubbed her swollen belly. Yes, but she didn't know that. Also, she will be getting the Nico-themed weapons and such for her hero suit. I nodded as I looked at the design she created when she was 7. 1 year after I rescued her, she drew this after meeting the wild pussycats. They agreed to give her an internship when the time came, which will be an awesome surprise. May kissed my cheek. You ready to baby-proof the house again, hun? I shook my head laughing. We never took the stuff down, so no need. I will have to start relocking the labs again though. Hopefully. This child one of the tool fingers Quirk like your father or Fred. May and I laughed as we remembered Fred taking apart some of his toys to create a machine to steal cookies with the help of George's Quirk, which lets him create blueprints and build them easily. I watched the biannual hero placement thing on the TV as I got placed as number 1 with May as number 1 support hero, again like every year since we graduated. May laughed as they said we were expecting kid number 4 and a lot of people were yelling to congratulate us. Our pixel clones who were at the event for us both blushed as they depixelated after warping us our awards. The announcer, the retired All Might, sighed. Seriously, son? You sent clones again. You should take pride in this, you idiot. May smirked and I warped to him. Well, excuse me for caring about the health of my wife and finding ceremonies like this dull and tedious. Now if you excuse me, I have to baby and quirk-proof the labs again. We don't want a repeat of the cookie incident. Dad might shuddered. Yeah, sorry, get back to it. We don't need half the town becoming cookies again. With a chuckle I dropped a giant cookie on him and warped home, making everyone laugh. My life has been nearly perfect since I graduated top of my class. I married May, created my own heroes guild, began creating a lot of gear, and bought my own mansion. May and I have lots of plans for the future. Well, after we finish raising our kids anyways. I can't help but wonder what adventures the other mess have been having. Oh well, I'll eventually visit them, or the reverse eventually. I need to make supper for my family. I'm thinking eggplant parmesan if May doesn't eat all the eggplant as I fry it this time. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.